In a world where mankind and soul pets coexisted and prospered together, when someone became a soul pet master, they could summon their soul pet to fight for them. However, on Nightmare Island, there was a huge wall filled with blood. Multiple people were creating array formations on the ground, and countless children were held there. Fear was evident in their eyes. Among those children was a boy named Chu Mu, and he had been captured and brought to Nightmare Island for some days already. The children there were experimental subjects, and it was already the 10th fight experiment Chu Mu had participated in. The objects they fought against were those frightening soul pets summoned by the soul pet master. The purpose of those bloody experiments was to stimulate the growth of their special soul pets, the evil soul pets. Evil soul pets were very unique within the soul pet system, and once the host's growth was slower than the demons, their soul would be devoured by it. After the experimental subjects were captured and brought to Nightmare Island, they were all forced to sign soul pacts with the evil soul pets. The children died by either getting devoured or killed by evil soul pets. As Chu Mu participated in the 10th fight experiment, he was determined to survive no matter what. A man on top of a platform announced to the children below that that day's physical fitness test was a matter of life and death for them. The man said that he would only allow 50 of them to continue training on the island, so that means that half of them would die that day on that test. The man was the leader deacon, Kaui, and he was laughing while he told the children to enjoy the sweetness of death because only people who frequent the edges of life and death were worthy of entering the Nightmare Palace. The test began, and the frightening soul pet that was summoned by the soul pet master started to charge towards the children. It passed beside one of the children. The soul pet was biting off the child's arm. The child was horrified, and with tears in his eyes, he screamed that he didn't want to die yet. More frightening soul pets charged towards the children, and they all ran while crying, calling for their mommy. On the other hand, Chu Mu was running, and as he observed that the soul pets charging towards them were hunting wolves, a beast type that was part of the beast world and was part of the wolf clan. According to the color of their fur and build, they had most likely reached the 8th stage. Chu Mu gritted his teeth as he was thinking that hunting wolves at the 8th stage were no way inferior to a grown man holding a large blade. Chu Mu continued to run while was thinking that in order to survive, he couldn't fight those hunting wolves. Instead, he should have found a way to avoid the attack of the hunting wolves as much as possible until 50 children were killed first. The bloody and dismembered bodies of children were lying on the ground. The men watching the children just laughed at the bloody scene in front of them. Chu Mu was still running, and 2 hunting wolves were right behind him. As he was running, Chu Mu was approaching a blonde guy from behind. Chu Mu recognized him as Zhu Shengmo, and among those who were sent to the island, Zhu Shengmo seemed to be the child with the best aptitude. Chu Mu passed by Zhu Shengmo, and he tried to warn him what was coming behind. But before he could finish his sentence, Zhu Shengmo grabbed Chu Mu by the arm. Chu Mu tried to finish his sentence, but he was so confused because he was being raised off the ground. With an evil grin, Zhu Shengmo threw Chu Mu towards one of the wolves. Chu Mu managed to touch the ground and used it to maneuver himself out of the hunting wolf's way. He tumbled on the ground, and the hunting wolf still had its eye on him. Chu Mu quickly started to run with all his might while the hunting wolf chased behind him. Chu Mu knew that he was not in a good situation as the hunting wolf was coming from behind. The hunting wolf managed to dig its claw into Chu Mu. As it pounced, Chu Mu crouched on the ground so he could evade the full force of the attack, but his back was still hit by the hunting wolf's sharp claws. Tears rolled down Chu Mu's face as he was in pain, but he gritted his teeth and bore with it. The hunting wolf in front of him roared, and Chu Mu was alarmed when he realized that the smell of blood made it even more hyper. The hunting wolf pounced at him, and Chu Mu tried to stop it using his hand. Chu Mu's eyes were filled with desperation as the hunting wolf's mouth got closer while he tried his best to stop it with his bare hands. As the hunting wolf's saliva trickled down his face, tears swelled in his eyes as fear consumed him. Suddenly, one of the men in cloaks ordered the fight to stop. Another man played his flute while he stood on a platform above the ground full of the children's tattered, lifeless bodies. Chu Mu started to stand up as the hunting wolf walked away from him. Kaui announced that there were currently 50 survivors left on the island, but it was only temporary because, starting the next day, they could move independently around the island and were going to capture and sign a soul pact with soul pets to use as weapons in battle. Kaui said that the next bloody battle would soon begin. He ordered the children to return to their nests and feel happy about surviving. Kaui noticed Chu Mu, who was limping his way out, but Chu Mu lost consciousness and fell face first into the ground. The morning came, and one of the men in cloaks was entering a palace. It was Kaui, and he was immediately greeted by a lady, who informed him that their Lord Zeia had been waiting for him for a long time. Cao Yi quickly entered the room, bowed on the ground, and paid his respects to Lord Zeia. Lord Zeia immediately asked Cao Yi if the brat whom he threw in the island had died yet. Cao Yi told Lord Zeia that, for the time being, the child hadn't. Lord Zeia stated that the employer's information indicated that the child was merely an ordinary boy of the Chu family. However, he was able to resist the draining effect of the white nightmare within him and did not perish, which he found peculiar. Cao Yi suggested that he could dispatch the child on Lord Zeia's behalf, allowing him to report back to his employer. Lord Zeia advised him to leave the child be, as it appeared he still possessed some capability. He decided to let the child nurture his white nightmare first, as he was interested in seeing how long the child could endure. At the houses at the edge of a cliff, a few children were gathering around Chu Mu. Looking at Chu Mu's injuries, they wondered if he was dead. They said that he was bleeding so much that they were afraid he was not going to make it. Suddenly, Zhu Shengmo arrived with a basin of water and told the other children to get out of the way. He threw the water at Chu Mu, who started coughing. Swirling the basin at his fingertips, Zhu Shengmo proudly smiled as he proved to the other children that Chu Mu was still alive. Chu Mu gritted his teeth as he glared at Zhu Shengmo. Zhu Shengmo was surprised at Chu Mu's reaction. Pushing the basin into Chu Mu's head, Zhu Shengmo asked him why he was looking at him like that. Zhu Shengmo pushed Chu Mu's head against the ground and told him that he might as well worry about the nightmare inside him if he had time to resent it. Chu Mu was pissed as Zhu Shengmo told him that he was so weak, and that when his nightmare devoured his soul, he would regret not being quickly killed by the hunting wolf's claws. Chu Mu continued to glare at Zhu Shengmo, and in his mind, he was cursing him, thinking that he would have his revenge. Suddenly, Chu Mu lost consciousness again. After some time, in one of the houses, Chu Mu woke up. He was lying on a bunk bed with his wounds already patched up. A girl named Ting Yu, who was assigned to the same room as Chu Mu, came in with a basin in her hand and was glad to see that Chu Mu was finally awake. Chu Mu was glad to see that Ting Yu was not dead, but Ting Yu seemed to dislike what Chu Mu said. She slammed the basin of water on the table while saying that if she were dead, no one would have helped him rub the medicine. Ting Yu asked Chu Mu how his wounds were and if they still hurt, and Chu Mu told her that they were much better and thanked her. Ting Yu told Chu Mu that since she helped him that day, she wondered if it was okay that in the future, if she had any problems, he would also have to help her. Chu Mu told her that he would try his best. Suddenly, Chu Mu realized something, and he quickly asked Ting Yu how long he had been asleep. Ting Yu told him that it was about 3 days. Chu Mu quickly stood up, which made Ting Yu worry, asking him where he was going when he was not healed yet. And Chu Mu told her that the competition was about to begin, so he needed to capture the soul pet as soon as possible. Ting Yu smiled brightly, and she said that she would go with him so they could look out for each other. But Chu Mu told her that it was better to split up because if they got a good soul pet, they couldn't split it between 2 people. And Ting Yu told him that she just wanted to follow him because she didn't trust others. Chu Mu said that he was not worth trusting either. Ting Yu tried to tell Chu Mu that if they came across a good soul pet, he could choose it first, but Chu Mu had already closed the door behind him. A few moments later, Chu Mu wandered through the forest. A few animals charged at him, but he was able to avoid them effortlessly. Chu Mu continued to move forward, and he thought that if he remembered correctly, he would reach the inner island through that jungle. And although it was dangerous, the soul pets there were stronger. After some time, Chu Mu arrived at the thorny forest. Suddenly, a thorny vine wrapped around his ankles. He was surprised when the vine started to drag him into the thorny forest. Chu Mu knew that he was not in a good situation as he got dragged deeper, and his arms got filled with cuts and bruises. Chu Mu recognized that he was being dragged by the thorn demon, a vine-type creature in the plant kingdom that only grows in thorny forests and specializes in capturing creatures trekking through the forest. It was one of the more common carnivorous creatures of the plant kingdom. Chu Mu managed to cut the vine that was dragging him. He was able to break loose from the thorn demon's grip. Chu Mu started to travel carefully deeper into the thorny forest, but the thorn demon attacked him from behind with its thorny vine, breaking the thorns around Chu Mu. Chu Mu found it great, as the thorn demon's attack actually helped him open up a path. Chu Mu continued to run while the thorny vine continued to chase him. The thorny vine was getting closer and was about to grab Chu Mu. Chu Mu continued to run without looking back, and he screamed when he realized that he had jumped off a cliff, but he was able to evade the thorn demon's attack because of it. The cliff was high, and Chu Mu was falling headfirst towards the trees below him. Chu Mu looked hopeless, but he realized that he was still alive because his clothes were snagged on a branch of a tree. But the branch broke, and he fell face down into the ground. Chu Mu was lying down on the ground when he heard something move in the bushes. It was an animal with orange fur and sharp claws. Chu Mu was alarmed, and he quickly hid behind the tree while wielding his knife. Chu Mu was surprised when he saw a red cloud fox emerge from the bushes. Chu Mu was sitting on the ground as he watched the red cloud fox come towards him. Chu Mu shooed and drove away the red cloud fox. The red cloud fox peacefully walked away. Chu Mu thought that that sort of soul pet couldn't be considered a battle soul pet. A few moments later, as the birds were flying in the sky, Chu Mu was up a tree when he saw a Mandy monster. The Mandy monster was drinking by the river, and they were part of the beast type of the beast world. They were a short-range fighter that excelled in defense and power while being weaker in speed and agility. Someone arrived. It was a blonde kid, and he used the second soul pact, capture on the Mandy monster. The pact started to wrap the Mandy monster's tail, but it easily snapped it. The kid was alarmed when his soul pact failed and the Mandy monster roared at him. The Mandy monster quickly chased the kid, who was running for his life. Meanwhile, Chu Mu, who was observing what happened, said that the kid was an idiot because if the soul pact failed, the soul pet would become enraged. Chu Mu decided that it would be better for him to do some preparation before making a soul pact with the soul pet. A few moments later, Chu Mu was creating a cage made of wood, and he hung it up the tree branch, placing a soul core fragment of soul pets, which many of the soul pets would feed on. Under the wooden cage, Chu Mu was observing from a distance, and he said that the soul pet was attracted to the bait. A few hours had passed, and the sun was beginning to set. Chu Mu said that half a day had passed, but there was not even a ghost in sight. Suddenly, a caterpillar fell on Chu Mu's head. It made its way to his hand, and Chu Mu just observed it. Its eyes twinkled, and it was drooling when it saw the food on Chu Mu's hand. Chu Mu intently looked at it. He decided to feed the caterpillar, and he told it that he could go ahead and eat, but it must bring him good luck. Suddenly, there was a noise behind the bushes, and Chu Mu was glad that finally something was coming. It was the red cloud fox from earlier, and it was circling the soul core fragment that was on the ground. The red cloud fox took the bait, and Chu Mu was preparing to let go of his trap. But Chu Mu decided to forget it, as he thought that he couldn't waste his trap on such a weak soul pet. 2 days later, a blue star fox came and took the soul core fragment. 4 days later, another fox, this time with yellow fur, took the soul core fragment, and Chu Mu wondered why it was a fox again. 7 days later, another fox with green fur took the soul core fragment, and Chu Mu was already annoyed. Chu Mu was enraged as he didn't know what was happening. He wondered if he bothered an entire fox's nest as there was another young fox. 10 days later, another fox was approaching the soul core fragment, and Chu Mu was already mad at that point. As the silver fox happily took the bait, Chu Mu decided to let go of his trap. But the silver fox was agile, and it quickly dodged the trap while carrying the soul core fragment in its mouth. Chu Mu was so enraged that he quickly chased the silver fox, calling it a bastard and telling it not to run. The caterpillar on Chu Mu's head decided to spew silk, which wrapped the silver fox's paws. The silver fox lay helplessly on the ground as its hind legs were bound by the caterpillar's silk. Chu Mu smiled, and he praised the caterpillar for doing a good job, as he didn't know it could spew silk, so it indeed brought him luck. Chu Mu smiled as he grabbed the fox by its legs, and he said that it was time for him to get some meat. But suddenly, Chu Mu noticed something. Chu Mu found it strange that the silver fox he caught also had a silver moon mark. Recalling the past few days, Chu Mu realized that it seemed that all the foxes he came across before had moon-shaped marks as well. But Chu Mu said that all the other foxes were all of a different species, so he wondered how it could be the same fox. But Chu Mu remembered that a book he read once described that in the realm of soul pets, there was a very rare situation called species mutation, and soul pets could use it to break through the shackles and mutate to a stronger species. Chu Mu realized that the silver fox in his hand had mutated multiple times in just a few days. Chu Mu said that a continuous mutation soul pet has unlimited potential. He quickly used his soul pact, capture on the silver fox. Chu Mu was performing a soul pact with the silver fox, and he was looking at it intently. The silver fox was unwilling, and the soul pact was broken and failed. Chu Mu got so mad that the silver fox dared to refuse him. Pinning the silver fox on the ground, Chu Mu said that the soul force in his body was full enough to attempt 9 more soul pacts, so he would surely take it as his soul pet that day. A few hours passed, and the sun was beginning to set. The silver fox was lying on the ground, and beside it was Chu Mu, who was cursing, saying that there was only one attempt left for the soul pact. Suddenly, the silk on the silver fox's legs broke. It was smiling, as it was already able to stand when Chu Mu noticed it. The silver fox quickly ran while Chu Mu was chasing behind it, telling it not to run away. The evening came, and while catching his breath, Chu Mu cursed, as he couldn't believe that he had to come into the thorn forest again. Suddenly, Chu Mu saw the silver fox get thrown into the air. The silver fox gritted its teeth as it got slammed into the ground. Both Chu Mu and the silver fox were alarmed when the thorn demon's vines peeked out of the thorn forest. The thorny vines quickly attacked Chu Mu and the silver fox, but the two of them were able to dodge them. The thorn demon had also emerged from the thorn forest. It slammed its thorny vines into the ground, breaking some rocks into pieces. The thorn demon grabbed some rocks off the ground with its thorny vines. It simultaneously threw those rocks. The silver fox was hit by the rock as it was not able to dodge it. On the other hand, Chu Mu managed to block the rock with his arm. The silver fox fell to the ground, and it was in pain while the thorn demon's thorny vine made its way to attack it. Chu Mu saw it, and he was alarmed as he knew that it was not in a good situation. Chu Mu jumped in to grab the silver fox in his arms and dodged the thorn demon's thorny vine at the same time. Smoke filled the area, and small rocks were being thrown in all directions due to impact. Two thorny vines suddenly appeared from under the ground, towards Chu Mu's feet. Chu Mu was alarmed when he saw it, but he was not able to react, and both he and the silver fox were grabbed by the thorny vine and were both hung upside down. The thorn demon started to pull the two of them towards where it was. Chu Mu clenched his fist. He opened it up and extended his hand to the silver fox, calling it Little One and telling it that he knew that it didn't want to be captured by anyone. But it was currently too weak, so it was extremely hard to survive on the inner island. Chu Mu told the silver fox that it was eager to become strong, and he was someone who could help it stand at the very pinnacle of that world. Chu Mu used his soul pact, capture on the silver fox, and he told it to accept his soul pact. The silver fox closed its eyes and placed its paws on Chu Mu's palm. The silver fox was filled with energy, which made it quickly move and cut the thorny vine that was holding it. On the other hand, Chu Mu's legs were still wrapped by the thorn demon's thorny vine, and he was about to get eaten by it. Chu Mu saw that inside the thorn demon's mouth was its soul core, so its weakness was revealed. The silver fox swiftly ran towards the thorn demon's mouth, which made the thorn demon throw Chu Mu away. The silver fox dug its claw into the thorn demon's soul core. The thorn demon suddenly froze and trembled, and it fell to the ground with a huge impact. With the crescent moon up in the sky, the silver fox proudly stood above the thorn demon, and it smiled. Chu Mu picked up the soul core of the thorn demon and said that it was a good harvest. He threw it towards the silver fox and told it to catch it. But the silver fox was surprised when something swiftly moved in front of it and snatched the thorn demon's soul core. Chu Mu got mad and asked who it was, calling them bastards. It was the kid with blonde hair from earlier, and he had the thorn demon's soul core in his hand while his soul pet centipede crawled beside him. Chu Mu and the blonde kid were having a standoff. Chu Mu recognized the kid as Jiang Luo, and he told him that the thorn demon's soul core was his, showing off the other soul core in his hand. Jiang Luo mocked Chu Mu for saying that the thorn demon's soul core, and he said that his trash fox couldn't fight with the second-ranked thorn demon. Chu Mu's eyes widened when he saw the soul core of the beast attribute in Jiang Luo's hand. Jiang Luo was about to walk away, but Chu Mu told him to wait a minute. Chu Mu told Jiang Luo that he didn't want the soul core of the thorn demon, but he had the bug attribute soul core Jiang Luo needed, while Jiang Luo had the beast attribute soul core he needed. So Chu Mu suggested that they duel in 2 days, and if he won, Jiang Luo would give him the beast attribute soul core, while if he lost, he would give Jiang Luo all 3 bug attribute soul cores. Jiang Luo asked Chu Mu what made him think that he could make a deal with him when he could just kill him at that moment. Chu Mu confidently told Jiang Luo that the deacons had forbidden them to fight privately, but they could challenge each other to a duel in public. So Chu Mu asked Jiang Luo if he would dare disobey orders. Jiang Luo spat as a response. He told Chu Mu that he would give him 2 days to cherish the last days of his trash fox. A few hours later, in one of the houses, Chu Mu was reading a book. Ting Yu was with him, and she was admiring what a lovely moonlight fox he got. Chu Mu was surprised when Ting Yu asked him if he had named his soul pet. Chu Mu said that he hadn't named the little one yet, and he thought of what a good name would be. Chu Mu said that he remembered a weapon called Mo Zai, and it was beautiful and gentle when still but sharp and deadly when moving, so he decided to name the Moonlight Fox that. Mo Zai smiled, and Ting Yu pointed out that Mo Zai seemed to like its name very much. Chu Mu continued to read the book he was reading. He was reading the details of the Moonlight Fox, and as Chu Mu closed the book, he looked disappointed, saying that the book said that Moonlight Foxes were low level with practically no techniques, and of those techniques, only 2 or 3 were used for attacking, so he asked how worse it could get. Ting Yu asked Chu Mu if he was sure he wanted to use Mo Zai to challenge Jiang Luo's centipede, and Chu Mu confidently said yes. Ting Yu reminded Chu Mu that if Mo Zai's claws couldn't tear through the centipede's fleshy armor, it would be dangerous. Chu Mu stretched as he said that it was the reason why, for the next 2 days, he was going to train Mo Zai. Ting Yu blushed as she asked Chu Mu if he wanted her to join him tomorrow. But Ting Yu was disappointed when she saw that Chu Mu was already fast asleep. Ting Yu said that she didn't know what Chu Mu was thinking when he chose such a weak Moonlight Fox. But as she stared at Mo Zai, her eyes turned to hearts and she started drooling, saying that Mo Zai was really cute. The next day, Chu Mu went into the forest with Mo Zai. Standing in front of a tree, Chu Mu told Mo Zai that his speed was already fine, so they would start training Mo Zai's attack power. Chu Mu ordered Mo Zai to use the claw attack on the tree. Mo Zai did as it was told and used its attack on the tree. But as it finished delivering the claw attack, there was not much damage to the tree. Chu Mu made a facepalm, but he ordered Mo Zai to continue. Mo Zai continued to attack the tree from all angles and directions. In the process, Mo Zai's paws got injured, and it started to complain at Chu Mu. Chu Mu furrowed his brows as he looked at Mo Zai. He knelt and marked the tree with his knife. With a plus sign on the tree trunk, Chu Mu ordered Mo Zai to continue its claw attack until the tree broke. Even though Mo Zai was in pain, it continued to perform its claw attack on the tree, just like Chu Mu had ordered. A few hours later, as the sun was already setting, blood was being shed as a huge chunk of the tree trunk was already damaged. Finally, the tree fell to the ground, and Mo Zai stood on top of it, trembling. Mo Zai was sweating profusely, but it still smiled triumphantly while Chu Mu also celebrated. Chu Mu told Mo Zai to go back to the soul pet space to get some rest. Chu Mu absorbed Mo Zai because a soul pet master has a separate soul pet space after signing a soul pact with a soul pet. And a soul pet's physical strength and body would recover faster in the soul pet space than in the outside world. Chu Mu looked at the mountain ahead and said that he was heard that there were some good herbs on the mountain, so he wondered if he could find them. Evening came, and in one of the houses, Chu Mu was crushing and grinding something with a mortar and pestle. Ting Yu asked Chu Mu if he was alright, and Chu Mu told her that he just got a small injury while collecting the herbs, so Ting Yu asked him what medicine he was making. Chu Mu said that it was a dark blue herb that was a miracle healing remedy for soul pets, and it would allow Mo Zai's broken claws to regrow, and the new claws would even be sharper than before. Chu Mu smiled as he said that Mo Zai would become even stronger. The morning came, and Mo Zai's claws were healed. Mo Zai slashed its claws, and it left a huge mark on the ground. Chu Mu rejoiced, and he lifted Mo Zai up, saying that its claws were at the late stage. Ting Yu suddenly came into the room, saying that it looked like Mo Zai was making a good recovery, and she informed Chu Mu that Jiang Luo was already waiting for him outside. Chu Mu smiled and said that it was time to show his enemy a lesson. Meanwhile, the children were gathered outside with a deacon. The deacon was Jiang Zi, and Jiang Luo was proudly standing beside him. On the other hand, the other children wondered why Chu Mu wasn't there yet, and they talked about how Chu Mu's soul pet was a trash fox, so they wondered if he wimped out. Suddenly, one of the children said that Chu Mu had arrived. It seemed that it was a friend of Jiang Luo, as Jiang Luo told him not to worry because with just Chu Mu's trashy fox, he would take Chu Mu down within 3 moves. Meanwhile, as Chu Mu and Ting Yu made their way towards the crowd, Ting Yu noticed something. She whispered to Chu Mu that the long-haired person opposite them seemed to be Zhu King, and she heard that his soul pet was a scaled snake, which was a high-ranking soul pet that ranked 6th. Jiang Zi closed the book that he was reading, and he announced that anyone who had nothing to do with the duel should stay away. Chu Mu and Jiang Luo stood in front of each other while Jiang Zi was by their side, signaling the start of the fight. Jiang Luo and Chu Mu immediately summoned their soul pets. As Mo Zai faced the centipede, Jiang Zi announced that the duel had begun. Jiang Luo immediately attacked with the tail of his centipede, and Chu Mu warned Mo Zai to watch out. Mo Zai was able to dodge the centipede's attack effortlessly. Chu Mu ordered Mo Zai to run around the centipede in circles, which Mo Zai obeyed. Mo Zai started to attack the centipede with its claws, and the centipede started to show damage. Jiang Luo was alarmed, and he cursed as he ordered his centipede to enter the ground and use scuttle attack. The centipede quickly dug and went underground, leaving Mo Zai confused on the surface. Ting Yu quickly told Chu Mu to hurry up and tell Mo Zai to run because if its position was locked on by the 10-legged centipede, he would lose. But Chu Mu did the exact opposite and ordered Mo Zai to stop. Ting Yu was agitated and asked Chu Mu why he wasn't listening to her. Chu Mu paid her no mind as he closed his eyes and used his soul power, perception. As the centipede continued to dig underground, Chu Mu perceived its location, and it was already right under Mo Zai. As the centipede dug upwards to attack Mo Zai, Chu Mu opened his eyes, and he ordered Mozai to jump towards the right. Mozai did as she was told, so she was able to dodge the centipede's surprise attack. Mozai jumped off the ground and performed a claw attack on the centipede's stomach. The centipede remained upright as Mozai landed on the ground. Jiang Luo told Chu Mu that Mozai's attack was no use because his 10-legged centipede had already strengthened its flesh armor, so his little fox wouldn't be able to hurt it. Mozai was surprised when a huge shadow loomed behind her, and with a sinister look on his face, Jiang Luo ordered his centipede to kill Mozai. But to everyone's surprise, the centipede fell heavily on the ground, and blood spurted out of its body. Mozai smiled proudly. On the other hand, Jiang Luo couldn't accept the result, saying that it was impossible. Jiang Luo was troubled as he kept on thinking that it was over. He gritted his teeth and wielded his knife. Jiang Luo charged towards Chu Mu, declaring that he would kill him. Ting Yu was alarmed when she saw what Jiang Luo had been about to do. Jiang Luo charged towards Chu Mu with a knife in his hand. He closed his eyes and raised his knife to attack Chu Mu, but Mozai jumped off the ground. Mozai slashed his claw on Jiang Luo's arm and sent his knife flying. Jiang Luo screamed in pain as he saw the wounds on his arm. Mozai protected Chu Mu, and Chu Mu warned Jiang Luo that if he took one more step, he would be dead. Jiang Luo gritted his teeth, and he looked so mad. Jiang Luo handed over the beast attribute soul core as per the duel's conditions. Chu Mu was about to walk away after receiving his rewards, but someone called out to him, asking if he wanted to leave. It was Zhu King, and as he walked forward, the other kids looked terrified, and they made way for him. Zhu King was fuming mad. He called out his soul pet, the scaled serpent. A huge serpent stood mightily beside him. All the other kids looked surprised and terrified, while Zhang Zi looked wary of the situation. Ting Yu looked worried as Zhu King asked Chu Mu how he dared to do such a thing in front of the deacon. Chu Mu gritted his teeth, and he was alarmed as Zhu King's soul pet was a 4th-stage scaled serpent. Zhu King waved his hand to command his soul pet to move forward. The scaled serpent's eyes glimmered, and it looked delighted as it started to move towards its prey. Suddenly, someone screamed in pain, which caught everyone's attention. The other kids looked scared as they pointed in Jiang Luo's direction. Jiang Luo clenched his chest, and he kneeled on the ground as he continued to scream in pain. Zhu King quickly ran towards Jiang Luo. Jiang Luo started to emit a dark aura as he continued to scream in pain. Zhu King grabbed Jiang Luo on his shoulders, and he called out his name, asking him what was wrong with him. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind appeared around Jiang Luo, and it sent Zhu King flying. Jiang Luo was enclosed by the powerful gust of wind, and he started crying out for help. Jiang Luo's nightmare appeared behind him. It started to strangle him. Jiang Luo screamed again as he saw that the nightmare behind him was about to devour him. The children watching looked terrified as they pointed out that there was a nightmare in front of them. Chu Mu was silent, but he looked horrified, just like the other kids. Ting Yu had the same expression as Chu Mu as well. Zhu King cursed when he realized that Jiang Luo's nightmare had just advanced a stage, and it was not a good time. Zhang Zi calmly explained that Jiang Luo's soul power had not been sufficient to sustain the nightmare's increased level, so it devoured the host's soul. Jiang Luo's shriveled body was left on the ground after the nightmare had finished with him. The nightmare appeared dissatisfied as it began to shriek. The scaled serpent curled in fear. Mozai also trembled in fear. The other kids started to cry, wondering if they would die there too. Suddenly, Zhang Zi took a step forward toward the nightmare with a golden plate in his hand, startling everyone, including the nightmare. Zhang Zi started to chant an incantation to capture the nightmare. The golden plate in his hand emitted an aura. The nightmare began to be sucked into it. The nightmare was completely absorbed into the golden plate, leaving nothing behind. Zhang Zi announced to the kids that they were all dismissed, and he informed them that no dueling of any kind was allowed until the test. Chu Mu walked away with Ting Yu. Meanwhile, as the other children also started to walk away, Zhu King remained kneeling on the ground, cursing. He looked furious as he called out to Chu Mu. Zhu King told Chu Mu that he would avenge Jiang Luo's death on the day of the battle, so he should just wait for his scaled serpent to swallow him whole. Chu Mu nonchalantly waved at Zhu King as he walked away and told him that they would see at that time who would die. Zhu King grew even more enraged at what Chu Mu had done. A few weeks later, a rose-looking soul pet was attacked. It was Mozai who attacked the rose-looking soul pet, and it fell face first into the ground. Ting Yu praised Mozai's power, and she said that it was obvious that her thorny flower demon was of a higher rank. But it wasn't a match for Mozai at all, which made Mozai proud. Chu Mu told Ting Yu that the only advantage was that Mozai was agile, which was why Mozai could counterattack her thorny flower demon. But with a little more practice, He was sure not so many people would be her opponents. Ting Yu said that that was not necessarily true because, as far as she knew, there were a few people whose soul pets were much stronger than her thorny flower demon, and Chu Mu asked her to tell him about them. Ting Yu scolded Chu Mu, telling him that he only knew how to immerse himself in training and breeding his soul pet, so he didn't know anything about others, and eventually he would suffer losses because of that. She began mentioning Tang Xian's steel teeth and Gu Feng's rock demon. Ting Yu added that there was also Zhu Qing's scaled serpent, who threatened to swallow him alive, and Zhu Shengmo's hunting wolf. Chu Mu was reminded of what happened before, and he called Zhu Shengmo a bastard in his head, thinking that one day he would definitely take his revenge. Ting Yu approached Chu Mu and asked him what he was thinking about because he looked so pale, but Chu Mu simply told her that it was nothing. With a smile on her face, Ting Yu told Chu Mu that there was one more person on the list, and that was him, because he was able to train an ornamental type soul pet into that sort of level, so she was sure he would pass the test. Chu Mu started to walk away, which surprised Ting Yu, so she asked him where he was going, and he told her that he was going to the inner island to look for medicinal herbs, which might be a bit dangerous, so he told her that she should go back first. Ting Yu got annoyed, and she told Chu Mu that it was a shame because she had not received any thank you for complimenting him for half a day. Chu Mu started to walk toward the inner forest. Suddenly, the caterpillar appeared on his shoulder, and it seemed to be looking around. Chu Mu smiled as he petted it and asked if it was hungry, but the caterpillar seemed to be signaling something. The caterpillar climbed onto his index finger, and with all its might, it tried to drag Chu Mu forward, which Chu Mu noticed, so he asked it if there was something up ahead. The caterpillar's eyes gleamed in triumph as Chu Mu finally understood what he was trying to convey. On the other hand, two kids were talking, and the first one said that Zhu Shengbo and the others went too far, and he couldn't believe they ordered them to patrol the perimeter, while the other kid said that they were no match for him, so they were only worthy of vigilante work. The first kid said that despite that, after Zhu Shengmo got his third soul pet, no one would be his opponent, and the other kid added that it was the reason why they joined Zhu Shengmo. The first kid smirked as he said that what the other kid said was right because Zhu Shengmo promised that he would help them inflict heavy losses on other groups and give them one of the 10 spots. As the two kids continued to patrol the perimeter, they were unaware that Chu Mu was listening to them, and Chu Mu thought that Zhu Shengmo had surprisingly reached 7th remembrance. A soul pet master's cultivation was divided into 9 remembrances. They were equally divided into 3 levels: low, mid, and high remembrances, and a high remembrance could have 3 soul pacts. Chu Mu was thinking that if he let Zhu Shengmo get a 3rd soul pet, he wouldn't have a chance to finish him off, so he had to destroy Zhu Shengmo's plan. The bushes suddenly started to rustle. It alerted the two kids patrolling. They looked puzzled as the two of them started to approach the bush and check it. Suddenly, something jumped out of the bushes, and the other kid looked horrified as he caught a glimpse of Mo Zai's tail. He was startled when he saw the first kid falling to the ground with a huge wound on his torso, and he said that someone had just passed them. Chu Mu appeared in front of him, and he was surprised. The kid was in a panic, and he immediately summoned his rock monster. The rock monster, which was a medium-ranking rock monster species of the elemental kingdom, appeared, and it looked like a humanoid, standing 1.3 meters tall with a strong build and particularly bulky arms. It quickly jumped off the ground and lunged forward to attack. Chu Mu managed to dodge the rock monster's attack. Meanwhile, the caterpillar spotted that the kid who summoned the rock monster started to run away, calling out to Zhu Shengbo and asking him to help him. The caterpillar spewed silk from its mouth. It covered the kid's mouth, and he could no longer ask for help. The kid knelt on the ground as he tried to remove the silk that was covering his mouth. Chu Mu praised the caterpillar for the job well done, and he ordered Mo Zai to go and kill the kid. The kid couldn't speak, but in his mind, he commanded the rock monster to come back and protect him. The rock monster started to run towards the kid, but Mo Zai was so much faster than it. Mo Zai killed the kid with a swift attack to his neck. As the kid lay lifeless on the ground, the rock monster stopped, and it seemed confused. It started to walk away like nothing happened, and Chu Mu said that if the soul pet's master died, the soul pact with the soul pet became null. He said that a masterless soul pet could easily turn his hatred on the person who killed its master. Chu Mu told the dead kid that his soul pet didn't even want to avenge him, so it seemed that there was no affection between the two of them. Chu Mu asked the caterpillar if he could find out what other people were doing. The caterpillar quickly moved, and Chu Mu thought that he was such a reliable scout. A few moments later, the caterpillar was on the move, and Zhu Shengbo, who was with 2 other kids, wondered what the sound he was hearing was. Zhu Shengmo was watchful of his surroundings, and he told Liu Chen that he and Tang Ziyan would continue their pursuit of the flame tail while he went there and took a look. With an evil look on his face, he ordered Liu Chen that if someone got in the way, he should just kill them. The flaming soul pet that appeared to be the flame tail was surrounded by 2 other soul pets. Zhu Shengmo and Tang Ziyan were the ones who fought the soul pet, and Zhu Shengmo ordered Tang Ziyan to keep the soul pet occupied with his steel fang, and he would deliver the final blow, to which Tang Ziyan reluctantly agreed. Tang Ziyan thought that he had done all the work, but he didn't dare speak his mind. Tang Ziyan did what Zhu Shengmo ordered him to do, and his steel fang continued to attack the flame tail, slashing it here and there. Both the flame tail and the steel fang appeared exhausted as they faced each other. Suddenly, Zhu Shengmo ordered his soul pet to attack with dark assault. His hunting wolf immediately charged forward. It tackled the flame tail with ease. The hunting wolf proudly stood over the flame tail that it had just defeated. A few moments later, the sun was about to set, and birds were flying in all directions. While Zhu Shengmo was busy forming a soul pact with the flame tail, Tang Ziyan was worried that Liu Chen hadn't returned yet, and he wondered if something could have happened. Zhu Shengmo assured Tang Ziyan not to worry because Liu Chen's strength was second only to his, and not many people were his opponents. A few moments later, as the sun continued to set, a shadow approached Tang Ziyan from behind, and Tang Ziyan smiled and said that finally Liu Chen was there because they were just talking about him. But Tang Ziyan and Zhu Shengmo were surprised when the person said that they were here, but it was not Liu Chen's voice. It was Chu Mu, and he proudly stood there with Mo Zai while holding a bloody knife in his hand. Tang Ziyan was alarmed, and he asked Chu Mu if he had killed Liu Chen and the others. On the other hand, Zhu Shengmo was unaffected, and he even said that it was good that Liu Chen had died because that way he didn't have to be vigilant about him. Zhu Shengmo ordered Tang Ziyan to eliminate Chu Mu, but Tang Ziyan told him that his steel fang no longer had much fighting strength left. Zhu Shengmo still coerced Tang Ziyan into killing Chu Mu, saying that when he reached the 7th remembrance, he would help him obtain a 3rd soul pet. And he said that Chu Mu's trash fox also didn't have much fighting strength left after the fight with 3 people. Tang Ziyan looked at Zhu Shengmo, and he knew that Zhu Shengmo was still trying to save his strength while reaping the benefits. Chu Mu pointed his knife forward, signaling for Mo Zai to attack. Tang Ziyan also called for his steel fang. Mo Zai and Steel Fang's claws clashed with each other again and again. Steel Fang was able to continuously block Mo Zai's attacks with his claws. Looking at Mo Zai's injuries, Chu Mu knew that it was not a good situation because Steel Fang was also very agile, and Mo Zai couldn't get the upper hand in a close fight. Chu Mu was deep in thought. He ordered Mo Zai to use its move, Charm. Mo Zai quickly retreated beside Chu Mu. Mo Zai closed its eyes and started to emit an aura. Zhu Shengmo told Tang Ziyan that his steel fang was already at the 8th stage, so there was no way that it could be charmed by Mo Zai, so he ordered him to hurry up and finish Mo Zai off. Steel Fang immediately charged forward to attack Mo Zai, but suddenly Chu Mu opened his eyes, and Mo Zai's aura was infused in there. Zhu Shengmo was alarmed. He quickly ordered Tang Ziyan to tell Steel Fang to close its eyes. But it was already too late, as Steel Fang was frozen in place as it made eye contact with Chu Mu. Steel Fang was charmed, and it was unable to move. Chu Mu attacked Steel Fang and sliced it in half. Tang Ziyan couldn't believe what happened as Steel Fang's lifeless body fell in front of him. Chu Mu threw his knife, and it hit Tang Ziyan right between his eyes. Zhu Shengmo immediately recognized the soul technique, Changmei, an ability that only soul pet masters were able to use, and it was the Chu Clan's most outstanding ability because it allows the soul pet master to perform the skills of his soul pet himself, and he immediately confronted Chu Mu about him not being a spirit apprentice but a spirit soldier. Zhu Shengmo told Chu Mu that it was no wonder that he could withstand the torture of a white nightmare because he was already a spirit soldier. Zhu Shengmo kicked Tang Ziyan and said that they were a bunch of waste. Zhu Shengmo told Chu Mu that it was a pity that he couldn't fight against his hunting wolf in his current state, so it was better to put aside their grudges and join forces. But Chu Mu told Zhu Shengmo to go away and said that there was only one end for him, and that was death. Zhu Shengmo simply smirked, and he called Chu Mu an ungrateful bastard. Zhu Shengmo summoned his hunting wolf. The hunting wolf's eyes glimmered as it saw the traces of blood on the ground. It roared loudly, and it seemed like it was absorbing strength from the blood that was shed on the ground. Its bones and fangs started to grow, and with a sinister look on his face, Zhu Shengmo ordered his hunting wolf to kill Chu Mu. It was already evening, and Chu Mu faced Zhu Shengmo and his hunting wolf with Mo Zai. Both Mo Zai and the hunting wolf charged forward to attack as the fight started. Mozai was thrown in the air as the hunting wolf attacked him with its claws. The hunting wolf roared aggressively as Zhu Shengmo ordered it to use its move, Violent Wolf's Demonic Strike. The hunting wolf performed multiple slash attacks. Mozai could not dodge all of them, and he was hit by one. But despite being hit, Mozai still managed to land safely on the ground and still glared at the hunting wolf fiercely. Zhu Shengmo told Chu Mu that his trash fox couldn't even rub up his hunting wolf skin, much less withstand a single blow, so he was dead. Chu Mu was deep in thought, thinking that he couldn't activate his soul technique again with his soul power, so it was up to Mozai. He ordered Mozai to hide first, and Mozai quickly hid in the bushes. Zhu Shengmo mocked Mozai and called him useless, but to his surprise, Mozai suddenly appeared behind him. The hunting wolf noticed Mozai, and it quickly turned to tackle him. Mozai was slammed on the ground, and as Zhu Shengmo realized they wanted to sneak an attack on him, he said that Mozai was still a piece of trash. Zhu Shengmo noticed the injuries on the hunting wolf's shoulders, and he couldn't believe that Mozai had injured his hunting wolf. But he grinned as he said that it would only arouse the hunting wolf's fierceness. The hunting wolf quickly charged forward to attack Mozai. Their movements were so fast that only flashes of light could be seen. Both of them landed on the ground, and it seemed like both Mozai and the hunting wolf were equally injured. Zhu Shengmo started to question how it was possible. Suddenly, he remembered Pitiful Appearance, and he cursed, questioning himself for having forgotten that Mozai had that ability. Pitiful Appearance was a Moonlight Fox's special disguise ability, which always made it look weak and delicate to others, no matter how strong it was, and Chu Mu told Mozai to get rid of his pitiful appearance to let Zhu Shengmo see their real strength. Mozai's paws grew larger, and so did his chest. Although he still had that pretty appearance, his size was bigger and he was emitting a great deal of aura. Zhu Shengmo was surprised, and he told Chu Mu that he did not expect him to have trained Mozai to the 9th stage. But Zhu Shengmo grinned confidently, and he said that even if Mozai was in the 9th stage, trash was still trash. He smiled sinisterly as he ordered his hunting wolf to go into bloodthirsty berserk mode. The hunting wolf began releasing a huge amount of aura. Mozai was alarmed. The hunting wolf could move so quickly that it was suddenly beside Mozai and attacked him, but Mozai could still dodge the attack. Chu Mu was alarmed when the hunting wolf's attention was directed towards him. He sweated profusely as he realized that he was not in a good position. But before he could react, the hunting wolf had already pounced on him, slamming him into the ground. Zhu Shengmo told Chu Mu to go to hell. While the hunting wolf was on top of him, Chu Mu looked up at the sky. He was looking intensely at the crescent moon. Chu Mu told Mozai to use his move, Moonlight Charm. The hunting wolf sensed something, and it looked behind. A huge slashing aura was coming towards the hunting wolf, and before it could react, its head was sliced off its body. The lifeless hunting wolf collapsed on the ground. Zhu Shengmo looked terrified, and he couldn't believe it as he remembered the moon essence, a Moonlight Fox's species ability that only works under the moonlight. It not only improved the fighting strength and recovery, other attributes would also be improved as well. Zhu Shengmo quickly ran away. Chu Mu quickly ordered Mozai to kill Zhu Shengmo. A scream could be heard in the forest that sent the birds flying in turmoil. Chu Mu thanked Mozai for his hard work, and both of them seemed happy. He called Mozai back into the soul pet space and told him to get some rest. Suddenly, Chu Mu's chest throbbed. He grabbed his chest as he was in pain, and he knew that he was not in a good situation. A nightmare appeared behind Chu Mu as he knelt on the ground due to pain. He was sweating profusely as he bore with the pain when he realized that the white nightmare had appeared. The white nightmare shrieked. Chu Mu cursed, saying that the white nightmare came at a time when he was already weak, and that the white nightmare was already strangling him and trying to devour him. Chu Mu started to meditate, and he tried to calm himself down to think of a way, and he thought that it might not be too late to enter a state of meditation to cultivate and speed up his soul power recovery. The white nightmare shrieked again and strangled him more to absorb more soul power from him. Chu Mu called the white nightmare a bastard and asked for it to give him a break, saying that if it wouldn't let him quietly cultivate, there was no way he could give him soul power. The nightmare was taken aback for a bit, and it continued to suck up Chu Mu's soul power. Chu Mu trembled as he continued to meditate while he kept telling himself that he could do it and he would not die there because he had to survive his current situation. So he had to continuously give the white nightmare his soul power just a little longer. The morning came, and Chu Mu was already lying on the ground, and birds were perching on his body. Suddenly, Chu Mu opened his eyes, and the bird who made eye contact with him was startled. The birds flew away in a panic as Chu Mu suddenly sat up, and he was surprised that he was alive. He started to look around, and he wondered where the hunt reward was from yesterday. A few moments later, Chu Mu made it back to the nest, and he said that he missed the opportunity to recover the flame tail, and was already dead. But he really did not expect to get a precious fire attribute soul crystal from it. He was thinking that after a few days, when Mozai's injury recovers, he will give the fire attribute soul crystal to Mozai, and Mozai will be a fiery Moonlight Fox as a result. Chu Mu happily hopped away, and the kids he passed by were confused by his behavior. On the other hand, at the Nightmare Palace, someone was reporting to Cao Yi that something bad had happened. He told Cao Yi that the bodies of Zhu Shengmo and the others were found on the inner island that morning by their men. The one reporting was Jiang Zi, and he told Cao Yi that Zhu Shengmo and the others were all killed. Cao Yi was surprised by the news. He seemed like he was having a headache as he cursed and said that he didn't know how he was going to explain to Lord Zeia that a few of the decent quality ones suddenly died. Jiang Zi smiled as he thought that Cao Yi was worried that the incident would greatly affect the reward given to him by the Nightmare Palace. Cao Yi asked Jiang Zi if there were any clues as to who killed those kids. Jiang Zi said that Chu Mu, who also did not return that night, was the most suspicious one. But with his soul pet ability, there was no way Chu Mu could be a match for all three of them. Jiang Zi smiled as he suggested to Cao Yi that the incident could be the work of an outsider who infiltrated the island. Cao Yi ordered him to assemble everyone. A few moments later, the deacons had gathered everyone, and Chu Mu stood there, happily drooling, which confused the other kids. Cao Yi announced that a person of unknown identity had infiltrated the island, so to prevent more issues from occurring, the life and death battle would start the next day, and the top 10 places would leave the island with them while the rest would die. Chu Mu was frozen in place when he heard the announcement. He panicked as he thought that one day was not enough time for Mozai to recover. Cao Yi told them to scram back to their dens to rest because the next day they would either live or die. The children started to head back, some of them were trembling, and others were in a panic, while Chu Mu just stood there, deep in thought. Suddenly, someone bumped into him, and he fell to the ground. Chu Mu quickly recognized that it was Zhu King, and he was glaring at Chu Mu. Zhu King told Chu Mu that he better pray that he didn't run into him tomorrow and that he should enjoy his last day. Chu Mu punched the ground, and he cursed as Zhu King walked away. The next day, everyone was gathered again, and a deacon was explaining to the children that lots would be drawn to play one-on-one fights down to the last 10 players. He said that the weak would be eliminated, and elimination meant death. The deacon was Cao Yi, and he told the children that whether they survived or not depended on their ability to tear their opponent apart. Cao Yi started to draw from the box, and he called Zhu King's name. The children immediately went anxious as they didn't want to be his opponent, and as some of them chanted so that they wouldn't be picked, some wondered who would be the unlucky one to go up against the demon Zhu King. Zhu King stood there proudly, and he was glaring. He was glaring at Chu Mu, who was alarmed when he noticed. There was a spark all over the place as the two of them glared at each other. Meanwhile, Cao Yi had drawn another piece of paper. Chu Mu looked anxious as Cao Yi was about to announce who Zhu King's opponent was. Cao Yi announced that Zhu King's opponent was Jiang Feisheng. The other kids were glad they were not picked, but they also said that Jiang Feisheng was really unlucky as he encountered the most ruthless one, and they were afraid that he would die a horrible death. On the other hand, Jiang Feisheng was trembling, and he looked so terrified. He started to back up, and he ran away, repeatedly saying that he didn't want to die. Cao Yi looked amused when he saw that Jiang Feisheng wanted to run. He summoned a ferocious soul pet. It chased after Jiang Feisheng, and in a flash, Jiang Feisheng died as he was slammed by the beast into the ground and was lying in a pool of his own blood. Cao Yi warned anyone who dared to run away again. He gestured his hand at Jiang Feisheng, who was being devoured by his soul pet, and said that their fate would be just like his. The children fell silent, and they all looked terrified. Zhu King smiled when Cao Yi told him to get out of there because his opponent was dead, so he counted it as a victory. He purposely bumped into Chu Mu and told him that he was quite lucky because he didn't run into him that day. Chu Mu said nothing, but he clenched his fist as he looked at Zhu King walk away. The battle continued, and in the 5th round, Cao Yi announced that Lan Yu won, and he told him that he could get lost to his place to rest. On the next fight, Chen Zhuo won, and Cao Yi told him to leave, saying that wounded people like him would definitely lose the next day. The other children pleaded with Cao Yi to give them another chance, as he ordered the other deacons to take the losers and feed them to the wolves. Cao Yi drew the next group to face off. He read the paper in his hand and called Chu Mu. Chu Mu quickly turned his head to look at his opponent when Cao Yi announced that it was Hong Dan. Chu Mu looked at a red-haired girl who was talking to Ting Yu. The red-haired girl was Hong Dan, and she was telling Ting Yu that it turned out that her opponent was Chu Mu. Ting Yu looked worried, but she did not say anything. Hong Dan apologized to Ting Yu, and she said that she was afraid that her roommate was about to change. Ting Yu said nothing, and she looked away. Suddenly, she looked at Hong Dan again, and she told her that she was afraid that she was the one who would be eliminated. Ting Yu just looked at Hong Dan as she walked away. She let out a heavy sigh. Meanwhile, Hong Dan and Chu Mu were facing off against each other. Hong Dan smiled as she told Chu Mu that she knew his soul pet was a low-ranking Moonlight Fox and that he was lucky to have survived that long. Chu Mu did not say anything, and he simply looked at Hong Dan with an uninterested look on his face. Hong Dan told Chu Mu not to blame her for being merciless because she was also doing it to survive. Hong Dan started to summon her soul pet. She smiled sinisterly while Chu Mu looked at her attentively. Without hesitation, Chu Mu quickly threw something at her. It was his knife, and Hong Dan was so surprised as it pierced her throat. Hong Dan collapsed on the ground, and the fight quickly ended. The other children couldn't believe what they saw, and they asked what sort of battle it was. The deacons quickly turned to ask Cao Yi what they should do in that situation. Cao Yi clapped as he praised Chu Mu for seeing the opponent's weakness and striking without hesitation. And he said that Chu Mu was much colder and shrewder than he looked. He said that unfortunately, that trick wouldn't work again, and the others were bound to be on guard. And just as Cao Yi said, every child Chu Mu passed by was on guard, and they were trembling. Unbeknownst to them, Chu Mu was also nervous, and he was glad that it was a quick battle because it finally bought Mozai a little recovery time. As Chu Mu passed by Ting Yu, she looked at him with worry in her eyes, and she thought that Chu Mu was the scariest, as everyone was deceived by his appearances. The next day, everyone gathered again for the life and death battle. The children looked alert and determined. Chu Mu glanced over at Chu King, who was looking at him, as he thought that Mozai had only recovered about 50% in one night. Cao Yi announced that it was the day of the final battle, saying that the one who survived got to leave the island, and he signaled the start of the battle. A few moments later, the last battle was Chu Mu versus Ji Sen. Ji Sen looked confident, and he told Chu Mu that his Mandy monster would smash his little fox. But Ting Yu, who was watching the battle, said that it was another tragedy, and the girl behind her smiled as she wondered if Ting Yu had a crush on Chu Mu because she trusted him so much. The battle started, and Ji Sen quickly summoned his Mandy monster. Chu Mu also summoned Mozai. Mozai's legs still had injuries, and Ting Yu pointed out that Mozai's fighting strength seemed not to have recovered yet, so it was still in a weak state. Upon hearing what she said, the girl beside her said that if Mozai was in a weak state, he would definitely lose. But Ting Yu told her that it was not necessarily true. Meanwhile, in the battle, the Mandy monster had charged forward to attack Mozai. Mozai was able to dodge it and land behind the Mandy monster. The Mandy monster quickly turned to attack Mozai, and Mozai was able to dodge it again by jumping in the air. One of the children watching was in awe that the Moonlight Fox was so flexible, and another child said that Mozai was very good at finding his opponent's weakness. Suddenly, the Mandy monster had lost sight of Mozai and was unaware that Mozai was just right behind it. Ji Sen was alarmed, so he quickly told his Mandy monster that Mozai was right behind, instructing it to turn around while calling it an idiot. As the Mandy monster was about to attack Mozai again, Mozai circled around the Mandy monster at such tremendous speed that the Mandy monster was having a hard time catching up. Ji Sen was now worried, and so he urged his Mandy monster to immediately attack. On the other hand, Chu Mu smirked as he thought that the Mandy monster was being harassed to the point of exhaustion, so this was the time when it was at its weakest. Mozai immediately uses his move, Charm. The Mandy monster suddenly freezes, and it goes into a trance. Ji Sen is distressed when he realizes that his Mandy monster is hypnotized. He calls his Mandy monster an idiot again and orders it to hurry up and wake up immediately. At that moment, Chu Mu orders Mozai to get rid of the Mandy monster. Mozai quickly raises his claws and slashes the Mandy monster's throat. The Mandy monster collapses, and Mozai is victorious. Ji Sen sits on the ground in shock, as he cannot believe what just happened. The deacons drag him out of the arena. Cao Yi claps his hands, saying that the battle was very good, and he announces that the 11 people left behind were the winners. But he smiles sinisterly and reminds everyone that the island rules were that only 10 people could live. The children are startled, and they look at each other. Someone clenches their fist. It is Zhu King, and he quickly raises his hand, telling Cao Yi that the other day, his opponent was killed by him, so he doesn't have to fight a round. He says that he is willing to fight Chu Mu, and whoever loses would be eliminated. Zhu King smirks as he thinks that Mozai was wounded and had just been through a battle, so Chu Mu couldn't fight him. Cao Yi laughs, telling Zhu King that it was a good suggestion, and as he asks Chu Mu what he thinks, Chu Mu seems agitated. Chu Mu looks determined, and he says that since Zhu King was that eager to die, he would grant him that wish. Chu King smiled sinisterly at Chu Mu while Chu Mu glared at him. Cao Yi laughed as he said that it was good, and he told Chu King and Chu Mu that it would be up to the two of them to decide victory or defeat. Chu King and Chu Mu stood in front of each other, and Cao Yi signaled that the battle had begun. Chu King immediately summoned his scaled serpent. On the other hand, Chu Mu summoned Mo Zai. Chu King immediately ordered his scaled serpent to eat Mo Zai, calling him a trash fox. Mo Zai quickly jumped off the ground and attacked the scaled serpent on its belly. But as Mo Zai landed on the ground, he was surprised when the scaled serpent's tail was already beside him. Chu Mu quickly told Mo Zai to fight from a further distance and not give the scaled serpent a chance to constrict him. Surely enough, just as Mo Zai jumped away from the scaled serpent, its tail wrapped around, so Mo Zai wasn't caught in it. The scaled serpent quickly used its sharp tail to attack Mo Zai, and Mo Zai was able to dodge it by jumping off the ground. Mo Zai landed on the ground, and he quickly hopped away from the scaled serpent. Chu King ordered his scaled serpent to use its move, Poison Splash. The scaled serpent did what it was told, and it spewed out a blob of sticky green liquid. Chu Mu and Mo Zai were both able to dodge it, and the poison hit the ground. Unfortunately, the liquid splashed into Mo Zai's tail, injuring him, and he groaned in pain. While Mo Zai was distracted by the pain, the scaled serpent took that chance to jump and pounce towards Mo Zai. Mo Zai was still able to dodge that attack. Mo Zai countered by slashing the scaled serpent on its belly. As Mo Zai jumped away from the scaled serpent, he was startled that he was coming in Chu Mu's direction, and Chu Mu was also surprised. Mo Zai landed on Chu Mu's shoulders, and he was wincing in pain as his claws were damaged. The scaled serpent smiled proudly as it showed off its unscathed body, and Chu King said that Mo Zai had a laughable ripping claw because it simply couldn't break apart his scaled serpent's defense. Chu King ordered his scaled serpent to stop playing games with Mo Zai and to hurry up and finish Mo Zai off. Chu King ordered his scaled serpent to unleash its move, Vicious Devour, and the scaled serpent immediately released its aura, which formed into a greater image of it. One of the children recognized that Vicious Devour, and he said that Chu Mu was going to die because people and soul pets were devoured by it. Their skin was bitten apart before the overarching venom poured inside, causing their bodies to ulcerate. Ting Yu got worried, and she told Chu Mu to run. But Chu Mu was still calm, and he smiled at Mo Zai as he told him that it was time to use his new skills. Mo Zai hopped off Chu Mu immediately, and he faced the scaled serpent with determination in his eyes. He looked back at Chu Mu and grinned. Mo Zai emitted a blue aura, which shrouded him as he charged forward. Mo Zai used his move, the Moon Shadow technique. Chu King was unfazed, and he mocked Mo Zai for trying to use late-stage Moon Shadow to dodge his scaled serpent. The scaled serpent fiercely attacked Mo Zai, and Chu King told them to go to hell. The scaled serpent kept charging forward to attack Mo Zai. Ting Yu, along with the other children, was horrified that Mo Zai didn't dodge the scaled serpent, and they said that Chu Mu was also done for. But Chu Mu was still confident and said that there was no reason for him to dodge. Mo Zai continued to charge forward with tremendous speed, but the scaled serpent devoured Mo Zai right in front of Chu Mu. The scaled serpent stood there mightily, declaring its victory against Mo Zai. Chu King confidently ordered his scaled serpent to send Chu Mu to reunite with his Moonlight Fox. But to his surprise, the aura of his scaled serpent started to dissipate. Suddenly, something was protruding from the scaled serpent's back. It was Mo Zai, and he managed to burst out of the scaled serpent by using his move, Dark Assault, Moonlight Slash. The scaled serpent was ripped open, and Mo Zai sat on top of it with a cute smile on his face. Meanwhile, Cao Yi and the other deacons were surprised. Ting Yu and the other girl were also surprised. With a sinister smile on his face, Chu Mu quickly ordered Mo Zai to kill Chu King. Mo Zai immediately charged towards Chu King. He swiftly used his claws to attack Chu King. Chu King's eyes were wide open in surprise as he couldn't believe what just happened, and he fell to the ground with his torso slashed and spurting out blood. Chu King lay lifelessly on the ground while Chu Mu recalled Mo Zai into his soul pet space. Cao Yi approached Chu Mu. He called Mo Zai a trash fox as he laughed and said that pitiful appearance, Mo Zai's disguise ability, was well hidden and it was interesting. Cao Yi figured that if Mo Zai was able to cast an advanced ability such as Moonlight Slash, he was at least in the 9th stage. He was enraged as he asked Chu Mu if he had killed Zhu Shengbo and the others before. One of the children quickly figured out that it was Chu Mu, and the girl beside him quickly said that she was lucky that she didn't provoke Chu Mu. Meanwhile, Cao Yi used his mental restraint on Chu Mu. Chu Mu suddenly felt terrible pain and couldn't help but scream as he grabbed his head. Cao Yi continued to use his mental restraint and ordered Chu Mu to speak. Chu Mu knelt on the ground due to pain, but he denied Cao Yi's allegations. Cao Yi got angrier, and he told Chu Mu that he would give him one last chance to tell him the truth. With tears in his eyes, Chu Mu continued to deny, saying that he didn't do such a thing. Mozai was already enraged in Chu Mu's soul pet space, but Chu Mu reassured him, saying he was fine, and he mentioned that he couldn't come out at that moment. Cao Yi clenched his fist and told Chu Mu that he still dared to lie. Suddenly, Jiang interrupted Cao Yi, advising him to calm down and reminding him that there were only 10 people left on the island. If another one died, he feared that Lord Zeia would blame him. Cao Yi considered this and remembered Lord Zeia. He began to walk away, announcing that they would leave in 3 days. He told everyone to go back and rest. While he did so, one of the deacons mentioned to Jiang that it was strange how angry Cao Yi was over the deaths of Zhu Shengbo and the others. He had never cared about the lives and deaths of those experiments before. Jiang asked the other deacon if he still didn't understand Cao Yi's temper after following him for so long. He explained that Cao Yi's envy was extremely strong, and he definitely didn't want someone he had disciplined to end up in a higher position than him. Jiang pointed out that Chu Mu had a lot of potential as he had nurtured a white nightmare for a long time without it dying. Perhaps, one day, Lord Zeia might look favorably upon Chu Mu, release the White Nightmare Soul Pact, and give him a Blue Nightmare, or something similar. The other deacon asked Jiang what they should do, and Jiang told him that, in his opinion, Lord Zeia wouldn't let Chu Mu die. He believed there was a high chance of him receiving a high-ranking position in the Nightmare Palace in the future. The other deacon realized that if Cao Yi tried to kill Chu Mu, they should protect him and find a chance to report it to Lord Zeia so that Cao Yi would be eliminated, and they would be promoted. They both laughed together. A few hours later, evening came, and the crescent moon was up in the sky. Chu Mu sat by the edge of a cliff, giving a golden and red soul core to Mozai. It was the fire attribute soul core and the beast attribute soul core. Chu Mu believed that these attributes could significantly enhance Mozai's combat ability, and that he should prepare for the next racial mutation in advance. Chu Mu thought that the possibility of Mozai transforming into a powerful 9-tailed demon fox would be greatly increased, while the probability of changing into a weaker race could also be reduced. Mozai closed his eyes, shrouding himself in flames. Chu Mu stood up, and he was worried for Mozai as he was engulfed in flames. But Mozai emerged from the fire with new marks on his feet, and around the crescent moon on his forehead. Mozai stood there mightily as he was shrouded in a powerful aura. Chu Mu grabbed Mozai, and he was so happy as he told Mozai that he evolved to the second stage. While Chu Mu celebrated, something rustled in the trees behind him, so he quickly asked who it was and demanded that they come out. A red symbol that looked like an eye emerged from the trees. Chu Mu and Mozai approached it, and there was a bat hanging by the tree branch. The bat quickly flew above Chu Mu, which startled him. As Chu Mu recognized that it was a dark night bat, the bat attacked Chu Mu with a powerful wave of aura that came out of its mouth. Mozai saw the waves of aura directed at Chu Mu. He moved quickly and protected Chu Mu while their surroundings were filled with scattered dust due to the force of the impact of the attack. As the dust began to settle and dissipate, it revealed Mozai, who had eyes filled with rage. Mozai directed his attack forward. His aura was fired towards the dark night bat and set it on fire. The scorched carcass of the dark night bat fell to the ground, and Chu Mu looked at it in surprise. He celebrated when he realized that it was the fire battle technique, the flame throw. Chu Mu petted Mozai, and he thought that their training had been successful. Chu Mu raised Mozai up in the air, and he thought that Mozai had successfully grown into a soul pet with the beast attribute as its main attribute and the fire attribute as its secondary attribute. The next day, a boat was ready and waiting at the end of the port. Cao Yi walked towards it, with the children following him from behind. Cao Yi told the children that from that moment onward, they should consider themselves members of the Nightmare Palace, and he told them to get on the boat as they would soon set off to the Nightmare Palace. The boat started to sail, and the children celebrated that they were finally out of that hell. Some even hugged each other. The boat continued to sail in the vast sea. Meanwhile, Chu Mu seemed like he was struggling and out of breath. He cursed as he started to purse his lips, and he looked like he was trying to prevent himself from throwing up. Chu Mu couldn't hold it any longer, and he started to throw up while Ting Yu was worriedly rubbing his back. Suddenly, someone saw the two of them at the edge of the boat from their lens. It was Jiang, and he told them not to stand there because the ocean contains many savage soul pets. He told them that weak people like them would easily attract the starving organisms in the water. Chu Mu looked below the boat with worry. Suddenly, a huge shark jumped out of the water to attack them, and Chu Mu managed to drop to the ground while protecting Ting Yu. Jiang was dispirited when he recognized the 10-meter python shark. The boat was quickly surrounded by wriggling creatures, and Jiang immediately told Cowdy that they had a large problem because it seemed like they were targeted by a group of python sharks. Another python shark jumped out, and it damaged the boat's sail. It came back into the water. The children quickly ran when Cowdy ordered them to get their asses inside the ship cabin. Another python shark jumped out to attack Cowdy, and he managed to dodge it. He cursed the python shark, but then, to his surprise, the python shark wrapped its tail around his body. The other deacon panicked, and he said that they were not in a good situation, which caught Jiang Zi's attention. The python shark that had its tail wrapped around Cowdy's body dragged Cowdy into the water. Blood started to spread in the water, and the deacon worriedly called for Cowdy. Blood spread into the water, and to Jiang Zi and the other deacon's surprise, a pillar of water emerged from the sea, and Cowdy stood on top of it. Cowdy landed back on the boat while holding a bloody sword in his hand. He ordered his water spirit to kill all of the python sharks. A muscular-looking spirit emerged from the water, shrouded in a powerful aura. It started to gather an orb of aura between the palms of its hands. It threw those orbs of aura into the water. The dead bodies of python sharks floated out of the water. The rest of the python sharks started to swim away from the water spirit. Cowdy pointed out that they wanted to escape, and to the surprise of the python sharks, a huge wall of ice appeared in front of them. The water spirit immediately attacked them. The wall of ice was smeared with blood, while the water was also filled with blood, and multiple dead python sharks floated in it. Cowdy announced that they would continue with their journey. Jiang Zi praised him, saying that he was surely powerful and his water spirit was just getting stronger and stronger, worthy of its level 6 water talent. The children also celebrated that they were saved and said that Cowdy was really amazing. Meanwhile, Chu Mu watched Cowdy from behind, and he thought that Cowdy's soul pets were almost above the 3rd form, so he wouldn't be his match in the short term. The sun was starting to set, and in the boat, Chu Mu was in despair as he asked when they would arrive because he felt like vomiting. Suddenly, one of the children pointed ahead and told them that it was the Cyan Nightmare main island, so they had finally arrived. The boat was approaching a small inhabited island that had a huge structure that looked like a castle, and was surrounded by small buildings. The island looked peaceful, and their boat finally docked at the port. Cowdy led the children as they walked into town. Chu Mu looked so amazed while Jiang Zi told them that from that day forward, most of their time would be spent there, and if they did well, they might get dispatched to even bigger islands or even the mainland. Suddenly, 3 ladies called Cowdy handsome and asked him to come in and have a few drinks. Cowdy immediately drooled, and hearts were dancing in the air. He told Jiang Zi that the rest was up to him, and Jiang Zi agreed. Cowdy immediately buried his face in the bosom of one of the ladies, and Jiang Zi got annoyed by it. Jiang Zi continued to lead the children and told them they were currently the lowest of servants. In a few days, he would bring them into the Nightmare Palace to let them fight against members of other islands. He informed them that jobs and responsibilities would be assigned according to their strengths, so the better their ranking, the better rewards they would get. Chu Mu was taken by surprise when Jiang Zi glanced at him while saying that he hoped that one of them would achieve a higher rank. Chu Mu was speechless. A few moments later, they arrived at a small house, and Jiang Zi told them it was their new residence, and each of them could have a single room. He assigned Gu Feng as the team leader responsible for coordinating everyone. Jiang Zi distributed gold coins and told the children that each of them would receive a gold coin to buy necessary supplies. Chu Mu smiled as he looked at the gold coin and said that Mo Zai needed development. He wondered if there were suitable herbs on the market. A few moments later, as the sun continued to set, there were no people on the streets, and the houses seemed peaceful. Chu Mu walked around and cursed in his head as he got lost. Suddenly, an aroma caught Chu Mu's attention, and he seemed to recognize it. The aroma was coming from a store, and Chu Mu followed it inside. An old man was concocting something behind the counter and asked Chu Mu what he needed without looking at him. Chu Mu asked the old man if he had any heavenly blue grass. The old man quickly became friendly and told Chu Mu that they had it, and one plant would cost 2 gold coins. Chu Mu felt ashamed and speechless as he looked at the single gold coin in his hand. The old man's attitude immediately changed when he saw that Chu Mu only had 1 gold coin and told him that he was a poor child. The old man told Chu Mu that if he didn't have money, he should find another place. Chu Mu rummaged through his pockets, and as he showed the old man the soul cores, he asked him how much those were worth. The old man examined the soul core, and he noticed that it was not like the local soul beast, so he asked Chu Mu if he was a servant from another island, which Chu Mu confirmed. Chu Mu frowned as the old man told him that his 3 soul cores were worth up to 1 silver coin and 5 copper coins, as 10 copper coins were equivalent to 1 silver coin and 10 silver coins were equivalent to 1 gold coin. The old man told Chu Mu that even if he, a new recruit, could get an official position afterward, their salary would be very limited, so he needed to rely on himself to earn more. Chu Mu was intrigued by what the old man said, so he asked him if he had a good method. The old man was glad that Chu Mu was definitely cooperating with him, and he told Chu Mu that their store collected soul cores at a high price. Chu Mu's eyes twinkled, and he told the old man that it was no problem. He asked the old man which places were suitable for hunting and collecting soul cores, and the old man told him that it was the dense forest to the south after leaving the city. Chu Mu was so fired up that he quickly turned to leave, and he didn't hear the old man calling him brat, saying that he hadn't finished yet. It was already evening. The crescent moon was up in the sky, and while Chu Mu and Zeia were traveling in the fields, Chu Mu was wondering why he always felt a bad premonition. Suddenly, Chu Mu stepped on a bone that was snapped in two. Multiple glowing eyes and huge silhouettes suddenly appeared in front of Chu Mu and Zeia. On the other hand, in one of the houses, two people were having a toast. One of them was Liu Zheng, a sub-island master, and he immediately chugged his drink. He slammed his empty pint on the table. Liu Zheng was drinking with Cao Yi, and he told him that their relationship was close, so he should let him know if he needed anything. Cao Yi told Liu Zheng that in a few days, in the battle, he should let his servant finish off a kid named Chu Mu who was working for him. Cao Yi was enraged, and he called Chu Mu the son of a bitch, saying that he killed 3 of his servants who should have survived. Liu Zheng was surprised when he heard that Cao Yi mentioned that Chu Mu killed 3 servants. Cao Yi patted him on the shoulder and told him not to worry because Chu Mu's soul pet was a Moonlight Fox. Liu Zheng told Cao Yi not to worry because he would tell his servants to take care of Chu Mu. The two of them continued to celebrate as the night went on. A few days later, at the store, the old man was drinking from his cup as he thought that 2 days had passed, and Chu Mu hadn't come back yet, so he was afraid. But before he could finish his thought, someone arrived at the door. The old man was surprised, as it was Chu Mu, and even though his clothes were tattered and he had wounds all over, he stood there triumphantly. Chu Mu placed a bag on the table, and he asked the old man to settle the bill. A lot of soul cores were inside the bag, and the old man was surprised that Chu Mu had brought back so much from that forest alive. The old man counted 31st grade soul cores, which cost 2 gold coins, 10 second grade soul cores, which cost 4 gold coins, and 2 dual attribute second grade soul cores, which cost 1 gold coin, bringing Chu Mu a total of 7 gold coins. As the old man continued to inspect the soul cores, he told Chu Mu that in his many years in the past, he was the first new servant that he had seen who could collect 7 gold coins worth of soul cores in just 2 days. Chu Mu paid no mind to the old man's praise and told him that he wanted 1 sky blue grass, and the rest was discounted because he had to go to other places to buy other things. The old man was intrigued, so he asked Chu Mu to tell him what else he wanted, and Chu Mu told him that it was soul techniques, which they didn't have there. The old man told Chu Mu that he underestimated him. He grabbed his shoulder and ushered him to go with him the other way. Chu Mu said nothing as he stood beside the old man in front of a huge drawer and cabinet. The old man pulled one of the drawers, which contained something that looked like a mechanism. The drawer started to move to the side as the old man proudly told Chu Mu that his treasures were only open to valuable people, and Chu Mu thought that he was still acting so high and mighty, even though he was a crooked businessman. Chu Mu's eyes widened when he saw what was behind the drawer. A lot of shining, valuable items were neatly stacked inside. The old man toured Chu Mu inside and told him that he had many more soul techniques there, namely, the blood-sucking technique, heart of water, demon beast language, and rapid freeze. Before the old man could finish introducing his soul techniques, Chu Mu interrupted him, asking him to sell him the soul technique, rapid freeze, which made the old man tell him that he had good vision because the rapid freeze technique could be used in both offensive and defensive situations. He said that the effect with the soul pet was twice as good, and it only cost 5 gold coins. Chu Mu's expression quickly changed, and it was now filled with worry. The old man happily waved at Chu Mu, thanking him for spending 7 gold coins and asking him to come visit next time. While Chu Mu was holding the items he bought in his hands, crestfallen as he thought about his hard-earned money. Suddenly, Chu Mu was surprised when the old man asked him to wait a moment. The old man tossed a pill bottle to Chu Mu and asked him to take it. Chu Mu immediately recognized that it was a good healing medicine, but he told the old man that he had no more money. The old man laughed as he told Chu Mu that he loved those with potential, as doing business with them was like an investment. So in the future, if he wanted anything, he should come to him as the price was negotiable. The sun was starting to set, and as Chu Mu arrived at their new residence, he looked surprised. There was blood all over the place, and worry filled his voice when he asked what happened. Chu Mu summoned Mozai as he approached the door to their new residence and slowly peeked through the gap. He saw Ting Yu and the other children tending to their wounds inside. Chu Mu quickly approached Ting Yu to ask her what had happened and where the others were. Ting Yu explained that a few foremen had come and distributed a few decent quality soul cores to them in preparation for the competition. Still, several people from other sub-islands stared at the soul cores in their hands. She said they were forced to exchange with them, and when they refused, they started to fight. Gu Feng got mad at Chu Mu, questioning where he was those days. He asked Chu Mu if he knew that the competition would be held in the form of teams. He said that since they had been bullied like that, with their soul pets hurt, he was questioning how they were going to compete with people from the other islands. Chu Mu ignored Gu Feng's remark and asked what the competition format was. Ting Yu answered that 10 soul pets on both sides would fight at the same time, where trainers did not participate, and the winner could get the soul technique. Chu Mu walked up the stairs and confirmed that he understood. Gu Feng was mad as he said that Chu Mu was too self-centered, and he simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. Chu Mu heard him and told him not to worry because what they had suffered that day, he would help them all get it back in the arena. The evening came, and in the residence, someone sneezed. It was Ting Yu, and as she covered herself with her blanket, she thought that the weather on the main island was so strange, as cold as winter at night. Meanwhile, in the next door room, icicles were growing out of the ceiling. It was Chu Mu who was occupying that room, and he said that the rapid freeze technique had finally been practiced. Chu Mu slept with a balloon of mucus on his nose. The next day, the servants arrived at the nightmare arena, and they were amazed. Jiang led them in and instructed them not to look up when they went in. He explained that on top of the throne was the master of the main island, and below him were the sub-island masters, and any disrespect from their gaze could attract lethal disasters. The master of the main island told Kaoyi that he had heard that the servants he brought that year were a bunch of useless people, as his island had only reported Gu Feng, who had the highest rank, a 9th rank rock demon, and Chu Mu, who had a Moonlight Fox. Kaoyi told the master that a little accident had happened, and a few stronger ones had died. So that year, he didn't hope for anything from that group. Guo Meng, a sub-island master, told Kaoyi that he never knew he was that interesting. The other sub-island masters laughed, and Kaoyi stood there in humiliation. A few moments later, it was announced that the match would begin with the first match between Team Kaoyi and Team Guo Meng. Gu Feng immediately recognized the other team, so Chu Mu asked him if he knew those guys. Guo Meng's team leader, Zhao Feng, smirked as Gu Feng said that they were the ones who had snatched their soul core. Zhao Feng smiled as he told his team that they should feel free to play and have a good time because it turned out that the opponents were the softballs, and his team agreed. Gu Feng was slightly in a panic as he still told his team not to be afraid because they were careless last time. But if they coordinated well, they still had a chance to win. The two teams stood in front of each other, and the host instructed them to summon their soul pets. Chu Mu summoned Mozai. Gu Feng summoned his rock demon. Ting Yu summoned her thorny flower demon. On the other team, Zhao Feng summoned his scaled armor beast. The rest of his team summoned a wind demon and a Gila monster. Zhao Feng laughed when he saw Mozai, a stage 6 Moonlight Fox, and he said that it was no wonder that Chu Mu had not dared to appear on that day. Gu Feng told Chu Mu that the opponent's scaled armor beast was the biggest problem, so they would hold it back as he took the opportunity to take out other opponents, to which Chu Mu agreed. The host announced that the fight had begun, and the soul pets quickly faced each other. Mozai immediately ran towards a mushroom-looking soul pet and used her claw to attack it. The mushroom-looking soul pet was recalled back into the soul pet space. Zhao Feng asked his teammate why he had taken back his soul pet, and his teammate told him that Mozai was so strong that his soul pet might die if it got hit again. Another teammate commented that he was a loser and a disgrace to them. Zhao Feng told her not to be distracted by that and to pay attention to the battle in the arena. The scaled armor beast punched a soul pet from the other team, and it was knocked out immediately. Its owner cried as he recalled it to his soul pet space, and Chu Mu told his teammates not to panic and to keep stalling the scaled armor beast. Mozai jumped off the head of the scaled armor beast. He charged towards the Gila monster. Mozai quickly eliminated the Gila monster by slashing its head off. The main island master, Liu Zhen, Guo Meng, and Zhao Feng could not believe that what just happened was possible. Zhao Feng immediately instructed his teammates to kill Mozai first. Mozai faced the scaled armor beast, and it quickly turned itself into a ball. The scaled armor beast rolled towards Mozai, and Mozai was running away from it in a panic. Gu Feng and Ting Yu told Chu Mu that they would help him. Ting Yu's thorny flower demon threw sharp leaves to attack the scaled armor beast. but her attack simply bounced off its armor. On the other hand, Gu Feng's rock demon was bracing itself for impact. It was standing in the way of the scaled armor beast, and it tried to stop it from rolling away. The rock demon butted heads with the scaled armor beast. The thorny flower demon used its vine. It wrapped its vine around the scaled armor beast, and as they managed to restrain the scaled armor beast, Gu Feng and Ting Yu immediately told Chu Mu to take advantage of it immediately. The scaled armor beast released its aura, and Zhao Feng smiled confidently as he said that Mo Zai dared to attack his scaled armor beast, so it better be careful not to break his claws. Mo Zai used his move, ripping claw into the scaled armor beast. Its armor began to crack, and finally it shattered, revealing its flesh. Zhao Feng couldn't believe that it was possible. Chu Mu told Ting Yu and Gu Feng that it was their chance, and the two of them were a bit surprised. The thorny flower demon threw its sharp leaves at the exposed flesh, while the rock demon punched the same area. Their attacks were swift, and finally they were able to take down the scaled armor beast. Zhao Feng called them bastards, and he gritted his teeth as he recalled the scaled armor beast into his soul pet space. Zhao Feng told his teammate that he got careless, so he would leave the rest to his wind demon. His teammate released his aura, and the wind demon released a strong gust of wind. A whirlwind started to form with the wind demon on top of it. As the whirlwind grew larger, the wind demon hopped off it and began applying aura to it. The thorny flower demon, rock demon, and Mo Zai were all sucked into the whirlwind, and they looked helpless. A huge whirlwind was seen in the middle of the arena. Ting Yu, Gu Feng, and Chu Mu were affected by the strong gust of wind produced by the whirlwind. Chu Mu thought that the whirlwind was not yet at the final stage. He instructed Mo Zai to go straight through the whirlwind. Upon hearing what Chu Mu said, Mo Zai was a bit confused, but he closed his eyes and summoned the mark on his forehead. Mo Zai charged straight through the whirlwind and used his move, Shadow Assault Mode. Ting Yu was amazed, and she said that she never thought that in just a few days, Mo Zai would become stronger again. The whirlwind cleared out, and Mo Zai faced the wind demon. The wind demon started to run, and Mo Zai was chasing it from behind. Its owner asked for the help of his teammates, and he said that wind demons do not have close combat ability. But Gu Feng told him that it was too late. The rock demon managed to eliminate one soul pet, while the thorny flower demon eliminated another. Chu Mu instructed Mo Zai to kill the wind demon. A huge, slashing aura was released. Mo Zai proudly stood on top of the bloody wind demon that he defeated. The arena was smeared with blood as the battle reached its end. Meanwhile, Liu Zheng told Cao Yi that it seemed that Chu Mu did have some strength. Cao Yi was frowning as he thought that Chu Mu's Moonlight Fox must have reached the second phase. He told Liu Zheng that Chu Mu's strength had improved again. Liu Zheng told Cao Yi not to worry because his servants were better than the group of losers under Guo Meng. The two of them proudly smiled as Cao Yi agreed. Back in the arena, the host announced that it was Cao Yi's servant's victory. Chu Mu smiled proudly along with his teammates. Gu Feng tapped Chu Mu's shoulder, saying that previously, he still didn't believe that he killed the 5 people, including Zhu Shengmo. But now he does. Gu Feng figured that Chu Mu's Moonlight Fox should be in the second phase already, so he questioned why Mo Zai still looked like he was in the 6th stage and if he was under the effect of pitiful appearance. Chu Mu smiled as he told Gu Feng that pitiful appearance had improved as well. The purple-haired girl asked Chu Mu what was really the phase and stage of his Moonlight Fox because it was really hard to tell from the outside. Chu Mu told her to try guessing, and the purple-haired girl looked excited. Meanwhile, Ting Yu looked annoyed as she looked at the two of them smiling at each other. Suddenly, Chu Mu noticed something. Mo Zai was in his soul pet space, shrouded in an aura, and he could hear the whistling sound. Chu Mu smirked as he thought that Mo Zai had finally grown up again after those few days of fighting. Mo Zai's paws were surrounded with a fiery aura, and it got completely engulfed in fire. New marks on Mo Zai's paws were revealed, and Chu Mu recognized that it was the second phase, Stage 4, while the claws had reached the late second stage, so Mo Zai's attack was even more powerful at the moment. Mo Zai tried using the moon blade. He also tried using the blood-rendering claw. Chu Mu's eyes twinkled as he said that with those two powerful attacking techniques, Mo Zai would no longer be afraid of any soul pet below the second phase, the 7th stage. A few more matches happened. The host announced that the first round was over and the second round began. Liu Zheng and Cao Yi smirked at each other as the host announced that the teams facing off in the next match were theirs. Liu Zheng suggested to Cao Yi that they went to the battlefield to spectate, as it would be even more interesting that way. And Cao Yi said that it was just what he wanted. The host instructed both sides to summon their soul pets, and Liu Zheng's team, which was led by Wang Keluo, summoned an Umbra at the second phase, 3rd stage, a wind fairy at the second phase, 2nd stage, and a thorny demon at the second phase, 5th stage. Cao Yi's team was surprised when they saw that all the soul pets of the opposite team were above the 2nd phase. Gu Feng told them that the opponent was very strong, so they had to use defensive skills immediately after the fight started. And if they couldn't beat them, they should decisively recall their soul pets so they wouldn't die. Chu Mu also looked concerned. The host announced that the battle had begun, and Ting Yu immediately made the first move. Her thorny flower demon created a wall of thorns to defend everyone on their team. The servants on Liu Zhang's team were surprised. Wang Kelyu pointed out that their opponent was playing defensive right off the bat, and his teammate told him that she would deal with Ting Yu. She instructed her thorny demon to use its move, Vine Slash. The thorny demon's vine charged towards the wall of thorns. The vine slash quickly passed through the wall of thorns, and it was about to attack the thorny flower demon. But suddenly, the rock demon grabbed its vines, and Gu Feng signaled his teammate to attack immediately. The thorny flower demon immediately attacked with its sharp leaves. One of Wang Kelyuo's teammates instructed their wind fairy to use its move, Whirlwind Attack. The rock demon and the thorny flower demon were absorbed by the whirlwind. Lai Zhai, who was on Cao Yi's team, thought that if things went on, they were sure to lose. He smiled as he thought that as long as his white-feathered eagle held out the longest, the higher he would rank in individual strength. Suddenly, a soul pet with a huge claw jumped off the ground. It was a hunting wolf, and it caught the white-feathered eagle, who was up in the air with its sharp fangs. Lai Zhai was distressed, and he couldn't believe that it was possible. Ting Yu gritted her teeth while the purple-haired girl said that the other side was too strong, so they better take back their soul pets before it was too late to avoid something. Gu Feng and the others immediately took back their soul pets and admitted defeat. Wang Kelyuo was proud and called them a bunch of trash. Suddenly, a soul pet rushed forward. It delivered a slashing attack on the hunting wolf, who still had the white-feathered eagle in its mouth. It was Mo Zai, and he finished off the hunting wolf in that single attack. The hunting wolf's owner was distressed at what happened, while Wang Kelyuo was surprised. He smiled evilly and told his teammates to get out of his way as he would deal with Mo Zai. A dark, fiery figure, which seemed to be an umbra, appeared. Chu Mu was vigilant as he looked at Wang Kelyuo's soul pet. Suddenly, a purple fire appeared behind Mo Zai. Mo Zai quickly jumped off the ground as hands emerged from the flames, trying to catch him. Mo Zai landed on the ground, and, to his surprise, the hands from the flames were not chasing him but were holding down his shadow. Mo Zai trembled as he tried to move. Wang Kelyuo told Mo Zai that he was hit by the shadow-seizing soul fixation so he could see how he would move at that moment. Mo Zai was in a pinch as Umbra's restricting technique, shadow-seizing soul fixation, was a dark and beast attribute combination mental technique that rendered the enemy's body immobile after entering its body, all the while being unable to use any mental techniques. Chu Mu was agitated, so Ting Yu told him that they had all admitted defeat, so he should do the same before it was too late because it was important to save Mo Zai's life. Chu Mu gave it some thought. He told Wang Kelyuo that his Umbra had a very powerful skill indeed, but it was a pity that he couldn't stop the Soul Pet Master recall technique. But as Chu Mu recalled Mo Zai, his magic circle disappeared. Chu Mu was surprised, as he was being affected by a mental restriction. It was Cao Yi, and he was saying that it was such an interesting battle. He grinned and told Chu Mu that he should enjoy it for a while longer. Mo Zai was still trapped by Umbra's shadow-seizing soul fixation, while Chu Mu was trapped in Cao Yi's mental restriction. Ting Yu was worried about Chu Mu, and she asked him if he was okay. Cao Yi quickly told her to get out of his way if she didn't want to die. On the other hand, Wang Kelyuo looked amused as he saw that Mo Zai was still trying hard to resist. Another one of his teammates offered to finish Mo Zai. He ordered his flame tail to go, and it spewed out 3 fireballs. With all his might, Chu Mu fought the mental restriction and instructed Mo Zai to lift the disguise. Mo Zai was hit by the fireballs, and a huge explosion occurred. Chu Mu was worried about Mo Zai. The guy who owned the flame tail told Chu Mu that his trash fox was undoubtedly dead because it was hit by his flame tail's 3 fireballs. But then, as the smoke started to dissipate, a silhouette could be seen, and it was glowing. Wang Kelyuo was alarmed. He immediately instructed his teammate to quickly get his flame tail back, which surprised his teammate. Something jumped out of the smoke. It was Mo Zai, who was currently the same size as the flame tail, and he attacked the flame tail with his sharp claws. Wang Kelyuo couldn't believe that it was possible, and, on the other hand, his teammate was mourning for his flame tail. Cao Yi got more enraged, and he cursed, calling Chu Mu a bastard and saying that he even dared to lie to him. The other deacons were surprised to see that Mo Zai was already at the 4th stage of the 2nd phase, and they figured out that it had been in disguise before. But they wondered how Mozai could be immune to the Flametail's fireball attacks, which made them realize that it was possible if he had already undergone fire attribute soul crystal training. Wang Keluo was in a panic, and he immediately told his teammates that they had to work together to kill Mozai. The other soul pets immediately gathered to gang up on Mozai. The thorn demon grass prepared to attack. The Nido monster was also prepared to attack. The red scorpion also did the same. Mozai stared at them intensely as an aura surged through him. On the other hand, Gu Feng and Ting Yu cheered for Mozai in their minds. Chu Mu told Mozai that their current situation was to kill or get killed. Mozai charged forward with fierce determination in his eyes. Wang Keluo's teammates called for their Thorny Demon and Wind Fairy and ordered them to attack. The Thorny Demon used Vine Slash, while the Wind Fairy used its Whirlwind attack. With incredible speed, Mozai managed to dodge both of their attacks. The Thorny Demon's owner was annoyed and said that Mozai was too cunning. The owner of the Thorn Demon Grass ordered his pet to attack Mozai. The Thorn Demon Grass quickly swirled its leaves like a helicopter's rotor blade. It charged forward to attack Mozai. Chu Mu tried to instruct Mozai to use a move, but he was interrupted by Cao Yi's mental restriction. Cao Yi told Chu Mu that they would see how long his soul power could last. Mozai was distracted when he saw what Cao Yi was doing with Chu Mu. Mozai couldn't dodge the Thorn Demon Grass attack and was launched up in the air due to the powerful impact. Chu Mu tried his best and instructed Mozai to use his move, Flame On. Mozai did as he was told and set the Thorn Demon Grass on fire. The Thorn Demon Grass screamed in pain. Its owner got worried and said that he would take back his Thorn Demon Grass first because flames were too deadly for plants. Wang Keluo told him that he was a fool because the flames would continue to burn in his soul pet space. The kid sneered at Wang Keluo and told him not to lie. But the kid puckered his lips, and it seemed like he was trying to prevent himself from throwing up. Suddenly, flames burst out of his mouth, nose, and eyes, and all he could do was scream in pain. Wang Keluo cursed as he looked at his burning teammate. Cao Yi got angrier at Chu Mu and called him a bastard, saying that he had actually hidden so much power. Chu Mu toughened himself up to fight Cao Yi's mental restriction and said that they should continue to enjoy the battle. Mozai stood there in the arena, and he faced 3 more soul pets. The owner of the Thorny Demon wondered about Mozai's origin, while the owner of the Wind Fairy said that even after winning that battle, they wouldn't be able to beat the team after them. Wang Keluo told them not to panic, and he advised them to win the current battle first. Chu Mu told Mozai to take advantage of the current situation, and Cao Yi grabbed his hair. Mozai quickly slashed and eliminated the Nido monster. Mozai screamed in pain as a dog-looking soul pet bit him on his hind leg, but he managed to scratch its face with his claw and eliminated it. Mozai jumped away from it and charged quickly towards the Wind Fairy. The Umbra quickly moved in front of the Wind Fairy and protected it. It placed its claw on the ground. The Umbra used its dark shadow shield. Mozai glared at the wall in front of him, and he shrouded his paw with a powerful aura. He used his move, Blood Rendering Claw. Mozai dragged his claw from the top to the bottom of the dark shadow shield. The dark shadow shield was sliced in half, and the Wind Fairy and the Umbra, who were inside it, were also sliced. Liu Zheng's entire team was surprised. The main island master, along with the other sub-island masters, was also surprised, while Cao Yi frowned as he became more agitated. Wang Keluo's teammates admitted that Mozai was strong as they surrendered, and they said that they would stop fighting and let him win. But to their surprise, Liu Zheng was behind them, and he called them a waste and a bunch of losers. He was summoning his soul pet as he asked them what the point of their existence was, pieces of trash, living. A high-level hunting wolf was summoned. It attacked the children on Liu Zheng's team. Wang Keluo's eyes were bloodshot due to terror as he saw the scene before him. He screamed in terror and agony as he saw the dead bodies of his teammates in front of him, and Liu Zheng instructed him to summon his nightmare and continue fighting. With tears in his eyes, Wang Keluo told Liu Zheng that if he summoned his nightmare, he wouldn't have any more soul power to feed it. But before Wang Keluo could finish his sentence, Liu Zheng's hunting wolf bared its fangs at him, and Liu Zheng told him that if that was the case, he would die too. Wang Keluo stood up, and even though he was reluctant, he told Liu Zheng that he got it. He knelt on the ground and started to summon his nightmare. A huge magic circle with fires on the outline appeared around him. The nightmare roared as it emerged from Wang Keluo. Mozai was a bit worried as he saw the nightmare. The nightmare quickly moved, and it was suddenly right in front of Mozai. Mozai couldn't react, and the nightmare attacked him with its claws, throwing him up in the air. Mozai was dragged to the ground as soon as he landed. Suddenly, his tail was in flames. His entire body was engulfed in flames, and all he could do was roll around in pain. Chu Mu cried as he desperately called for Mo Zai. In the arena, the sun has already set. The shadow of the nightmare looms over Mo Zai, who is still on fire. Cao Yi grins sinisterly. He still grabs Chu Mu's hair and tells him to make a choice, to give up the Moonlight Fox or die with it. Cao Yi lets go of Chu Mu and pushes him, which makes Chu Mu kneel to the ground. Chu Mu is still groaning in pain due to Cao Yi's mental restriction. He screams in pain as the mental restriction continues to restrain him. Suddenly, a white flame starts to emerge out of Chu Mu. Chu Mu's eyes go wide open. Chu Mu stands up, and the white nightmare is already summoned behind him. He glares beside him. Chu Mu looks at Cao Yi, who falls to the ground due to shock, wondering how his mental attack has been disintegrated by Chu Mu. Meanwhile, the other sub-island masters stand out of their seats when they see the white-colored fire, and they realize that Chu Mu is actually feeding the white nightmare. On the other hand, the island master also stands up from his seat, and he says that it's really interesting how Chu Mu's negative emotions have attracted the white nightmare to possess him. Back in the arena, Chu Mu quickly runs towards Mo Zai, and he is filled with worry as he calls him. Chu Mu uses his rapid freeze technique. Wang Keluo's white nightmare is surprised as half of its body is frozen. Chu Mu quickly grabs Mo Zai. The fire that is consuming Mo Zai starts to transfer and have an effect on Chu Mu. Chu Mu screams in pain, but he deals with the pain until the fire that is consuming Mo Zai is put out by the white flame of the white nightmare. The white nightmare behind Chu Mu starts to make noises. Its fire grows so large that it occupies the whole arena. It approaches Wang Keluo's nightmare. Wang Keluo looks extremely terrified, and he is crying. Chu Mu uses his move, Soul Technique, Changmei, Flame On. Wang Keluo's nightmare suddenly gets burned by white flames. Meanwhile, Wang Keluo coughs up blood and loses consciousness. Wang Keluo's nightmare starts to disintegrate while Wang Keluo falls to the ground. On the other hand, filled with worry, Chu Mu tells Mo Zai that he has worked hard and should rest well. As soon as Chu Mu takes Mo Zai back into his soul pet space, he quickly turns to look at Cao Yi, who is startled. Cao Yi turns away and tries to run, but his robe is suddenly burning in white flames. He groans in pain as the heat of the white flames starts to get into him. Cao Yi grits his teeth as he brings out his knife. He cut off the part of his robe that was on fire, and it fell to the ground. Chu Mu was extremely mad at Cao Yi. He told him that he was dead, and he used his moves, Devil Fire and Flame On. But the white nightmare aura that shrouded Chu Mu earlier suddenly disappeared. Cao Yi smirked as he told Chu Mu that it seemed that he was at the end of his rope. He started to summon his soul pet. Cao Yi told Chu Mu to die as he summoned his hunter wolf, which immediately charged at Chu Mu. The floor of the arena was destroyed as Chu Mu managed to dodge the hunter wolf's attack. Cao Yi got more agitated, and he ordered his hunter wolf again to kill Chu Mu. The hunter wolf was now looming over Chu Mu. Its fangs were about to dig into his small body. Suddenly, a huge, red hand grabbed the hunter wolf's tail. The hunter wolf was surprised when it looked behind him and saw that it was a huge white nightmare that was grabbing his tail. Chu Mu looked horrified when he saw the white nightmare as he seemed to recognize it. He was immediately reminded of the past when his servants were brutally murdered in front of him, and some were burned in white flames, telling him to run away. Back in the present, the hunter wolf was completely disfigured, bathing in its own blood. The white nightmare was grabbing the hunter wolf in its tail like it was nothing, and the hunter wolf looked completely helpless. The white nightmare wrings out the hunter wolf, and blood pours out of its body while its owner, Lord Zeia, just stands there, facing Chu Mu. Chu Mu looked at Lord Zeia, and he thought that he was sure that he was the one who kidnapped him and brought him to the Nightmare Island. Meanwhile, Cao Yi, who was behind Lord Zeia, quickly bowed down and paid his respects. He told Lord Zeia that Chu Mu's soul power was not enough to feed his white nightmare anymore, so he simply wanted to help him get rid of Chu Mu. But Lord Zeia told Cao Yi that there was no need to explain because he had been there watching the entire thing from the beginning of the competition, including when he used his mental strength to prevent Chu Mu from recalling his soul pet. Lord Zeia told Cao Yi that he tried to kill Chu Mu, who has the potential to nurture a white nightmare. He ordered the other deacons to take Cao Yi away, and they immediately complied. As Cao Yi was being taken away, Chu Mu was looking at him, but his consciousness was starting to diminish. He fell to the ground with a huge thud. Meanwhile, on the audience bench, a young, beautiful lady was watching the situation intently. A few moments later, it was already morning, and in a boat that was traveling by sea, Chu Mu woke up. Lord Zeia noticed that he was awake and pointed it out. Chu Mu was in a panic, and he quickly asked Lord Zeia why he kidnapped him and brought him to the Nightmare Island, which slightly amused Lord Zeia. Lord Zeia told Chu Mu that his clan had fallen as it had already left the list of the top 4 clans in Gangluo City, and in fact, they may be disqualified to elect positions for the Battle of the Realm, so he should know perfectly well what losing that power meant. Chu Mu gave it some thought. He asked Lord Zeia if the person who hired him to kill him was Yang Luobin. Lord Zeia nonchalantly told Chu Mu that he couldn't say if it was him specifically, but it was someone from the Yang clan. And the Yang clan did not give him what he wanted, so he would deal with them eventually. Lord Zeia told Chu Mu that the reason he was telling him those things was simply because he admired his potential, and believed that he could become a strong individual one day, so the little princes told him to give him a way to survive. Chu Mu was puzzled when he heard about the little princess. Lord Zeia turned to look the other way, and Chu Mu followed his gaze. Chu Mu saw the young, beautiful lady from the arena the other day. Chu Mu told Lord Zeia that he didn't know the little princess, so he didn't know why she would help him. Lord Zeia told Chu Mu that it might be because the little princess pitied him because she was the same as him, nurturing a white nightmare at a very young age. And currently, it had already reached the 4th phase. He told Chu Mu that he currently had 2 roads to choose from. Chu Mu was told by Lord Zeia that the first option was that he could return to his clan, and Lord Zeia would retract his white nightmare so he could live an easy and comfortable life, but he wouldn't be able to surpass him for the rest of his life. Chu Mu was deep in thought as Lord Zeia told him that the second option was for him to go to the prison island. Lord Zeia told him that the island opened once every 3 years, and every time, they sent 3,000 prisoners in, and after 3 years, only 1 person survived. Lord Zeia told Chu Mu that if he could walk out of it alive, the unusually talented White Nightmare would be his, and they would accept him as a member of their Nightmare Palace. Lord Zeia said that those were the 2 different paths. The first might let him struggle but live on with his pitifully declining clan, while on the second path, as long as he walked upon it and survived, he would have the qualifications to become a god among men. Chu Mu was sweating profusely as he gave it some thought while Lord Zeia asked him which one of those 2 paths he would choose. The boat continued to sail in the seas, and Chu Mu stood behind Lord Zeia. Chu Mu thought that he could return the White Nightmare to Lord Zeia and take Mo Zai back with him, so that way he could also help his clan. But he realized that the Yang clan behind the scenes would not give up. He looked crestfallen when he thought that perhaps he would add more burden to the clan. Lord Zeia told Chu Mu that he would give him some time to think about it. But Chu Mu told him that he already decided about it, and Lord Zeia was amused. Chu Mu burned with determination as he told Lord Zeia that 3 years later, he would get out of that prison island alive. Lord Zeia was glad, and he said that it seemed like he wouldn't even have to release Chu Mu in front of the little princess and secretly assassinate him. Lord Zeia walked up the stairs, leaving Chu Mu behind. As Lord Zeia passed by the little princess, she asked him if he thought Chu Mu could walk out of the place alive after 3 years. The little princess smiled when Lord Zeia said that Chu Mu may not be able to, but it was his choice. A few days later, as the boat continued to sail through the seas, an island could be seen in the distance. On the boat, Lord Zeia summoned a winged tiger, and he told Chu Mu to go up there as it would take him to the prison island. Chu Mu climbed up the winged tiger's back, and he praised it for being a strong winged tiger. Lord Zeia told him that after 3 years, that soul pet would fly to the prison island again to pick him up, to which Chu Mu agreed. The winged tiger flew up in the sky, and Chu Mu was taken by surprise. They were approaching an island, and Chu Mu looked excited as he wondered if it was the prison island. The winged tiger started to descend onto the island. The winged tiger seemed to notice something, and it looked behind him. Chu Mu was confused as to what the winged tiger was doing. Suddenly, the caterpillar came out of Chu Mu's clothes. Chu Mu asked him why he was awake at that moment, calling him a sleepy little guy. But the caterpillar was not paying him any mind as he was buddy trembling while looking up at the sky. Chu Mu found the caterpillar's actions odd. He decided to look up, as he figured that there was something up there. Chu Mu was horrified and surprised when he saw what was above him. A gigantic silhouette could be seen behind the clouds. Chu Mu quickly told the winged tiger to quickly get out of there and to hurry up and land, which the winged tiger followed. The winged tiger frantically landed on the island. He dived into the trees. Chu Mu closed his eyes and braced himself as the winged tiger landed extremely fast. Suddenly, a huge tree trunk was in front of them. The winged tiger's eyes widened in surprise. A huge banging sound could be heard. Meanwhile, an ice falcon that had been sleeping soundly got startled by the loud banging sound. It was surprised when it saw the branch it had been perching on getting cut off, and a dizzy winged tiger and Chu Mu, who were both sticking into the ground headfirst, were beside the remaining part of the branch. The ice falcon was enraged. It flew off the branch it had been resting on. It flew up in the sky and started to summon huge icicles. It began firing them towards the winged tiger and Chu Mu, who were still on the ground. The ice falcon directed its icicle attack towards the ground, where the winged tiger was. The winged tiger quickly gained consciousness when it noticed the attack. It stood up and roared mightily. The icicles in the sky quickly shattered. Seeing that happen, the ice falcon quickly flew away. Chu Mu thanked the winged tiger, who was smiling at him. The winged tiger flew away, and Chu Mu waved it goodbye, saying that they would meet again 3 years later. Chu Mu summoned Mo Zai and said that they should set off. A few moments later, Chu Mu and Mo Zai were traveling together, and they seemed to be inspecting something on the ground. The caterpillar was traveling with them, and it was pointing Chu Mu in a certain direction. Chu Mu looked behind the bushes where the caterpillar was pointing while asking if the caterpillar meant that there was something behind those bushes. As Chu Mu peeked behind the bush, a frozen body greeted him. Chu Mu inspected it, and he thought that there were no other wounds, so the person must have been frozen to death in an instant. Suddenly, the caterpillar was warning Chu Mu while looking above. Chu Mu was alarmed when he looked up and saw that there was an ice falcon again. The ice falcon spewed out an icicle. Mo Zai quickly melted the icicle using his flames. He jumped up and attacked the ice falcon with his claws. With tears in its eyes, the ice falcon was flying away, and Chu Mu asked it if it still wanted to escape. Meanwhile, the caterpillar on Chu Mu's shoulder looked extremely annoyed, and Chu Mu was wondering what was wrong with the little cyan bug that day because it seemed to be extraordinarily active. The little cyan bug spewed out silk that looked like a net, and it was being directed towards the ice falcon. The ice falcon's eyes widened as it got caught in the silk, fell to the ground, and was unable to move. It suddenly cried for help. 4 more ice falcons flew towards the area. Chu Mu saw them, and he said that there were so many third-phase ice falcons. Chu Mu ordered everyone to run. The ice falcons were flying in a circular motion up in the sky while they summoned multiple icicles. They fired multiple icicles towards Chu Mu, who was hiding behind a tree with Mo Zai. The icicles were starting to penetrate the tree trunk, and Chu Mu said that it was not good because the tree trunk was going to be broken by the ice falcon's attacks. Chu Mu looked dejected, and he was losing hope as he said that he didn't think he would die there just after he got to the island. But the little cyan bug on his soldiers was angry. The little cyan bug spewed a silk thread and fired it upwards. It caught one of the ice falcon's legs. The little cyan bug pulled itself upwards through the silk thread, and upon seeing that, Chu Mu got worried, and he told the little cyan bug to come back quickly. As the little cyan bug neared the ice falcon's feet, Chu Mu told him not to be a hero and instructed him to quickly sever the silk thread. But the little cyan bug didn't listen to Chu Mu. Instead, he wrapped himself in his own silk thread. The ice falcon was surprised when it noticed the ball of silk attached to its legs, and it spewed more silk threads in all directions. One of the silk threads hit a tree trunk, while the others caught the rest of the ice falcons. Chu Mu was surprised at what he had just witnessed. A huge spider web was in front of him, with the wrapped little cyan bug in the middle, and he was surrounded by the ice falcons, who were also wrapped. Chu Mu quickly recognized that the little cyan bug had gone through the pupal stage. Suddenly, Chu Mu heard a noise from the trees behind him. He hid behind one of the tree trunks and observed. He saw a bald man who was surprised to see the gigantic spider web in front of him. As the bald man examined the spider web, Chu Mu knew that the bald man was one of the prisoners, and he thought that he couldn't let him affect the little cyan bug's pupal stage. Chu Mu showed himself behind the bald man along with Mo Zai with a sinister look on his face, and the bald man was alarmed. When he turned to look at Chu Mu, he was amused as he said that there was another person looking for death. The bald man told Chu Mu that it was his bad luck that he had run into him, but unbeknownst to him, more silk threads were moving and hanging behind him. Chu Mu was surprised to see that as the silk threads wrapped themselves around the bald man, who was already in a panic, asking what it was that was wrapping around him. The bald man quickly summoned his demon tiger while he was being wrapped up by the silk thread, and in the process, his bag fell to the ground. The demon tiger appeared, but it was quickly caught up in the silk threads. Tears filled the demon tiger's eyes as it helplessly got tied down by the silk threads. Chu Mu looked uneasy as he realized how powerful the silk threads were because even a 4th-phase demon tiger couldn't rip off the little cyan bug's white silk. The bald man's sword fell to the ground as he and his demon tiger got completely wrapped in the silk threads. Chu Mu looked apprehensive as he tried to reach out to one of the silk threads. He touched it and quickly moved away. There was no movement from the little cyan bug. Both Chu Mu and Mo Zai were relieved, and Chu Mu said that fortunately, the little cyan bug could distinguish them. Chu Mu inspected the bag of the bald man that had fallen to the ground. Inside it, there were soul technique books and dry food, and Chu Mu said that the bald man had a lot of treasures, so it was a gain for him. Chu Mu was reading a book, and he thought that the pupil stage was usually seen in the beast world, bug type, so he wondered what kind of soul pet the little cyan bug was. He was surprised when he found something. There was information in the book regarding the cocoon species, saying that many of these species would have an abnormal metamorphosis when entering the second stage, and the longer the cocoon species took to metamorphose, the higher the species rank. Chu Mu flipped the page and said that the description fit the little cyan bug. He was curious about its appearance and abilities after the cocoon stage. Chu Mu looked disappointed. In the book, there was no sketch of its appearance, no description of its abilities, and no tips for training regarding the little cyan bug. Chu Mu closed the book and said that he was not sure what the little cyan bug would turn into in the end, but he was still quite excited and looking forward to it. Chu Mu told Mozai that they would guard the cocoon until the little cyan bug came out, and Mozai energetically agreed. 7 days later, Chu Mu and Mozai looked extremely bored, as nothing seemed to have happened yet. They stood in front of the cocoon, and Chu Mu pointed out that it was getting bigger and bigger. Mozai was surprised when Chu Mu said that it was not a good idea to stay there all the time, as they also needed to become stronger as soon as possible. Mozai looked worried as he touched the cocoon. Chu Mu told Mozai not to worry because the cocoon was very thick and strong, so not many soul pets could penetrate its defense. With a smile on his face, Chu Mu told Mozai that they should go somewhere else at the moment and come back to check on the cocoon after a while. A few moments later, the two of them started to walk, and Chu Mu was carrying the bald man's items with him. A few birds were up in the sky, and as Chu Mu and Mozai reached a cliff, Chu Mu wondered if it was a dead end. Chu Mu said that it was a cliff there, so they should go back the way they came. But Chu Mu was puzzled, as Mozai did not listen when he called him, and instead, he was crouching at the edge of the cliff, looking down onto something. Chu Mu followed what Mozai was doing, and he asked him if there was something down there. He saw a cave where ice crystals were growing out, and Chu Mu excitedly said that there might be a special ice attribute treasure hidden there. Chu Mu observed the surroundings near the cave and saw that the place was inhabited by ice falcons. Maybe there were some special ice attribute soul pets hidden there. Chu Mu started to descend toward the cave through the vines hanging beside it. He and Mozai successfully arrived at the cave's entrance without alerting any of the ice falcons. A strong gust of wind immediately greeted Chu Mu. He noted that it was so cold there, and the wind was also strong. Chu Mu immediately instructed Mozai to use its move, Flame On. Mozai was wrapped up in flames, and Chu Mu easily strolled inside the cave, noting that the soul technique he had just learned came in handy. Suddenly, Chu Mu noticed a light around the corner ahead. He followed it and appeared quite surprised. In front of him was a huge ice crystal with a silhouette inside. Chu Mu approached it and examined it, pondering what might be inside the ice crystal. The ice crystal started to crack. Chu Mu quickly took a step back as the ice crystal started to crumble. The ice crystal completely shattered. Inside was an ice air fairy, belonging to the elemental world and being an ice-type fairy species with a high-class warrior rank. Chu Mu instructed Mozai to stay alert because, although the ice air fairy was still in the second phase, 6th stage, it could already create such a large iced-over cave, so its strength could not be underestimated. Mozai jumped off the ground. The ice air fairy was puzzled when she noticed Chu Mu and Mozai. Chu Mu instructed Mozai to use his move, Flame On. The ice air fairy appeared surprised when Mozai charged towards her while wrapped up in flames. Mozai managed to land his flames into the ice air fairy's chest. The ice air fairy was slammed against the wall behind her, and it was destroyed. Mozai used the blood-rendering claw, leaving a burning mark on the ice air fairy, but the fire quickly went out. The ice air fairy did not take too much damage, and she now looked extremely annoyed. She summoned multiple swords behind her. She directed the swords to attack Mozai. Mozai moved swiftly and managed to dodge the ice air fairy's attacks. But the ice air fairy raised her hand, pulling the sword that had been pierced into the ground. Mozai was surprised to see the swords coming at him again simultaneously. Chu Mu quickly instructed Mozai to run around in circles. Mozai did what he was told, and the ice air fairy was puzzled about what he was trying to do. Mozai continued to run while he was still wrapped up in flames. The swords that followed him around started to melt, and the ice air fairy was in a panic as she got surrounded by flames. Chu Mu smiled as he thought that the ice air fairy was really silly and cute, and it had no combat experience. However, after his training, it would definitely become a powerful soul pet. While creating a soul pact, Chu Mu told Mozai to continue to restrain the ice air fairy so he could capture her. Suddenly, there were cries from the outside. Chu Mu was alarmed as he quickly recognized that those were cries of ice falcons. A flock of ice falcons flew towards the cave. Chu Mu was agitated as he stated that they were not in a good situation because the ice falcons were alarmed. While the ice air fairy continued to panic, Chu Mu thought that he needed to capture her quickly, and so he began to form a soul pact with her. The ice air fairy continued to panic as the flames around her intensified. The cries of the ice falcons also persisted, and Chu Mu was surprised to see that there were so many of them as they entered the cave. Chu Mu thought that if he just stayed there, he would surely die. He started to run away, and he informed Zeia that they were leaving, which confused the ice air fairy. As he ran away, Chu Mu felt a grace of his remembrance connected with an ice-cold aura and realized that the ice air fairy, for some reason, accepted his soul pet contract, so he believed that the ice air fairy had no idea what a soul pact contract was. The ice air fairy happily flew ahead of Chu Mu, and he believed that she ran fast. Suddenly, Chu Mu panicked when he saw the ice falcons behind him and cursed as he asked the ice air fairy if she had lured the ice falcons again. The ice falcons began to throw icicles at Chu Mu. Both Chu Mu and Zeia panicked as Zeia summoned fire behind them to protect them from the icicles. A few moments later, the sun was already up in the sky, and Chu Mu hid in another cave, reading a book that stated any ice attribute technique in the hands of the ice air fairy would reach perfection when performed because it was the soul pet in the warrior rank with the best innate ice talent. The ice air fairy was currently sleeping, and Chu Mu pulled her by her ears as he told her that it seemed she was more amazing than he thought. Suddenly, Chu Mu heard someone say that the mountain cave was not bad, so they would rest there, and another person agreed, saying the place seemed relatively safe. As they reached the cave's entrance, one of them, the one wearing a bonnet, spotted Chu Mu and pointed out that someone was in the cave. The other person suggested they should kill Chu Mu, to which the man wearing a bonnet concurred, and so they summoned their soul pets. Both of them summoned ice falcons. Chu Mu was enraged when he saw the ice falcons and cursed them, asking if they held a grudge against them. Suddenly, the ice air fairy woke up and immediately used her move, Frost Ice Blade, piercing the ice falcons with her swords. The two men cursed and ran away in a panic as the rest of the ice air fairy's swords chased them. One of the swords damaged the backpack of the man wearing a bonnet. Chu Mu pointed out that they wanted to run and instructed the ice air fairy to use its move, the ice wall. The ice air fairy quickly followed Chu Mu's instructions and released her aura. Chu Mu was immediately astonished at what he saw. The entire entrance of the cave was blocked with an ice wall, trapping them inside, but the two men were not trapped with them. Chu Mu clenched his fist, but he saw the ice air fairy crying. Chu Mu patted her on the head and told her that it was okay because, after all, she didn't have enough combat experience, but in the future she would quickly understand what he meant. After a while, the ice wall crumbled. Chu Mu looked around the area. He saw a trail of apples and items on the ground. Chu Mu wondered if it was left behind by the two men who had just run away. He saw a paper scroll on which he recognized the mark, and he said that he thought it was clearly a Nightmare Palace scroll. Chu Mu was extremely surprised when he opened the paper and realized what it was. Chu Mu sat on the ground, and the ice air fairy hovered behind him. Chu Mu saw that his name and Kaoyi's were on the paper, so he wondered if it was the prison island's 3,000 prisoner list of names. He saw some dark names, which made him realize that it seemed the Nightmare Palace officials left a soul imprint on all the prisoners on the island and engraved them into the scroll so that once someone died, their soul imprint would disappear. The ice air fairy noticed that there was something behind the paper scroll that Chu Mu was holding, and she pointed it out to him. Chu Mu quickly flipped the paper over. He quickly realized that it was a part of the map of the prisoner island. Chu Mu thought about the map and the prisoner list, and he decided that he needed to catch the two men earlier to ask for clarification. Suddenly, the ice air fairy grabbed the map. She pulled it from Chu Mu's hands, which surprised him. The ice air fairy danced in the air while holding the map in her hand, and Chu Mu tried to call her, telling her to give him back the scroll, and to stop fooling around. The ice air fairy was startled when Chu Mu said it looked like he needed to give her a name. Chu Mu suggested to her the name Ning. The ice air fairy leaned in towards Chu Mu with a smile on her face, portraying agreement, which made Chu Mu blush. Chu Mu smiled proudly and said that Ning seemed to like her name, so he claimed that he was such a naming genius. A few moments later, the sun had already set, and Chu Mu was still looking for the two men, thinking that they must have run away that way. Suddenly, he heard someone asking to be saved. Chu Mu quickly jumped on a branch and saw that the man wearing a bonnet from before was being harassed by another person whose face was being covered by tree leaves, asking him to hand over the map. The man in the bonnet said that he didn't really have it because the deacon gave the map to the other prisoners, and he said that he knew the person who had it, so he offered to help the man find him. Upon hearing what he said, Chu Mu couldn't believe that the map was distributed by the deacon, so he wondered if the map had other uses. The man told the man in the bonnet that if he didn't have the map, he should die, and he summoned his soul pet. The man had a ferocious-looking soul pet, and the man wearing a bonnet tried to beg him to spare him. But the man did not listen to the man wearing a bonnet, and his soul pet immediately chomped down on his throat. Chu Mu recognized the soul pet as the blood beast, which was the Yang clan's soul pet, so he wondered if the Yang family was also on the prison island. The man told his blood beast that they should go back and rejoin the others. As the man walked away, his face was revealed from behind. Chu Mu looked extremely angry when he recognized that the man was Yang Jide. Chu Mu quickly recalled his past, where he was lying on the ground, and a kid was stepping on his head. The kid told him that he was the same as his Chu family, all trash. The kid stepping on him was Yang Jide, and another kid approached him, cursing him and demanding that he let go of his brother. Chu Mu was crying, and he recognized the kid as his brother, Chu Ning. Chu Ning quickly summoned his soul pet, a hunter wolf. Yang Jide smirked, and he told Chu Ning that he had petty strength. Blood was splattered all over the place, and Chu Ning kneeled in front of his hunting wolf, which was lying lifelessly on the ground. Yang Jide laughed as he said that it was as expected because the Chu family was really filled with trash. Back in the present, Chu Mu glared at Yang Jide as he instructed Mo Zai to come out. Mo Zai quickly came out, and he was about to pounce on Yang Jide from above, but the blood beast noticed him. Yang Jide and the blood beast were able to dodge Mo Zai's attack, and Yang Jide said that he was another one that was courting death. Chu Mu revealed himself, and he stood by Mo Zai's side. Yang Jide's face turned pale when he recognized Chu Mu. Yang Jide asked Chu Mu why he was there. Chu Mu nonchalantly told Yang Jide that it was all thanks to them, the Yang family. Yang Jide analyzed the situation, and he thought that Chu Mu was a living waste with a trash fox, so there was nothing to be afraid of. He ordered his blood beast to slaughter them. Mo Zai's eyes glowed. He used his move, Moon Shadow Clone, and he was able to create multiple copies of him. The blood beast attacked, but Mo Zai was able to dodge his attack, and all he was able to destroy were Mo Zai's shadow clones. Mo Zai performed a counterattack and slashed the blood beast's eyes with his claws. The blood beast got mad, and it roared ferociously. Yang Jide said that Mo Zai just has a little carving skill, and that would only arouse the blood beast's fierceness. The blood beast quickly moved forward to tackle Mo Zai, and Mo Zai was not able to dodge it. Mo Zai was thrown into the bushes due to the strength of the attack. The blood beast wasted no time, and it quickly attacked the bushes with its claws, but Mo Zai managed to dodge its attack. Mo Zai was up in the air, and he was about to deliver his attack from there. Mo Zai used his move, Blood-Rending Claw, and slashed the blood beast's torso. Yang Jide was alarmed, and he questioned how it was possible. Chu Mu told Yang Jide that he and his soul pet have only power, but no brain, and he ordered Mo Zai to kill Yang Jide. Yang Jide quickly ran away, while Mo Zai chased behind him. Yang Jide used his move, Windbind. Mo Zai was thrown up in the air by the whirlwind that Yang Jide created, and Yang Jide told him to get lost and mocked him for wanting to chase him. But Yang Jide tripped on a stone. Unfortunately, Yang Jide lost his balance and fell face first into the ground. Mo Zai continued to chase him, and Yang Jide cursed, telling Mo Zai that he would tear him apart into pieces. Yang Jide quickly stood up and summoned his soul pet, the bloodthirsty beast. A ferocious winged beast appeared, and it roared loudly. Its roar created a strong gust of wind, and it affected Chu Mu and Mo Zai, rendering them unable to move. Chu Mu thought that the bloodthirsty beast's attacks were too deadly for Mo Zai, and it would be hard for him while Ning has defense techniques, so it was better to let Ning finish the fight. Chu Mu told Mo Zai to come back, but Mo Zai was still in a fighting stance, glaring at the enemy. Chu Mu was surprised, so he asked Mo Zai if he didn't want to stop. Mo Zai turned to look at him and made gestures, confirming that he didn't want to stop. Chu Mu smiled brightly as he told Mo Zai that since he still wanted to fight, they would fight as much as he wanted. Suddenly, Yang Jide used his move, Nature's Force Root Bound. Thorny vines emerged from the ground, surrounding both Chu Mu and Mo Zai. Chu Mu used his move, Rapid Freeze. The vines froze, and Mo Zai jumped over them. Mo Zai was startled when the bloodthirsty beast appeared in front of him as soon as he landed. Mo Zai used his move, Charm. On the other hand, Yang Jide ordered his bloodthirsty beast to enter the bloodthirsty state. The bloodthirsty beast did as Yang Jide told him. He attacked Mo Zai with his claws, and the force was so powerful that it sent Mo Zai flying. Chu Mu was filled with worry, and he was about to cry as he called for Mo Zai. Mo Zai was unconscious and lay on the ground in a puddle of his own blood while the bloodthirsty beast turned to look at Chu Mu. Chu Mu looked horrified. Yang Jide commanded his bloodthirsty beast and told Mo Zai to go to hell. The bloodthirsty beast immediately charged towards Mozai, who remained unconscious. Suddenly, someone stepped forward. It was Chu Mu, and he protected Mozai behind him by using his move, Soul Technique, Chongmei, Double Ice Wall. The double ice wall was created in front of Chu Mu, but the bloodthirsty beast easily shattered it. The bloodthirsty beast used the shattered blocks of ice and threw them towards Chu Mu. Chu Mu was hit by one of the ice blocks, and it sent him flying. He fell to the ground, unconscious. At that time, Mozai started to regain his consciousness. He saw Chu Mu lying on the ground. He quickly stood up and moved towards Chu Mu. Determination filled his eyes as he stood in front of Chu Mu to protect him. Mozai closed his eyes and got rid of his pitiful appearance, revealing his large build. The bloodthirsty beast was unfazed by Mozai's change and quickly charged forward to attack him. But Mozai was able to deflect the bloodthirsty beast's attack. Mozai created a whirlwind around him and Chu Mu to protect both of them inside. Suddenly, Mozai started to grow another tail. Chu Mu was surprised when he saw it. Yang Jide was also surprised. The whirlwind continued to intensify, and all Yang Jide could see was Mozai's silhouette. Yang Jide got nervous and quickly ordered his bloodthirsty beast to stop Mozai. But his bloodthirsty beast looked like it was also terrified. Yang Jide got mad and asked his bloodthirsty beast what the hell it was doing. The bloodthirsty beast was trembling in fear as it faced the whirlwind that Mozai created. Suddenly, the whirlwind dispersed, revealing Mozai, who had evolved into a multiple-tailed fiery beast. The bloodthirsty beast's eyes widened as Mozai suddenly disappeared without a trace in front of him. There were just sudden slashing movements around the bloodthirsty beast, and they would only be seen as they connected with its body. In the blink of an eye, the bloodthirsty beast was sliced into pieces, and it burned in the places where it was cut. The head of the bloodthirsty beast fell down in front of Yang Jide. Yang Jide looked terrified. He created a whirlwind by using his move, Windbind, and started to run away. But Mozai emerged from the whirlwind like it was nothing. He threw a fiery slashing aura. Yang Jide's arm got cut off, and he screamed in pain. Chu Mu stood in front of Yang Jide, and Yang Jide was begging for him not to kill him, and he promised him that he would tell him everything. It rained, and Yang Jide lay lifeless on the ground with a dagger pierced through his chest. Footprints were near his body. Traces of more footprints led towards the forest. Finally, the footprints ended at the entrance of a cave protected with vines. A campfire and an open bag were inside the cave. Chu Mu inhabited the cave. Reading a book, he mentioned that Mozai had transformed into an evil flame six-tailed demon fox, so it was no wonder he became strong. Mozai rested near the campfire, and Chu Mu stated that at that time, the treasure of the prison island was definitely his. Chu Mu closed the book and his eyes. Recalling information from Yang Jide, he was told to encourage the 3,000 prisoners to kill each other. The Nightmare Palace had hidden a generous reward at certain locations on the island. Yang Jide told Chu Mu that the front side of the scroll contained the list of dead and alive prisoners, while the back side was a map. To find the treasure, he had to collect all the map pieces from the prisoners, and in that regard, slaughter was almost inevitable. Yang Jide revealed that the Yang family had originally wanted Zeia Guanghan, Lord Zeia's full name, to kill Chu Mu, but they did not pay him enough. So, Zeia Guanghan stole the entire family's treasures and put them on the prison island as the most generous reward. Chu Mu looked determined as he declared that at that time, he would make none of the Yang family return. 1 month later, the island looked peaceful, but it seemed like someone was cutting down trees. It was Ning. She looked happy as she defeated a boar. Chu Mu thought that after a month of training, her combat skills had become more proficient. Suddenly, Ning noticed something. She started moving forward, and although he was still confused, Chu Mu followed her. They arrived at a narrow space between two cliffs. Chu Mu looked up, admiring the spectacular line of the sky, and wondered if there was something inside that attracted Ning. Ning brought a glowing herb towards Chu Mu, and he was surprised. Ning pointed ahead, and Chu Mu realized that Ning was telling him that the high-grade medicinal herbs inside were helpful to her because, after learning the language of the beasts, Chu Mu could somehow communicate with some soul pets. Ning smiled brightly when Chu Mu understood what she was trying to say. The two of them came out of the gap, and there was a flat, open surface in front of them. Chu Mu was puzzled when Ning grabbed his cape. He smiled when he realized that Ning was directing him towards the high-grade medicinal herb, and he quickly recognized the cold grain ginseng, which was the most immediate medicinal ingredient and was of great help towards the growth of an ice-type soul pet. But suddenly, a glowing pair of eyes appeared. Chu Mu was alarmed, and he quickly ordered Ning to use her ice armor. Ning immediately gave herself and Chu Mu an ice armor. Suddenly, the beast charged forward to attack the two of them, and Chu Mu panicked. Ning immediately used her move, Double Ice Wall, and protected the two of them. but the beast easily shattered her double ice wall. Ning was surprised, and she was not able to react when a slashing attack hit her. She was slashed into pieces while Chu Mu was knocked over by a huge paw. Chu Mu was sent flying back, and he crashed into the gap. Chu Mu looked terrified as he wondered what just happened earlier. A huge, ferocious-looking tiger roared mightily, shaking the rocks around him. Chu Mu was alarmed when he recognized that it was a fifth phase, the multicolored devil tiger. Chu Mu was in the gap, while Ning was left in front of the multicolored devil tiger, still in pieces. Chu Mu called her to come back into his soul pet space. He thought that, thankfully, Ning was an elemental kingdom soul pet, so it was no blood, arteries, or internal organs, or else that one claw strike would have probably taken Ning's life. Suddenly, Chu Mu was alarmed. The multicolored devil tiger tried to attack him with its claw, but good thing Chu Mu managed to dodge it by doing a backflip. Chu Mu continued to do backflips until he was far away from the opening. Chu Mu thought that the crevice was so narrow, and he seemed to have realized something. Seeing the angry multicolored devil tiger in front of him, Chu Mu realized that it was trapped there. As the tiger walked away, Chu Mu wondered if he had to give up the medicinal herbs there. Chu Mu smiled when he realized that there was a way, and he was getting something from his bag. He pulled out a space ring that could store soul pets that have not signed a soul contract, and Chu Mu said that that ring of Yangjiad may come in handy. Chu Mu said that the 5th stage multicolored devil tiger already possessed a certain level of intelligence, so he could communicate with it in the language of demonic beasts. The tiger was surprised when he heard Chu Mu speak his language, saying that as long as he agreed and entered the space ring in his hand, he could take him out of that place. The tiger got mad, and it roared loudly into the gap. Chu Mu was protecting himself from the strong gust of wind as he told the tiger that he believed that he had already discovered that there were many people on the island and that he would be killed by them if he was trapped there. The multicolored devil tiger proudly turned his back on Chu Mu, and Chu Mu told him that since he didn't believe him, he would just leave. The tiger continued to ignore Chu Mu. After a few moments of silence, the tiger peeked to see if Chu Mu was still around. Meanwhile, Chu Mu was dragging the boar that they had defeated earlier, while Mozai was helping him push it from the back. The tiger's eyes widened in surprise when Chu Mu threw the boar in front of him. Chu Mu bid the tiger farewell, telling him that that was the food he was giving him and that it should be enough to feed him for a few days. So hopefully, one day, his companions would find him and help him escape. A few moments later, the sky went dark and gloomy, and while he was walking away from the gap, Chu Mu's chest lit up. It was the map, and as Chu Mu pulled it out, he thought that it shone, so he wondered if a prisoner with a scroll could be nearby. Chu Mu opened the map, but it did not light up. He opened it the other way, and it lit up. Chu Mu thought that it seemed that the prisoners were in the direction where he opened the map. He decided to bury the scrolls first so the prisoner wouldn't find him. Chu Mu stomped on the ground to fix the soil that he just dug up. He marked the tree that was near the scrolls. On the other hand, Yang Jinglian told his companion, Yang Jingli, that the scroll lit up earlier, so there was a prisoner nearby holding a scroll. But Yang Jingli told him to ignore it at the moment because they had a different matter to deal with first. Yang Jinglian smirked and agreed, saying that if they captured the multicolored devil tiger, their third uncle would definitely reward them. Meanwhile, Chu Mu observed them from behind a tree trunk, and he quickly recognized them as the two brothers Yang Jingli and Yang Jinglian from the Yang family. The two of them arrived at the gap between the two cliffs. Yang Jinglian said that he would tease the tiger first, and Yang Jingli reminded him to be careful and keep some distance between him and the tiger. Yang Jinglian confidently told Yang Jingli that he knew that. Yang Jinglian arrived at the end of the gap, where the tiger had its back turned towards him, and Yang Jinglian thought that it looked like a 5th phase multicolored devil tiger. Yang Jinglian told his soul pet, Wind Spirit, to come out. It produced multiple whirlwinds, which startled and disturbed the multicolored devil tiger. The tiger got extremely mad, and it tried to reach out to Yang Jinglian, who had already backed up into the gap. Yang Jinglian laughed as he teased the multicolored devil tiger, and he called it a dumb devil tiger, daring it to come and hit him. Yang Jinglian was unaware that Chu Mu took advantage of the narrow path and climbed between the two cliffs to observe him from above. Chu Mu smiled sinisterly. He summoned an ice wall behind Yang Jinglian, who was still teasing the multicolored devil tiger, daring it to come and hit him if it could and telling it to look at its incompetent and furious look. Yang Jinglian wondered why it got a little cold suddenly. He noticed something, so he looked behind him. He was surprised when he saw multiple swords coming towards him. Yang Jinglian leaped backward, and he managed to dodge the swords. He asked who did that and threatened them that they were dead. Chu Mu stood on top of the ice wall, and he told Yang Jinglian to look behind him because, at that time, the multicolored devil tiger could hit him. Yang Jinglian glanced behind him, and he cursed. He looked terrified as the tiger's gigantic paw loomed over him. Yang Jinglian screamed so loudly that it could be heard outside the gap. Yang Jingli heard the scream. He looked worried when he realized that it was Yang Jinglian's voice. He quickly ran towards the gap, anxiously calling for Yang Jinglian. Meanwhile, Chu Mu was telling the multicolored devil tiger that, like he said, sooner or later he would be surrounded by more people if he stayed there. The tiger paused and gave it some thought. He proudly looked away from Chu Mu. On the other hand, Yang Jingli had discovered the decapitated body of Yang Jinglian lying on the ground. Yang Jingli cried as he said that the multicolored devil tiger actually killed his brother. Suddenly, an ice sword landed in front of him. Yang Jingli ran away as multiple ice swords tried to hit him. He managed to get out of the gap, and he quickly turned to look to see who attacked him from the way he came. Yang Jingli looked horrified when he saw Chu Mu. Chu Mu pointed out to Yang Jingli that he must not have expected to meet him there, a dead person. Yang Jingli summoned his soul pet as he cursed Chu Mu and told him to go to hell. On the other hand, Chu Mu raised his hand to signal an attack. Ning quickly summoned ice swords. She hit Yang Jingli with those ice swords, and Yang Jingli's summon was interrupted as he had to use his move, the defensive skin. Chu Mu ordered Ning to continue to suppress Yang Jingli and to not give him any chance to summon his soul pet. Ning continued to fire, just as Chu Mu had instructed, and Yang Jingli continued to defend himself. Suddenly, Ning noticed something. She managed to dodge the attack of another soul pet, who charged at her while its owner was riding it. The one riding the soul pet was a bald, muscular man. It was Shangxi, a servant of the Young family, and he stood in front of Yang Jingli. Chu Mu was alarmed when he saw that Shangxi's soul pet was a 5th phase, 7th stage rare blood beast. Yang Jingli asked Shangxi where he was up until that moment, calling him a piece of shit, and ordering him to quickly avenge his brother. Shangxi obeyed Yang Jingli without any complaint. The rare blood beast turned to face Chu Mu. With Shangxi still riding it, the rare blood beast charged forward to attack Chu Mu. Chu Mu sweated as he was in a tight situation, but he still managed to smile. He used the space ring and ordered the multicolored devil tiger to come out. The multicolored devil tiger quickly appeared, and he roared loudly. His roar created a strong gust of wind that sent the rare blood beast flying along with Shangxi. With Ning and the multicolored devil tiger behind him, Chu Mu proudly asked Yang Jingli if he truly thought that only he had a helper. Soul Pet Master was divided into several realms, such as Soul Apprentice, Soul Warrior, Soul Master, Soul Lord, and many more. Remembrances and souls define the stages of cultivation of a soul pet master. Their cultivation stage was divided into 9 remembrances, which count as 1 soul, so to increase 1 realm, a soul pet master had to increase 1 soul, and every time a soul pet master raised 1 soul, they could summon 1 more soul pet at the same time. Every increase in remembrance would increase in soul power, and for every increase in 3 remembrances, one could sign a new soul pact with a soul pet. No matter what rank a soul pet master was at, he could make a soul pact with any species of soul pet. However, when weak, no soul pet master would ever make a soul pact with a high-ranking soul pet because if someone did that, the soul pet would rebel and would not listen to any of the commands of the soul pet master. The soul pet would often wander off by themselves, effectively removing themselves from their master's control. And once the soul pet left the master, it would be impossible to recall it, and unless it died, it would forcibly occupy one of the soul pet master's soul pet spots and summoning positions. When Chu Mu first became a 4-remembrance soul apprentice, he signed a soul contract with a higher-ranking soul pet, and the soul pet eventually rebelled against him so that the soul pet would always occupy the summoning position even after the soul pet had left, which was the reason why Chu Mu could still only summon 1 soul pet in the soul warrior realm. That incident with Chu Mu became a big joke in the whole Gangluo city. But at the moment, Chu Mu was able to summon 2 soul pets. Yang Jingli was surprised that the multicolored devil tiger was willing to sign a soul contract with Chu Mu. But Shangxi pointed out that the multicolored devil tiger was released from the space ring, so it was not Chu Mu's soul pet, which made Yang Jingli let out a sigh of relief, saying that it scared him. While summoning 2 soul pets, Shangxi told Yang Jingli that the multicolored devil tiger was willing to enter Chu Mu's space ring, which meant that it was working with Chu Mu, and should not be taken lightly. Shangxi summoned a bloodthirsty beast at the 5th phase, 7th stage, and a dire wolf at the 4th phase, 3rd stage. Chu Mu told the multicolored devil tiger that he would leave those to him. He instructed Ning to use her move, the ice wall. Ning followed Chu Mu's instructions, and she waved her hand. A line was created in between Chu Mu and the multicolored devil tiger. An ice wall also appeared between Shang-Chi and Yang Jingli, surprising both of them. The ice wall was very tall and divided the area into two. The multicolored devil tiger faced the bloodthirsty beast and the dire wolf. On the other hand, Ning faced the rare blood beast. The rare blood beast immediately charged forward. It used its claws to attack Ning, but she managed to block them with her arms. Ning took a step back to assess the situation. Her arm bore the marks of the rare blood beast's claws, but it healed immediately. Yang Jingli gritted his teeth as he thought that Chu Mu's ice air fairy's strength was strong. But he realized that Chu Mu could only summon one soul pet, so he summoned another soul pet and said that he would see how long Ning could hold out. Yang Jingli summoned a blade wing demon in the 4th phase, 3rd stage. Both the rare blood beast and the blade wing demon charged at Ning simultaneously. The rare blood beast used its move, Blood Poison. On the other hand, the blade wing demon used its move, Blade Wave. Ning closed her eyes and concentrated. She summoned an ice wall to protect herself, and it blocked both enemies' attacks. Chu Mu used his move, Rapid Freeze. The rare blood beast was surprised when his paws were frozen in place. Ning immediately summoned multiple ice swords. She waved her hand forward to direct the swords towards the enemies. Her ice swords managed to take down the blade wing demon. They also pierced the rare blood beast that was frozen in place. But despite that, Yang Jingli was unfazed, and he smiled as he summoned another soul pet, telling Chu Mu to remember that he forced him. Yang Jingli summoned a devouring star wolf in the 3rd phase, 3rd stage. He instructed the devouring star wolf to use its move, the devouring star, and it swiftly moved towards Ning, and she was not able to react to the attack. She looked at the side where the devouring star wolf had just attacked her, and she looked horrified. Her arm was gone, and the devouring star wolf held it in his mouth. The devouring star wolf chomped on her arm, which became shattered ice. Ning threw a tantrum, and she lay on the ground, refusing to fight. Yang Jingli laughed as he said that it was a surprise that Chu Mu's soul pet was actually rolling around and acting like a spoiled child, saying that it was a joke. Chu Mu calmly told Ning to come back to his soul pet space. Yang Jingli proudly told Chu Mu that he wanted to see what other trash soul pets he had. Chu Mu summoned Mo Zai. Yang Jingli laughed hysterically when he saw the Moonlight Fox, and he told Chu Mu that he truly was worthy of being the #1 joke in their gang Luo City. Yang Jingli ordered his devouring star wolf to devour Mo Zai for him, calling him a little thing. The devouring star wolf licked its lips as it followed Yang Jingli's orders. It jumped forward to devour Mo Zai, but Mo Zai's eyes glowed, and Mo Zai transformed into the evil flame 6-tailed demon fox. Mo Zai swiftly moved to the side, and the devouring star wolf was surprised when he bit him at the back of his neck. The devouring star wolf was quickly engulfed in flames, and it writhed in pain on the ground. Yang Jingli could not believe that it was possible that the devouring star wolf, cultivated by his Yang family with a lot of money, was killed in seconds. He ordered the blade wing demon to leave Mo Zai alone and kill Chu Mu for him. The blade wing demon immediately did as instructed and used its move, Blade Wave, on Chu Mu. Chu Mu smirked as he used his move, Soul Technique, Chongmei, Ice Armor. Yang Jingli told Chu Mu that they would see how long his ice armor could block, and he ordered his blade wing demon to keep attacking. On the other hand, Chu Mu instructed Mo Zai to use its move, Evil Stare, which startled the blade wing demon. The blade wing demon became more anxious as Mo Zai continued to glare at it. Chu Mu explained to Yang Jingli that the evil stare technique causes the opponent's fear to continuously enlarge, so it seems that his soul pet was trash. Mo Zai quickly charged towards Yang Jingli, who was about to summon a bloodthirsty beast. A huge slashing attack happened. Yang Jingli looked horrified as he saw the bloodthirsty beast he just summoned get sliced into tiny pieces with just a single slash attack from Mo Zai. In desperation, Yang Jingli called for Shang-Chi, calling him a bastard and ordering him to break the ice wall to come help him. As if right on cue, the ice wall behind Yang Jingli was shattered, but instead of Shang-Chi, the multicolored devil tiger appeared. A chopped-off arm dropped on the ground, and Yang Jingli looked horrified. He cried and knelt on the ground, refusing to accept that what happened was true. Chu Mu smiled evilly, and he told Yang Jingli not to worry because not a single one of the Yang family members would be able to escape from him. Suddenly, the multicolored devil tiger walked forward, and it leaned into Chu Mu's face. Chu Mu was scared as he wondered if the multicolored devil tiger wanted to eat him too. But suddenly, the multicolored devil tiger dropped another arm on the ground. He quickly turned away and left Chu Mu, And Chu Mu couldn't help but think that the multicolored devil tiger was so strong that he killed Shang-Chi, a soul master who was famous in Gangluo City, without any injuries. Chu Mu drooled as he imagined how good it would be to have a powerful soul pet like a multicolored devil tiger. But his daydreaming was broken when Mo Zai got mad and bit his head. Chu Mu told Mo Zai not to worry because he would become even stronger than the multicolored devil tiger, and Mo Zai was pleased. Suddenly, Chu Mu noticed that the multicolored devil tiger had specially taken Shang-Chi's hand earlier, so he glanced at it. He saw that there was a ring on Shang-Chi's finger. It was Shang-Chi's space ring, which was relatively small compared to Yang Jia's space ring, so it could only be used to store items, and Chu Mu wondered what could be inside. He closed his eyes, and the ring in his hand started to glow. Chu Mu recognized what the content of the ring was. Chu Mu saw that Shang-Chi's space ring had a soul armor, and Mo Zai was surprised when Chu Mu suddenly called Shang-Chi a bastard, exasperated that he had such a treasure on him. Chu Mu wore the ring on his index finger. He closed his eyes and thought that as long as he injected his soul energy into the soul armor, the soul armor would automatically integrate into his soul, and with a single mental transmission, the soul armor would instantly appear. Chu Mu activated the soul armor. A shiny, translucent part of the armor started to appear on Chu Mu's feet, hands, and head. Chu Mu was in awe as he looked at the complete set of armor he was wearing. On the other hand, Mo Zai's eyes twinkled, and he was drooling as he jumped towards Chu Mu. Mo Zai seemed excited, and Chu Mu understood that Mo Zai wanted the armor too, so he told him not to worry because soul pets have special armor too, so perhaps other Yang family members would happen to have beast-type soul armor. Mo Zai was pleased to hear what Chu Mu said. Chu Mu released more items from Shang-Chi's space ring, which were medicines, and he said that those medicines could help Ning recover from the injury. He grabbed something from his bag, and he said that he almost forgot that there was still the cold abyssal ginseng left for Ning as well. Suddenly, an empty jar rolled toward Chu Mu's feet. Chu Mu was alarmed, so he glanced in the direction where it came from. His worries were thwarted when he saw Ning lying on the ground, and she was surrounded by the empty jars of the medicines he had brought out for her earlier. Ning glanced at Chu Mu. She quickly deflated and charged towards Chu Mu to snatch the cold abyssal ginseng out of his hand. As soon as she took the cold abyssal ginseng, her arm started to grow back. Chu Mu was in awe when Ning finally grew her hand back, and she spread her arms proudly. He looked at Ning intensely as he realized something. Chu Mu said that he did not expect that after consuming the cold abyssal ginseng and medicines, Ning's skin would metamorphose directly to the third level late stage. He laughed evilly when he realized that both of his soul pets had reached the third phase, and he said that Cao Yi and the Yang family should just wait. 1 year later, in the forest, a man was running, and it looked like he was being chased by something. As the man kept running, he thought that the boy chasing him was the devil. Suddenly, a soul pet that looked like a tree trunk appeared. A huge root started to grow in front of the man. The man did not notice the huge root, so he stumbled on it, and he fell face first on the ground. The soul pet that looked like a tree trunk suddenly appeared and jumped on the man's back. The soul pet was rummaging through the man's things when someone arrived. The soul pet proudly raised the paper scroll in its hands. The one who just arrived was Chu Mu, and he smiled at the tree trunk-looking soul pet, saying that it was the fourth scroll. It was Chu Mu's soul pet, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier, a Plant Kingdom Wood type, high-class warrior rank soul pet. Chu Mu opened the scroll. He looked at the names, and he said that in 1 year, the 3,000 prisoners became even less than 1,000. He said that, however, the people who were still alive at the moment were by no means normal people. The scroll in Chu Mu's hand suddenly glowed, and he was startled. Meanwhile, in a cave, another scroll was glowing. It was Cao Yi's, and he was pleased that another prey had appeared. He grinned evilly as he wondered who was the lucky one that time. Cao Yi grabbed his knife and told the girl he was with that the scroll was lit, so she knew what to do. The girl looked up and stared blankly ahead. She was one of Chu Mu's teammates from the arena. Cao Yi got mad, and he yelled at the girl, whose name was Xinzu. Xinzu stood up, and she reluctantly confirmed with Cao Yi that she knew what to do. She looked crestfallen as she thought that it was happening again. She walked out of the cave with the knife behind her. Xinzu remembered the time when she acted helpless, and a man promised her that he would spare her life if she behaved well. And when his guard was down, she grabbed the knife behind her and slashed the man's throat. She continued to walk ahead, wondering when that day was going to end. It started to rain, and a set of footprints were going towards the forest. Xinzu sat near a tree trunk, and she acted helpless. Then she hid her knife behind her, where she could easily grab it. She closed her eyes and thought that she would just wait for the prey to take the bait. Suddenly, there was a rustling noise in the trees near her. With her eyes still closed, she thought that the prey had come. The person stood in front of her, and she started acting weak. The person in front of her was Chu Mu. Zinzu's expression changed. She was glad to see Chu Mu, and she could not believe that it was actually him. Zinzu ran towards him, but Chu Mu, who was blushing, told her to stop and wait a moment. Chu Mu was on guard, and he said that he knew that she used that method to attract people and take advantage of them. Zinzu quickly denied it and told Chu Mu that it was not what she was going to do because he was the only acquaintance she had seen in the past year besides Kaoyi. Upon hearing Kaoyi's name, Chu Mu's expression changed. He grabbed Zinzu by the shoulder as he asked her where Kaoyi was, and Zinzu told him that Kaoyi was on the beach nearby. Chu Mu started to walk away, and Zinzu warned him that he better run away because Kaoyi would be back soon to check the body. Without looking back, Chu Mu told Zinzu that he would not run away from Kaoyi. Zinzu told Chu Mu that there was no way that he could beat Kaoyi, but Chu Mu did not listen to her, and he did not look back. A few moments later, in the cave, Kaoyi was enjoying his apple while lying down. He heard something, so he was surprised that Zinzu was back already. Suddenly, a knife flew towards him. Kaoyi was caught off guard, so he barely managed to dodge the knife, and it grazed his neck. It was Chu Mu who threw the knife, and he stood there at the cave's entrance, telling Kaoyi that it was a long time since they had seen each other. Kaoyi immediately recognized Chu Mu, and he told him that he was still thinking about how to find him after leaving the prison island, but he actually came there to throw away his life. Chu Mu started to summon his soul pet, and he told Kaoyi to cut the crap because he was there to take revenge for what happened a year ago. Suddenly, Chu Mu's magic circle was broken when a knife was thrown at him, and it grazed his hand. It was Kaoyi who threw the knife. He had already summoned his nightmare, and he asked Chu Mu if he thought that he was the only one who could sneak up on people. The nightmare spewed a ball of fire. Chu Mu managed to dodge it, and he ran out of the cave. Kaoyi chased him outside, and he told Chu Mu that he hadn't seen him for a year, but he still hadn't changed because he was still running away from a fight. Without looking back and with Mo Zai beside him, Chu Mu told Kaoyi that he also had a friend who had a grudge to settle with him. Kaoyi was surprised to see that Mo Zai was an evil flame six-tailed demon fox, and he couldn't believe that it was possible. Chu Mu and Kaoyi faced off against each other. Chu Mu was accompanied by Mo Zai, while Kaoyi had his nightmare. Mo Zai quickly moved forward to attack. Kaoyi said that he couldn't let the cyan nightmare take a direct hit from Mo Zai. He summoned another soul pet and asked it to block Mo Zai for him. It was a wind spirit, but Mo Zai effortlessly slashed through the wind spirit. Chu Mu said that Kaoyi's wind spirit couldn't even withstand a single strike. Mo Zai continued to charge forward to attack Kaoyi's nightmare, but another soul pet was suddenly summoned in front of him. Chu Mu was alarmed, and he knew that it was not good. Kaoyi summoned his hunting wolf, and it quickly tackled Mo Zai. Mo Zai managed to land on the ground on all fours, and he dug his claws to prevent himself from being pushed back more. He charged forward and attacked the hunting wolf with his claws. The hunting wolf was easily defeated, and Kaoyi was surprised. Kaoyi got mad, and he told Chu Mu that he was fucking dead. He ordered his nightmare to burn Chu Mu to death, which the nightmare carried out. Chu Mu used his move, Soul Technique, Chongmei, Ice Wall, to block the nightmare's fireballs. The ice wall got shattered by the fireball, so Chu Mu asked Mo Zai to come back. Chu Mu gritted his teeth as he cursed in his head because the attack failed, and he thought that if Mo Zai were to get hit by the nightmare's flame, it would be too difficult to heal. Chu Mu summoned another soul pet and asked Ning to come out. Ning was summoned, and she looked different than before. She had more wings. Kaoyi cursed and said that the icy type soul technique was an absolute counter to the fire type, so he had to finish the fight quickly. His nightmare started to gather a huge amount of energy into an orb. The nightmare fired a very powerful beam in Chu Mu's direction. Ning raised her arm. She created an ice wall that managed to block the nightmare's attack. She summoned her ice swords. The nightmare was frightened when he saw that he was being attacked by multiple ice swords. Chu Mu told Ning to finish the fight and use her move, the ice air dance. Ning started dancing gracefully. A strong gust of snowy wind was created, and the nightmare started to feel cold. In just a blink of an eye, the nightmare got frozen in place. Kaoyi looked terrified, and he couldn't accept that it could happen. He started to run towards the cave, and he kept saying that it was impossible. Kaoyi tripped and fell face first into the ground. He struggled to get up, but the cold wind had already caught up with him. He was frozen on the ground. Chu Mu materialized a huge chunk of ice in his hand, and he told Kaoyi that he should let him cut his ticket to hell. Kaoyi's frozen head fell to the ground. Someone walked by the beach. It was Zinzu, and she was surprised when she saw that Kaoyi was dead. Tears filled the corners of her eyes as she said it was great. She wiped the tears off her face when she realized something. Zinzu gave herself a minute, and she wondered how she would survive on the prison island without Kaoyi's protection. On the other hand, Chu Mu was amazed as he looked into Kaoi's items in the cave, and he said that Kaoi had hidden a lot of treasures there. He took a gem, and he recognized that it was the fire and lightning duel attributed 3rd level soul crystal. Suddenly, Chu Mu noticed something at the entrance of the cave. It was Zinzu, and Chu Mu recognized her as she approached him. Zinzu hugged Chu Mu as she asked him to bring her with him and not leave her alone on that island. Chu Mu blushed while he told Zinzu to let go of him. He was caught off guard when Zinzu pushed him, and he landed on the mat. Zinzu told him that she could do anything for him. She removed her belt and dropped it on the ground. Zinzu came on top of Chu Mu with tears in her eyes, and she told him that she only wanted to survive, so she would do whatever he wanted her to. She leaned forward to kiss Chu Mu as she begged him. Chu Mu gritted his teeth. She pushed Zinzu away from him. He pushed her to the ground, and he came on top, reversing their position from earlier. There was a moment of awkward silence as Chu Mu just stayed on top of Zinzu. Zinzu blushed and closed her eyes, but she immediately opened them in disappointment. Chu Mu had stood up and turned his back on her, so she asked him why. Chu Mu looked mad as he told Zinzu that her life and death were of no concern to him, and he also doesn't need such a burden, so she should be lucky he hasn't killed her already. Zinzu cried, and she grabbed Chu Mu's scarf, begging him not to leave her for the sake of being Tingyu's friend. Chu Mu got more mad, and he told Zinzu that he shouldn't think that he didn't know that she passed the test on the Nightmare Island by selling her body there too. He said that Tingyu worked hard and risked her life to pass the test, so a pest like her who sold herself to survive was not worthy of being called her friend. Chu Mu told her that if she followed him, she would die that day. Zinzu let go of Chu Mu's scarf. She was left in the cave alone, sobbing. It rained outside when Chu Mu came out, and as he walked away, he wondered how Tingyu was doing at that moment. He remembered Tingyu's smiling face, and he thought that he was sure she would be fine. Chu Mu stood by the shore when he noticed that the rain had stopped. 2 years later, in a forest, birds were eating some grains on the ground. Zeia was the one feeding grains to the birds. He wondered if Chu Mu was still alive or not. He summoned a soul pet. Zeia summoned the winged tiger and instructed it to go to the prison island, and if Chu Mu was not dead, he should bring him back. The winged tiger immediately flew away. The weather was good on the prison island. Suddenly, birds flew away, like they were startled by something or someone. A person called their senior, named Jiang, informing them that the scroll was lit again. The person was named Yang, and he said that Chu Mu seemed to be deliberately luring them forward, so he wondered if there could be some kind of trap. But Yang told him that it didn't matter even if Chu Mu purposely led them there. Yang said that it was better to get rid of Chu Mu, calling him a bastard, and he asked Yang if he perhaps wanted to stay in that terrible place. Yang cursed, saying that the plan was to get rid of all the prisoners within a year, and return back with the family treasures. But he didn't expect several family members to get killed by Chu Mu, so they were to spend 3 years of life there. Yang was enraged as he said that they couldn't let Chu Mu get away at that time, so he must be killed. A few moments later, the two of them continued to walk deeper into the forest while the map on Yanghe's hand continued to glow. Yanghe pointed ahead, and he told Yang that Chu Mu should be in that direction. In front of them was a forest that was filled with silk threads. Yanghe pointed out that there was so much white silk there, so he figured that a powerful soul pet must have coiled there. Yang said that it should be the metamorphosis of some ancient type soul pet, and he has heard people in the family call it innards of a god. Innards of a god was an extremely ancient adjective formerly used to express the chrysalis metamorphosis stage of an ancient type, soul pet, and they would spit out white silk, covering the entire forest, so it became the innard blood and flesh of an enormous creature's body. Therefore, it was coined innards of a god. He told Yang that they better leave for the time being. Yang asked Yanghe what he was afraid of. He told him that he should know that even the Soul Palace and the Soul Alliance would fight to the death for ancient soul pets, and they probably wouldn't even stumble upon such a chance in dozens of years, so they couldn't just leave. Yang said that if he could get one, let alone Gang Luo City, he could even easily dominate Luogang City. Yanghe was worried as Yang started to make his way through the forest that was filled with silk threads. A few moments later, they arrived at the place where there was a huge cocoon. It was so big that it was even bigger than the trees. Yang expressed his excitement as he wondered if what he saw were the innards of a god. Yanghe was nervous, and he told Yang that he had a bad feeling about the situation, so he suggested that maybe they should leave the place. But Yang rejected Yanghe's idea, and he asked him if he couldn't see that the bug-type soul pet was still in its chrysalis. Yang laughed as he ran towards the cocoon, claiming that it was his. Yang Zheng ran ahead, while Yang He ran behind him, asking him to wait. A few moments later, they arrived at the place where the cocoon was, and Yang He was startled when they saw that Chu Mu was there, petting the gigantic cocoon. Yang Zheng did not recognize Chu Mu, as he just said that he met another prisoner alive, and he told him that he could also go to hell. On the other hand, Yang He noticed that the map in his hand was glowing. He had an idea who the person was, and he was about to inform Yang Zheng about it. But Chu Mu had already faced the two of them. Chu Mu smirked, while Yang Zheng was surprised when he saw him. Yang Zheng immediately started to summon his soul pet, and he told Chu Mu that the soul pet behind him was his, and he would never get it. Yang Zheng summoned a thunder fairy and a blood-winged trioptic beast. The two soul pets immediately charged at Chu Mu. On Chu Mu's side, Mo Zai stepped in. He blocked Yang Zheng's soul pets from attacking Chu Mu. The thunder fairy summoned a rain of lightning. It directed the lightning forward. An intense amount of lightning struck the area as Yang Zheng ordered his thunder fairy to kill Chu Mu first. Smoke and remnants of the lightning sparks filled the area where Chu Mu stood. Yang Zheng was proud, and he stated that Chu Mu dared to steal the soul pet from him. Yang He said that, as expected of Yang Zheng, Chu Mu had no power to fight back in front of him. But Yang Zheng noticed something. The smoke started to dissipate, revealing the silhouette of a horned creature. As the smoke dispersed, a horned, elegant creature was revealed, and it took a step forward. It was a Night Thunder Dream Beast of the Beast Kingdom with a commander rank, and Chu Mu rode on its back. Yang Zheng was surprised that the lightning was absorbed. Chu Mu called the Night Thunder Dream Beast Little Knight and instructed him to use his move, Death Ray. Little Knight did as Chu Mu instructed, and he started to gather energy in the orb between his horns. He fired a powerful beam of light from it. Yang Zheng was anxious, and he stated that things were not good. He summoned a circular aura in front of him. It was enlarged, and Yang Zheng used his move, Radiant Shield. The huge shield protected Yang Zheng and his soul pets, along with Yang He. Yang He questioned what kind of luck Chu Mu had to get a soul pet of commander rank, not to mention the fact that it was the dark and lightning dual type. Yang He was startled when Yang Zheng scolded him, telling him to cut the crap and summon his soul pets so they could finish things quickly. Yang He looked downhearted as he summoned his two soul pets. It was a blood-winged trioptic beast and a terror wolf. Chu Mu looked at them intently, and he seemed to be deep in thought. He ran away on Little Knight's back while Mo Zai ran behind him, and he taunted Yang Zheng and Yang He to catch him if they could. Yang He was triggered, so he volunteered to go after Chu Mu, and he stated that Chu Mu was dead at that time. Yang He's blood-winged triptych beast and a terror wolf chased after Chu Mu and his soul pets. Chu Mu glanced behind him. The little knight suddenly stopped running and turned to face Yang He's soul pets that were chasing them. He used his move, Dream Shatter, Nightmare Descends. Yang He and his soul pets were hypnotized. Suddenly, a swarm of bees appeared in the sky. Yang He immediately ran away, screaming that there was a swarm of bugs. Yang He ran away with his soul pets, and he told Yang Zheng to run away as well. Yang Zheng called Yang He an idiot, and he asked him what bug swarm he was talking about. But Yang He was so focused on running that he just ran past Yang Zheng and did not answer his question, which annoyed Yang Zheng. Yang Zheng told Chu Mu that the Dream Beast's mental attack only worked on a cowardly loser like Yang He, and he got agitated as he asked Chu Mu if he thought it would work on him as well. Chu Mu did not answer him, and he just laughed, telling Yang Zheng that it looked like his dog had abandoned him. Chu Mu told Yang Zheng that his Yang family was just a group of trash that only clung together, so without Yang he was nothing. Yang Zheng got mad, and he told Chu Mu that even without Yang he could still kill him. He summoned another soul pet as he asked Chu Mu if he thought he was the only one with a powerful soul pet. Yang Zheng ordered his soul pet to come out. A gigantic, 1,000-feet poisonous centipede appeared in front of Chu Mu. The 1,000-feet poisonous centipede appeared from the ground, and it towered over Yang Zheng's other soul pets. The 1,000-feet poisonous centipede charged forward to attack Chu Mu. Chu Mu jumped off the Little Knight. Chu Mu told Little Knight that he could easily restrain the Thunder Fairy attack, so he should try to pin down the centipede. Chu Mu also instructed Mo Zai to take the opportunity to cross the centipede and finish the blood-winged trioptic beast. Chu Mu instructed both Little Knight and Mo Zai to go. The two of them followed Chu Mu's instructions and charged forward. The 1,000-feet poisonous centipede used its move, Poison Splash. Little Knight fired his powerful beam of light while Mo Zai's eyes were filled with fire. Little Knight's attack collided with the 1,000-feet poisonous centipede. Mo Zai jumped off the ground to attack, which surprised the blood-winged trioptic beast and the 1,000-feet poisonous centipede. The 1,000-feet poisonous centipede's attention was on Mo Zai, who was charging towards him. Suddenly, Little Knight used his move, the Thunder Step. The 1,000 feet poisonous centipede was electrocuted by Little Knight's attack. On the other hand, Mozai passed by the 1,000 feet poisonous centipede just like Chu Mu instructed and charged towards the blood-winged trioptic beast. The Thunder Fairy used its move, Lightning Ray, while the blood-winged trioptic beast created a whirlwind to attack Mozai. Mozai moved swiftly, and he managed to dodge the attack of the two soul pets. Jiang was anxious when he saw that Mozai was so fast. Mozai went faster and created another image of himself. He charged towards the blood-winged trioptic beast, who looked confused. Blood spurted out of the blood-winged trioptic beast as Mozai used his move, the Illusion Evil Flame Claw. The blood-winged trioptic beast was burning as it crashed into the ground. Its eyes were filled with tears as the flame continued to burn it. Jiang was alarmed when he realized that illusion could actually do real damage, and he wondered how much stronger Chu Mu had become in the past few years. Chu Mu reminded Jiang that he was already said that none of his Yang family would leave that prison island alive. Jiang cursed as he saw his blood-winged trioptic beast get burned to death. Meanwhile, at a distance, the fire from the blood-winged trioptic beast was visible in the middle of the forest that was filled with silk threads. Someone who was riding their blood-winged trioptic beast saw the fire in the forest. The man was Yang Lenking. Suddenly, someone caught his attention. He got curious when he saw a trembling blood-winged trioptic beast behind a huge rock. Yang Lenking checked it out, and he saw Yang He with his blood-winged trioptic beast and Terror Wolf trembling in fear behind the rock. Yang Lenking wondered if it were a mental attack. He directed his aura at Yang He to release him from the mental attack. Yang He came back to reality. He saw the mad Yang Lenking, asking him what he did alone and where Yang was. Yang He immediately told Yang Lenking that they encountered Chu Mu on that prison island, calling him a Chu family brat. And he reported that Chu Mu repeatedly disrupted their work, and Yang was already chasing after him. Yang Lenking kicked Yang He and told him to lead the way because that day, Chu Mu were dead. Both Yang Lenking and Yang He traveled over the forest, riding on their blood-winged trioptic beast. Yang He pointed ahead and told Yang Lenking to look. Yang Lenking was surprised when he saw Yang fleeing, riding on his flying soul pet. Yang saw Yang Lenking, and he told him that he was truly coming at the perfect time because Chu Mu was chasing him in the woods, so he asked him to quickly help him kill Chu Mu. Yang quickly joined their group, and with Yang Lenking leading them, they charged in the direction where Yang was fleeing earlier. Chu Mu rode on Little Knight, and he was alarmed when he saw a blood-winged trioptic beast flying towards him. Chu Mu cursed when he recognized Yang Lenking, and he was on edge when he realized that the monster was sent to the island too. He quickly pulled Little Knight to turn, and he told him to retreat. Chu Mu quickly retreated deeper into the forest while still riding Little Knight. Yang Lenking pursued him from behind, riding his blood-winged trioptic beast. The blood-winged trioptic beast that Yang Lenking was riding used its move, Blood Fiend Hurricane. Multiple whirlwinds approached Chu Mu from behind. Chu Mu looked back, and he realized that he was in a bad situation. Suddenly, something hit the whirlwinds. The whirlwinds disappeared into thin air. It was the Devil Tree Battle Soldier who stopped the whirlwinds, and Chu Mu said that the whirlwinds had a destructive power because even after relying on the Devil Tree Battle Soldier and soul armor, he only barely managed to avoid them. Yang Lenking was amused, and he said that he couldn't believe that Chu Mu didn't die. He dove forward to attack Chu Mu. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier, who rode on Little Knight behind Chu Mu, noticed Yang Lenking's attack from behind. He jumped off Little Knight and faced Yang Lenking. Chu Mu saw what the Devil Tree Battle Soldier did, and he told it to come back to him. But the Devil Tree Battle Soldier did not listen, and he raised his arm to attack. He used his move, Root Net, to hinder Yang Lenking from chasing behind Chu Mu. But Yang Lenking simply smirked, and he said that the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was overestimating himself. The blood-winged trioptic beast Yang Lenking was riding continued to charge forward, and the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was broken into pieces along with his root net. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier's pieces crashed on the ground. He trembled in pain. He pointed out that the vitality of the plant kingdom was more tenacious because the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was not dead yet. And Yang told him that if he didn't have a fire attribute soul pet, he shouldn't waste time with it and just go after Chu Mu. Chu Mu stood in front of the innards of a god, trapped, and Yang Lenking told him that they would see where he could escape at that moment. But Chu Mu just smirked confidently. Yang got infuriated when he saw that Chu Mu could still laugh, and so he told Chu Mu that he would make his life worse than death. With confidence, Chu Mu asked them if they thought that he just wandered in there. Yang Lenking, Yang and Yang He were surprised to hear what Chu Mu said. Suddenly, there were movements in the innards of a god, Cracks started to form in it. It hatched behind Chu Mu, but he was unfazed. Long, sharp legs came out of the cocoon, and it broke free from the silk threads. A huge wing was also spread out, and they also broke free from the silk threads. A mighty dragon roared loudly. Yang Lenking looked terrified. The huge dragon glared at them, and Yang Lenking quickly retreated while telling Yang Zheng and Yang He to quickly run away. The dragon roared loudly and spread its wings open. A strong gust of wind filled the area. The strong gust of wind hit Yang Lenking, Yang Zheng, and Yang He, along with the soul pets they were riding. They fell to the ground, and their blood splattered all over. Yang Zheng managed to survive, and he was calling for Yang Lenking, asking him to save him. But Yang Lenking was just sitting in front of him, not moving, which made Yang Zheng call out his name in a questioning tone. Both Yang Lenking and his blood-winged trioptic beast were trembling in fear that they couldn't move. Blood splattered all over the place as the dragon stepped on the blood-winged trioptic beast in front of Yang Lenking, who still couldn't move. Filled with blood, Yang Lenking said that he never thought that the lost ancient soul pet of the Soul Alliance would appear there. As cyan light filled the heavens, Yang Lenking recognized the innards of a god, an ancient soul, an undying battle insect, an immortal hidden dragon. The immortal hidden dragon glanced behind him. He was looking at Chu Mu, and Chu Mu was caught off guard. Chu Mu smiled as he asked the immortal hidden dragon if he was leaving the remaining Yang family members to him. Chu Mu released his aura. He used his move, Rapid Freeze, and he froze the bodies of Yang Lenking, Yang Zheng, and Yang He. Chu Mu clenched his fist, and blood spurted out of the blocks of ice he just created. The blocks of ice shattered into pieces. The immortal hidden dragon lowered his head and let Chu Mu pet it. Suddenly, the sky went dark, and the immortal hidden dragon was alarmed along with Chu Mu. There was a huge silhouette in the sky, and Chu Mu knelt on the ground while clenching his chest, as he thought that it felt like the mysterious unknown creature from 3 years ago when he entered the island, and he figured that it looked like when the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon broke from its cocoon. The mysterious creature got alarmed. The Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon roared loudly. He prepared his huge, sharp claws, and he flew up into the sky to fight the mysterious creature. Chu Mu watched anxiously. The Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon started to disappear into the dark clouds, and suddenly, a huge explosion of power happened in the dark clouds, and Chu Mu just stood there beneath it, watching as things unfolded. There were explosions after explosions in the dark sky, and there was lightning all over the place. The waves on the island got larger and fiercer. The volcano also started to erupt. The ground cracked, and Chu Mu was surprised as he almost fell into the ground that was separating. Chu Mu looked up in the sky with awe, and he told Mozai that there would eventually be a day when they would be like those creatures where the earth would sink and the cloudy skies would change with just one wave of their hands. Mozai howled happily in agreement. The sky cleared up, and the rain let up. Chu Mu wondered if the battle were over. The silhouette of the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon could be seen in the sky, along with the mysterious creature. As the mysterious creature started to fly away, the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon fell from the sky, and Chu Mu was worried as he ran towards it. It crashed into the ground. Chu Mu called the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon, Little Guy, and asked him if he were okay. Chu Mu was alarmed when Little Guy started to emit a bright light. Little Guy shrank in size, and Chu Mu was surprised when he saw its body changing. Little Guy let out a sound. Chu Mu crouched on the ground to hear him clearly, and in beast language, Chu Mu asked Little Guy if he was saying that he has to leave because there was someone chasing him. Chu Mu was alarmed when Little Guy stood up and started to tremble. A huge lump formed in its throat. It moved forward into its mouth, and the drool started to ooze out of Little Guy's mouth. Little Guy spat out an oval-shaped item, and Chu Mu reached out to accept it. Chu Mu was surprised when he recognized that it was a dragon egg. Little Guy made out noises to talk to Chu Mu in beat language. Chu Mu looked glad when he understood what the Little Guy said, and he confirmed with Little Guy that if he wanted him to make a soul pact with the dragon, let it become strong so it would protect him and Mozai. Little Guy nodded in agreement. He was alarmed when he noticed something in the sky. Chu Mu was alarmed as Little Guy quickly turned his head to look up at the sky. Little Guy started to fly away, but it was still looking back at Chu Mu. Chu Mu told Little Guy not to worry because he would protect the dragon egg. As Chu Mu looked at Little Guy fly into the sky, he thought that Little Guy was so anxious, so there must be some incredible force chasing after him. Meanwhile, 3 flying soul pets were approaching the prison island. There were men that were wearing white cloaks riding the soul pets, and one of them reported to their lord that they found the traces of the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon, who had been missing for 4 years at Hang Ocean, which was controlled by the Nightmare Palace. One of them exclaimed that the Empyrean Cyan immortal hidden dragon had finally appeared. The Soul Emperor, Ting, said that each time the Empyrean Cyan Immortal Hidden Dragon pupates, it leaves behind a younger generation, so they should search to see if it left its hidden dragon egg on the prison island, to which the men in cloak immediately agreed. Ting closed his eyes. He recalled that their leader told him that when the Empyrean Cyan Immortal Hidden Dragon fled the Soul Alliance, it brought an extremely valuable soul pet egg with it, so he ordered Ting to get the egg back, whatever it took and no matter the cost. Ting saw Little Guy, and he said that at that time, he could not escape. Meanwhile, in the space between two cliffs, Chu Mu traversed that space with a map in his hand. And at that moment, the dragon egg was quietly lying in the space ring. As Chu Mu reached the end, he said that he didn't expect the treasure to be buried there, but it seemed that the multicolored devil tiger being trapped there wasn't purely a coincidence. He summoned Mo Zai. Mo Zai appeared, and he was confused about why Chu Mu summoned him. Chu Mu pointed out the X mark on the ground as he told Mo Zai that it was up to him. Mo Zai looked annoyed as he glanced at Chu Mu. He started to dig into the ground. As Mo Zai dug deeper, he threw the dirt he dug towards Chu Mu, burying him in it. Mo Zai gracefully sat on top of the dirt he dug, while Chu Mu looked dirty as he dug himself out of the dirt that was covering him. He saw the box that was in the hole Mo Zai just dug, the prize of the prison island, and he wondered what exactly was inside. Mo Zai slept soundly on top of the soil he dug earlier, while Chu Mu carefully took the box out of the hole. Chu Mu opened the box, and a bright light shone inside it. Chu Mu was in awe when he recognized the treasure inside, which was the source of the bright, shining light. He said that it was a soul technique book with such a high degree of completeness, and it was no wonder that it was a family treasure of the Yang family. The power behind a soul technique was determined by two factors. First, it was naturally the soul pet master's soul remembrance strength, and second, it was how complete the soul technique book was that one studied from. Inside one soul technique book were various eminently complicated lined imprints that even the strongest imprint master could not completely imprint a soul technique book normally. When the imprint design in a soul technique book reached a replication of 70 with the soul technique, it could be learned, but it would not reach the level of a complete 100 soul technique. So, when a soul technique completeness fell by 10, its effectiveness would most likely decrease by twofold. But the soul technique Chu Mu got was the most complete copy, which had reached a completeness of 99. As he opened the scroll, Chu Mu couldn't believe that it was the soul technique, Violent Blood Pupil. A complete Violent Blood Pupil could cause a soul pet's strength to directly increase by one phase. Chu Mu looked pleased as he said that he finally has a decent soul technique. Suddenly, orange wings flapped in the sky. Both Chu Mu and Mo Zai noticed it, and they turned to look at what it was. Chu Mu was surprised when he saw that it was the winged tiger. He rejoiced, saying that it finally came to pick him up, and he told Mo Zai that they should go as it was time to go back, to which Mo Zai howled in agreement. Meanwhile, in Nightmare City, everything was peaceful. At the Nightmare Palace battlefield, the Little Princess Squire selection competition was being held. Zeia Guanghan was watching it along with other guests. One of them was Zhu Luling, and he asked Zeia Guanghan what he thought about Jiang in the arena, as he was the #1 expert under him, and Zeia Guanghan said that in 3 minutes, Jiang would win. Zhu Luling said that it was great because if Zeia Guanghan thinks so highly of Jiang, the squire position would be given to him. But the other guest, Su Yu, said that trash like Jiang wouldn't last 10 minutes under him. Zhu Luling told Su Yu that, although he was the eldest son of the Blue Nightmare Palace Master, he may not be able to beat Jiang. But someone placed a beautiful gem on the table. It was Su Yu, and he said that he would bet a 4th level dual type soul crystal that he would get rid of Jiang within 10 minutes. But if he couldn't, the soul crystal would belong to Zhu Luling. Zhu Luling asked Su Yu what he would want if he won. Su Yu told Zhu Luling that he wanted nothing because that bet was just to let him know that Jiang was merely a piece of trash in his eyes. The two of them glared at each other, and there was a spark of tension between them. The host announced that Jiang was the winner. The announcement took Zhu Luling and Su Yu's attention off each other. Su Yu jumped out of his seat. He jumped towards the arena and told Zhu Luling to start the countdown. Feng Xian, the lady that served the guests, asked Zeia Guanghan if he thought that Su Yu could really defeat Jiang within 10 minutes, and Zeia Guanghan told her that Su Yu would because, even though he was crazy, he had the power. Zhu Luling was anxious as he asked how it was possible. The sky was clear and peaceful, and the host announced that Su Yu won, and it took 7 minutes. Su Yu told Jiang that he would not be his match even if he trained for 3 more years. Su Yu bowed to the direction where the guests were, and he told Zeia Guanghan that the selection of the young princess squire could be declared over because no one was more qualified for that position than him. but Zeia Guanghan told him to wait a little longer. Su Yu proudly told Zeia Guanghan that the others there were no match for him, so he questioned him about why they would wait. Zeia Guanghan said that if the person he was waiting for comes back alive, the squire position might not be his. Su Yu was puzzled, so he asked Zeia Guanghan who it was. Zeia Guanghan looked up, and he told Su Yu to look there. Su Yu looked up just as he was told, and he was puzzled when he saw a huge shadow looming over him. It was the winged tiger's shadow, and Chu Mu was confidently riding on its back. Chu Mu smiled, and he hopped off the winged tiger. He was dirty and stinking, so Su Yu immediately told Zeia Guanghan that he should just say if he did not want to give the position to him, and he did not need to find such a comical thing. Zeia Guanghan ordered Feng Xiang to take Chu Mu down to wash up first, and Feng Xiang gladly agreed. But Su Yu told Zeia Guanghan that he did not have time to wait for Chu Mu to slowly wash and groom. Chu Mu was annoyed, so he told Su Yu that if it was a battle, they should start immediately because he did not want to take a shower again because of his blood. Su Yu was also pissed, and he told Zeia Guanghan that he could never restrain himself in battles, so he might accidentally kill his subordinate, Chu Mu. Zeia Guanghan confidently told him to feel free if he could. Su Yu told Chu Mu that he should pray that Zeia Guanghan could save him in time because that way, he might still live cowardly. And he told Chu Mu to summon his soul pet. Zeia Guanghan clarified that the competition only allows summoning one soul pet, and no switching is allowed. Chu Mu told Su Yu that he should go first. Su Yu was smug when he realized that Chu Mu wanted him to summon his soul pet first so he could summon a soul pet to his advantage. As Su Yu summoned his soul pet, he told Chu Mu that he wanted him to know that, in front of absolute strength, any trick was useless. Su Yu summoned a blue nightmare. Chu Mu was a bit distressed as he acknowledged the strength of the blue nightmare. He summoned Ning. Su Yu laughed, and he told Chu Mu that he turned out to summon such a garbage soul pet, and it seemed like he only needed 3 minutes to get rid of him. Meanwhile, Zhu Luling was analyzing Ning, and he told Zeia Guanghan that it was a top talent ice air fairy. But even if it had top talent, it should not have been summoned to contend against a commander rank blue nightmare. Zeia Guanghan simply told him to just wait and see. Su Yu attacked immediately, and he ordered his blue nightmare to use its move, Devil Fire. Ning quickly gathered an aura between the palms of her hands, and she summoned an ice wall. Su Yu was alarmed. Ning floated above the ice wall she had just created. She started to dance. On the other hand, the blue nightmare started to freeze. The blue nightmare was frozen in place as Ning used her move, Ice Air Dance. Su Yu was unfazed, and he said that Ning was ridiculous for daring to think that she could slow down and kill his blue nightmare with a long-range attack. A whirlwind of fire started to swirl around the blue nightmare. While Ning summoned her swords, Su Yu told her that with such a slow ability, before the ability was even cast, Ning would die. The blue nightmare's eyes gleamed inside the whirlwind of fire, and used its move, Devil Fire Whirlpool. It charged towards Ning, who was still in the middle of summoning her swords. The blue flames consumed Ning. Tears filled her eyes while the whirlwind of fire consumed her, and she was helpless against it. She disappeared into thin air along with the whirlwind of fire. All that was left was the blue nightmare that floated above the ice wall and loomed over Chu Mu. Su Yu said that Ning couldn't even take a single blow, and he told Zeia Guanghan that the victor was decided. Zeia Guanghan calmly looked at his drink, and he sounded amused as he questioned Su Yu's words. Suddenly, there was a ripple in the shiny surface of the ice wall. Ning was inside it, and she smiled victoriously. The blue nightmare declared its victory in the arena. Zhu Luling sighed as he told Zeia Guanghan that it was over and the fight was a bit boring. Zeia Guanghan was unfazed, and he told Zhu Luling that there was an ice-type ability called Ice Mirror, and its appearance was very similar to that of an ice wall. He said that although it was smoother, many people without battle experience easily mixed the two up. Zhu Luling was surprised when he heard what Zeia Guanghan said. There was a ripple in the ice mirror, and Ning emerged from it. She emerged out of the ice mirror, and she looked completely unharmed. Su Yu was surprised when he realized that the ice fairy from earlier was just a fake. He realized that Ning finished summoning the ice swords above him and cursed. The swords came down at high speed to attack. They pinned Su Yu's blue nightmare into the ground. Ning summoned another sword, and while wielding it, she started to approach the blue nightmare. Ning raised the sword. She plunged it into the blue nightmare's chest. Su Yu looked horrified. Chu Mu told Su Yu that in the usage of abilities and battling awareness, he was practically worse than some soul apprentice, and if it were not for Zeia Guanghan saying that killing was not allowed, he would have been dead long ago. Su Yu got mad, and he told Chu Mu that he was a nobody, so he shouldn't even think of lecturing him. He summoned 2 more soul pets, one that looked like a serpent and another that looked like a wolf. Ning was alarmed, and she took a step back. On the other hand, Zeia Guanghan intently observed what was going to happen next. Chu Mu smiled confidently. He summoned Mo Zai. Mo Zai closed his eyes, and when he opened them, he used his move, Evil Stare. Chu Mu reminded Su Yu of his words as he returned the phrase to him, saying that in front of absolute strength, any trick was useless. Su Yu was now in distress, and as he took a step back, he asked Chu Mu who the hell he was. Zeia Guanghan, along with Feng Xiang, appeared behind Su Yu with a smile on his face and asked him if he knew about the prison island within the Eternal Ocean. He said that Chu Mu was the 18-year-old king of Prison Island, and that Chu Mu even broke his record for being the youngest king of the prison island. Su Yu couldn't believe that it was possible that Chu Mu was actually only 18 years old. Chu Mu reminded Zeia Guanghan that 3 years ago, he said that when he walked out of Prison Island, he would receive absolute freedom, so he wanted to return to his clan first. Zeia Guanghan told Chu Mu that there was no need to be in such a hurry because he wanted him to do one thing, and it would not be hard nor obstruct him from returning to his clan. Chu Mu was intrigued, and he asked Zeia Guanghan what that thing was. Zeia Guanghan announced that from that day onward, he would be the Eternal Ocean Nightmare Prince, and his job was to be Princess Jinru's personal squire. Someone dropped their mug on the ground. It was Zhu Luling, and he was surprised that Zeia Guanghan actually chose to give Chu Mu the title of Nightmare Prince. Nightmare Prince was the highest honor given to the younger generation of Nightmare Palace. Cities under the 8th level were under the control of the Nightmare Palace. If one has the title of Nightmare Prince, one has the power of Vice City Master, and all men under those wielding significant power had to unconditionally follow any orders given by a Nightmare Prince. Chu Mu was taken aback when Feng Xiang and another deacon kneeled in front of him and paid their respects to him, the Nightmare Prince. Zeia Guanghan left the arena and ordered Feng Xiang to take Chu Mu to the Nightmare Palace. Before leaving, Zeia Guanghan remembered something, so he glanced at Chu Mu and told him that his evil flame six-tailed demon fox was pretty good. Chu Mu said nothing, but he was definitely apprehensive about what Zeia Guanghan said. Feng Xiang requested that Chu Mu follow her. The two of them left, leaving Su Yu behind in the arena, and he threatened Chu Mu to wait for him. A few moments later, Chu Mu and Feng Xiang arrived at the Nightmare Palace. Feng Xiang told Chu Mu that it was split into the inner Nightmare Palace and the outer Nightmare Palace. She told him to remember not to walk around randomly within the inner palace because if he walks into places he shouldn't be in, he may become a prisoner. Feng Xiang explained that the status of the Nightmare Palace was split into 10 levels, with the first level being the lowest and the 10th level being the highest level. She said that the Nightmare Prince was a 7th level title as she pointed at a door and told Chu Mu that it was his living quarters given to him based on his position. As they entered Chu Mu's living quarters, Feng Xiang said that soon someone would lead 20 women into his room, and he could choose any 2 as his personal servants. Chu Mu cried as he remembered his previous living conditions and said that after years of sleeping in the open air, he could finally live in a comfortable room. Feng Xiang told Chu Mu that in the future, if Zeia Guanghan had any tasks, she would be in charge of delivering them to him. She informed him that the princess wasn't in the Nightmare Palace at the moment, so he could return to his clan first and do something for the Nightmare Palace. Chu Mu asked what it was. Feng Xiang simply told Chu Mu that after he arrived at Gangluo City, someone would tell him. She also told him that the Yang clan didn't follow their end of the contract, but Zeia Guanghan was busy at the moment and he couldn't deal with them, so he should get rid of them along the way as well, which made Chu Mu quite skeptical. As Feng Xiang left the room, Chu Mu was thinking that it seemed that Zeia Guanghan wanted to develop him as a subordinate of his. Chu Mu thought that if Zeia Guanghan discovered Mo Zai's ability to continuously mutate, he would definitely steal Mo Zai without a second of hesitation, so he must break away from Zeia Guanghan's control as soon as possible. Suddenly, the door opened. A man entered, and as he paid his respects to Chu Mu, he told him that he could pick any 2 servants as he pleased. A blonde lady entered the room first. The other servants followed her. Ting Yu was one of the servants, and she came in last. The atmosphere was gloomy as the servants quietly stood there in front of Chu Mu. They were thinking that Chu Mu looked terrifying and was like a beast, so they were wishing that he wouldn't pick them. Chu Mu felt awkward, as he felt that the atmosphere seemed a little off. Chu Mu was surprised when the man earlier told him that he heard that he was from the Eternal Ocean, and that one of the girls also happened to be from the Eternal Ocean. Unaware that the Nightmare Prince was Chu Mu, Ting Yu was annoyed at what the man said, and in her head, he was calling him a bastard and was telling him to shut up. Without much thought, Chu Mu told the man that he would choose that girl, and he was about to enter a room, but the man told him that there was still one left to choose. Chu Mu quickly glanced at the servants and spotted the blonde girl, so he told the man that the yellow-haired servant was fine. He quickly entered the room as he ordered his servants to prepare some bathing water for him because he wanted to take a bath. Ting Yu and the blonde-haired servant looked horrified as the other servants quickly fled the scene. The blonde-haired servant, King He, asked Ting Yu what they would do because Chu Mu's eyes were so scary as if he would swallow them whole, and Ting Yu told her that she also didn't know, so they could only do things step by step and hope. The two of them were alarmed when Chu Mu called for King He and asked her to come into the room. With tears still flowing down her face, King He quickly ran towards the room, and she told Ting Yu that she would be going first. Ting Yu was left in the room. A few moments later, Ting Yu wondered what was taking King He so long, and while she called Chu Mu a beast, she wondered if he was doing something. Suddenly, King He screamed, and Ting Yu was alarmed. She quickly charged into the room and told King He that she was there to save her. But Ting Yu was both surprised and puzzled when she saw what was happening inside the room. King He was blushing as she admired Chu Mu, and she told him that he was so handsome. Ting Yu quickly recognized Chu Mu, and she blurted out his name in surprise. She immediately hugged him, and she said that she knew he would survive. Meanwhile, at the Blue Nightmare Palace, the palace master was surprised to hear about the 18-year-old king of Prison Island, and he said that Zeia Guanghan's subordinates were indeed talented individuals. The palace master talked to Su Yu, who asked him if he would just let things go when Chu Mu almost killed him. The palace master told Su Yu that he would help him vent his anger. He smirked as he said that, however, Chu Mu's reputation probably spread already, so they couldn't mess with him openly, but they could use that to deal with him. At the Nightmare Palace, people gossiped about how the Eternal Ocean Nightmare Prince was only 18 years old and was the youngest king of Prisoner Island. They said that glory had spread everywhere in the Nightmare Palace, thus many youth experts wanted to fight with him to increase their own fame. Meanwhile, Chu Mu used soul crystals to cultivate Ning and Mo's eye. Ting Yu and King He entered the room and informed him that they received another pile of challenge letters that day. Looking at the letters, Chu Mu said that it seemed he had to show those challengers what he was capable of, otherwise, they would always look down on him. So, he asked his servants which ones were relatively strong. Ting Yu picked some letters and said that those 5 were all very strong, such as Guo Zion, who was known as Cyan Nightmare Palace's strongest youth. There was also Nightmare Prince Yuan Shan and Feng Jing City's young master. Without question, Chu Mu told Ting Yu that he would accept those 5 challenges. Ting Yu asked him how he planned on arranging the times. Chu Mu told her that he does not have that much time, so she should arrange them all for the next day. Ting Yu excitedly said that he would make the arrangements right away, while King He was drooling, saying that, as expected of Chu Mu, he could take on 5 at the same time. Chu Mu smiled as he thought that it was time to test the results of the training of all the soul pets. Meanwhile, at the Blue Nightmare Palace, the palace master was surprised when he heard about Chu Mu fighting 5 challengers at once. Su Yu confirmed with him, saying that it had never happened before and Chu Mu was too arrogant. The palace master asked Su Yu when the battle would start, and Su Yu told him that it was the next day. Su Yu also told him that he heard that the Cyan Nightmare Palace master, Zeia Guanghan, and Lu Shanli would all be there to watch the battle. The palace master called for someone named Tianjai and ordered him to come with him to the battlefield so they would see just how capable Chu Mu was. Tianjai immediately agreed with the palace master's order. The next day, at the battlefield, there were a lot of people watching. Zeia Guanghan, along with the other guests, was also there. Lu Shanli was sitting beside Zeia Guanghan. The Cyan Nightmare Palace master was also there, sitting beside Lu Shanli. Chu Mu looked ahead intently. He asked King He what the origin of the man in white clothes was because he thought that everyone respected him a lot. And King He told him that the man was the famous Lu Shanli of the Nightmare Palace. She said that he was the Nightmare Prince Adjudicator with the 8th level title, which meant that he looked over all Nightmare Princes and was also the judge for that day's battle. Lu Shanli smiled as he announced that they should begin. In the arena, Chu Mu was immediately surrounded by his 5 challengers. One of the challengers told the others that they could go first because if he went first, they would have wasted their time coming there, so he would be merciful and give them the opportunity first. Another challenger gave him the middle finger and told him that he would be the one who wasted his time coming, so he would fight him after he got rid of Chu Mu. Chu Mu was surprised. The man took a step forward and told him to remember the person who would defeat him. While summoning his nightmare, he said that he was called Guo Zion. His nightmare started releasing snake-looking fires from its mouth. It threw those snakes towards Chu Mu. An explosion occurred. Chu Mu summoned Ning, and he was able to dodge the nightmare's attack. Ning summoned her ice swords. She threw those ice swords towards the nightmare, and they passed through the hole in the nightmare's attack. Ning continued to throw her ice swords. The audience saw that the ice swords were actually forming a line and falling one after another towards the Cyan Nightmare, and they were in awe at Ning's strong control ability. As both the Cyan Nightmare and Ning threw the same attacks, the audience saw that it was a direct fight, a competition to see whose soul pet had more energy. The Cyan Nightmare ran out of energy while Ning still had a sword flying towards it. Guo Zion panicked, and he quickly admitted defeat, requesting Chu Mu to stop. But Chu Mu did not stop, and Ning's sword pierced through the Cyan Nightmare's head. The Cyan Nightmare disappeared into thin air. Guo Zion was horrified. He felt so cold, and his lower body started to freeze. In an instant, Guo Zion's whole body froze. The block of ice fell to the ground and was broken into pieces. The Cyan Nightmare Palace Master got mad at Chu Mu for daring to violate the challenge regulations by using frost poison to kill his disciple. Lu Shanli calmly took a sip of his drink and said that the soul of the soul pet was connected to the soul master, which was why the frost poison spread within him. He told the Cyan Nightmare Palace Master that it was his disciple's own fault that he did not resist with soul remembrance in time, and that he should control his emotions because since Guo Zion dared to issue a challenge, he had to prepare to give up his own life. Chu Mu told the other challengers that if they were worried about accidentally being killed by him, they should just give up the challenge because his fighting style did not involve comparing pointers to fight and stop. One of the challengers said that Nightmare Palace's regulations weren't something that could be changed by just words, and he did not like the changed battle regulations, to which the other challengers agreed. Tianjai was amused at what Chu Mu said, that he did not like the method of comparing pointers to fight, and he said that it was perfect because he also liked killing for fun. He asked Lu Shanli if he could participate, and Lu Shanli said that it was fine as long as Chu Mu did not object. Tianjai jumped into the arena to face Chu Mu. He removed his cloak and asked Chu Mu to let him be his opponent. The Nightmare Palace's battlefield was still filled with people. A few of them were excited when they saw that Tianjai was about to fight. Ting Yu immediately told Chu Mu to be careful because Tianjai was the strongest youth within the Blue Nightmare Palace and defeated his opponent's soul pest with one of his own. The Blue Nightmare Palace Master looked glad, as he thought it was the perfect time to finish off Chu Mu and weaken Zeia Guanghan's power. Suddenly, a lady entered the battlefield. The audience quickly recognized her, and they were in awe when they saw that Jinru was there too. Jinru looked graceful as she entered the battlefield along with her servants. Zeia Guanghan, Lord Cyan, and the Blue Nightmare Palace Master all kneeled in front of Jinru. Chu Mu and Tianjai also did the same. Jinru told them that they might rise. The Blue Nightmare Palace Master immediately offered for Jinru to sit beside him, but he was embarrassed when Jinru ignored him and passed by him. Jinru sat in the middle of the other guests. Lu Shanli asked Jinru what brought her there, and she told him that she heard that her squire was going to fight 5 people at the same time. Lu Shanli laughed as he told Jinru that after the first challenger was killed, the 4 remaining ones all cowered, so the next person who faced Chu Mu was Tianjai. The 4 remaining challengers were all ashamed when they heard that they were labeled as cowards. Lu Shanli asked Jinru who she thought would win. Jinru said that Chu Mu was her squire, so naturally, she thought that he would win. Meanwhile, Chu Mu and Tianjai were glaring at each other. Tianjai called for his blue nightmare and told it to come out. He summoned 2 blue nightmares simultaneously. The audience was surprised as the 2 blue nightmares were in the 5th phase, 4th stage. The 2 of them quickly charged towards Chu Mu, who had summoned Ning and the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Chu Mu quickly instructed Ning to stay in the air and give the Devil Tree Battle Soldier ice armor, while he told the Devil Tree Battle Soldier to go underground. Ning and the Devil Tree Battle Soldier quickly did as they were told. Tianjai instructed his Blue Nightmares to use their move, Flaming Meteor, and to crush Ning with it. The Blue Nightmares quickly summoned something right above Ning. Ning was alarmed when a huge stone started to appear within the magic circle, but suddenly vines sprouted out of the ground. The 2 Blue Nightmares were surprised as the vines wrapped around them and restricted them. But fire started to inflict the vines. The 2 White Nightmares were able to escape from it. On the other hand, the fire quickly spread through the vines and came straight into its source on the ground. Ning quickly threw one of her ice swords. She hit the vine and managed to cut off the part that was inflicted with fire. Tianjai cursed and said that it was so annoying. He ordered his Blue Nightmares not to waste their time with those 2 soul pets and told them to attack Chu Mu directly. The 2 Blue Nightmares quickly did as they were ordered. The 2 Blue Nightmares were about to hit Chu Mu with their fists. Chu Mu used his move, Soul Technique, Wind Ride. Gusts of wind started to gather beneath Chu Mu's feet. He jumped high up in the air and dodged the Blue Nightmare's punches. When the Blue Nightmare's punch landed on the ground crumbled, and the 2 Blue Nightmares fell into the deep pit. The vine suddenly appeared again. It restricted the movement of the 2 Blue Nightmares. Ning came in and performed an attack. her ice swords rained down on the two blue nightmares, who couldn't move. Lu Shanli clapped and said that it was not bad. While the two blue nightmares were rained down with Ning's ice swords, Lu Shanli said that although Chu Mu's soul pets were at a disadvantage, they overcame the danger by working together, and Chu Mu was able to completely avoid attacks and deliberately wear down the two blue nightmares' vigor and physical strength. The audience was hyped, and they said that Chu Mu was worthy of being the king of Prisoner Island because Tianjai couldn't even find a flaw. At the arena, Tianjai cursed as he got agitated, and he said that Chu Mu was daring to underestimate him. He summoned another blue nightmare. The audience was surprised when they found out that Tianjai had been raising 3 nightmares. Meanwhile, the blue nightmare palace master proudly smiled while taking a peek beside him. On the other hand, Jinru was intently looking at the fight, and in her mind, she urged Chu Mu to let her see his true strength. Back in the arena, Chu Mu was thinking that if the fire touched the Devil Tree battle soldier, he would be killed instantly, so it was better to let Mozai go. But Chu Mu realized that it was impossible for one person to feed 3 blue nightmares with just his own soul power. He thought that Tianjai must have used some other methods to provide the nightmares with soul power, so there would definitely be mistakes when controlling them in battle. Chu Mu summoned Mozai. Jinru wondered if Chu Mu was not going to summon a third soul pet. Zeia Guanghan told Jinru that he remembered that Chu Mu seemed to have lost a soul. Jinru was surprised when she realized that Chu Mu had always been in a state where he lacked a soul pet summon, and she wondered how on earth Chu Mu survived until that day. Meanwhile, Chu Mu grinned, and he used his move, Violent Blood Pupil. Mozai glared at the enemy. He charged forward with his paws filled with aura. Mozai made an abrupt stop. He turned his body and swung his tail forward. The blue nightmare defended itself from Mozai's attack with his arm, but Mozai's attack was so powerful that he sent the blue nightmare flying up in the air. Mozai faced the 2 other blue nightmares. Tianjai ordered his blue nightmares to use some flame lances. The 2 of them did as they were told, and they immediately wielded fire lances. They raised their arms in preparation for throwing the fire lances into Mozai, and simultaneously, the 2 blue nightmares threw the fire lances forward. There was a bright light in the direction where the fire lances were going. It was Mozai who produced the bright light, and he looked at the fire lances that were coming towards him intently. The fire lances charged towards Mozai. Tianjai said that they would see how Mozai dodged that attack. Suddenly, Ning summoned her ice wall, and it deflected the fire lances. Lu Shanli said that it was not bad because, although the ice wall couldn't stop the fire lances, Ning actually changed the angle of the ice wall to alter the fire lance trajectories. Chu Mu instructed Mozai to use his move, Death Assault. Mozai's eyes turned bloodshot. He moved quickly in all 4 directions. Mozai created more images of himself, and the blue nightmares were surprised as 3 of those images appeared behind them. Mozai attacked with his tail again, and one of the blue nightmares was sent flying just like the first one. The images ganged up on the last remaining blue nightmare. The blue nightmare was helpless as Mozai attacked it using his move, Illusion Evil Flame Claw. Mozai's flames started to affect the blue nightmare, and in an instant, the blue nightmare was engulfed in flames. The blue nightmare turned into a small flame. The small flame charged towards Tianjai. The audience was alarmed when they saw that Tianjai's soul pet was dead, as they thought that Tianjai would also end up like Guozian. But Tianjai joined the palms of his hands together. He created a barrier that blocked the small flame that charged towards him. Lu Shanli pointed out that Tianjai had experience, and he quickly used his soul remembrance to guard his soul and his mind. But Tianjai looked like he was in pain, and Lu Shanli said that despite using soul remembrance to defend, Tianjai still suffered some soul damage from the evil flame. Tianjai kneeled on the ground. To his surprise, Ning suddenly appeared in front of him. Ning was summoning something above her. A huge rock was starting to come out of Ning's magic circle. Tianjai knelt helplessly on the ground as Ning used her move, Ice Meteor. The blue nightmare was alarmed. It summoned a fire lance in his hand. It threw the fire lance forward, and the fire lance hit the gigantic ice meteor. Huge rocks, the pieces of the destroyed ice meteor, fell from the sky, and Mozai was dodging them. As he managed to dodge the rocks, Mozai was about to charge towards Tianjai while one of his blue nightmares was lying on the ground. But suddenly, a huge hand grabbed one of Mozai's tails. He looked behind him, and it was one of the blue nightmares. Chu Mu ordered Ning to stop the other blue nightmare, and the blue nightmare was surprised when its half-body got frozen. Lu Shanli looked entertained as he mentioned that Chu Mu did not give his opponent the slightest chance to catch his breath. He complimented Chu Mu, stating that the synergy between him and his soul pet was truly amazing. On the other hand, Tianjai was in a pinch, thinking that if things went on as they were, he would definitely die. The Blue Nightmare used its flames on Ning's ice that held it in place, managing to escape. The Blue Nightmare charged towards Chu Mu. The audience was surprised, commenting that Tianjai had a lot of courage because he didn't call the Blue Nightmare back but had it directly attack Chu Mu instead to force him to withdraw and return to defense. They noticed that Chu Mu still did not make Mo's eye return, wondering if Chu Mu wanted to commit suicide for Tianjai's life. The Blue Nightmare was about to grab Chu Mu with its huge hands. Chu Mu was unfazed and simply smirked. Suddenly, Chu Mu's White Nightmare appeared, grabbing Tianjai's Blue Nightmare by its neck. The sky was blue and peaceful, while on the ground, traces of a fight could be found, like the rubble on the ground and the dust and smoke that slowly dissipated with the wind. The audience exclaimed their surprise when they saw the White Nightmare. The Blue Nightmare looked mortified as the White Nightmare continued to grab him by the neck. Lu Shanli couldn't believe his eyes, and he questioned how Chu Mu could possess a monarch rank White Nightmare. On the other hand, Jinru simply looked at him with disdain. Xia Guanghan smiled as he told Lu Shanli that the White Nightmare was one he had never seen before because it was the later generation of the White Nightmare that devoured their Grand Majesty, Bai Yu. Lu Shanli was surprised when he heard what Xia Guanghan said, as he couldn't believe that the White Nightmare could also sign a soul pact with someone. And he remembered that Bai Yu ordered Xia Guanghan to get rid of the White Nightmare. With an evil look on his face, Xia Guanghan said that to kill a powerful soul pet while it was still in its infancy, despite its eccentricity, was too cruel. Therefore, he had that White Nightmare form a soul pact with a myriad of young people. But only Chu Mu managed to survive until that day. Lu Shanli was horrified, and he thought that Xia Guanghan was a lunatic. Suddenly, someone slammed their hand on their seat. It was Lord Cyan, and he exclaimed his surprise, pointing out that the White Nightmare actually wanted to devour Tianjai's Blue Nightmare. And just as Lord Cyan said, the White Nightmare was slowly absorbing the flames of the Blue Nightmare. The Blue Nightmare's fire was starting to get extinguished as the White Nightmare continued to absorb its flames. The Blue Nightmare's face started to disintegrate. On the other hand, the White Nightmare still continued to absorb the Blue Nightmare's flames. The White Nightmare was filled with the Blue Nightmare's fire, and it seemed pleased. The audience all looked horrified, and they were speechless. Meanwhile, at the arena, Tianjai was standing in front of Chu Mu, unguarded. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was shaking due to anger. Jinru calmly announced that Tianjai's 3 souls were damaged, and he was no longer able to fight, so they should stop the duel. The host announced that Chu Mu won. King He and Ting Yu cheered along with the audience. Chu Mu stood there mightily, with Mo Zai and Ning behind him. Lu Shanli stood up and clapped as he said that after that battle, there won't be anyone in the Nightmare Palace who doesn't know the distinguished Eternal Ocean Nightmare Prince's name. Meanwhile, even if Lord Cyan looked mad, he just gritted his teeth and said nothing. On the other hand, the 4 cowardly challengers trembled as they hugged each other, and they were all thanking their god that they didn't fight Chu Mu. Jinru stood up, and she told Chu Mu that she wanted to know how he lost one of his souls. Chu Mu said that when he was a spirit disciple, he signed a soul pact with a high-ranking soul pet, and ultimately that soul pet defected. Jinru smiled as she told Chu Mu that he lost a soul and went on to nurture a White Nightmare. And while under those circumstances, he survived on Prison Island for 3 years, so she said that his spirit was something that she admired. Jinru summoned something in between the palms of her hands. Jinru told Chu Mu that it would be his reward. It was a 6th level soul armor that she just obtained from Tianxia City. And she told him that she hoped that he would become a true expert in the Nightmare Palace like Xia Guanghan. The audience was in awe as they knew that the 6th level soul armor was worth millions of gold coins, and they said that Jinru was really generous. Jinru made the soul armor float from the palm of her hand, and it moved forward. Chu Mu looked surprised as the armor landed in his hands. He quickly knelt on the ground, and he thanked Jinru. Back in the Blue Nightmare Palace, Su Yu complained to his father that Chu Mu ruined Tianjai and almost killed him, so they couldn't let things go. The Blue Nightmare Palace master raised his hand, slapped Su Yu, and called him a fool, saying that Chu Mu was currently in the limelight, so they could not possibly make a move on him openly. He stated that Luo Region Nightmare Prince, Yang Luosen, was his subordinate, and the entire Gang Luo City was also the territory of the Yang Clan, so they should let them handle that matter. The palace master said that, if he was not mistaken, Chu Mu used the Yang Clan's soul technique, Violent Blood Pupil, on the arena. With an evil look on his face, he said that the Yang family would definitely treat Chu Mu well after knowing that fact. On the other hand, Chu Mu traveled on a flying horse with Ting Yu, yawning. Ting Yu told him that it was getting late and suggested that they rest in the current city they were passing through that night, and continue on their route the next day because the Storm Devil cult also had to rest. They arrived at an inn, and Ting Yu reminded the people there to always feed a good feed and not neglect the Storm Devil cult, and the men awkwardly agreed. Chu Mu and Ting Yu went into the inn. Suddenly, just around the corner, someone said that the Chu family was not in a good situation, so if they could help, they should. Chu Mu was surprised when he heard it and quickly leaned on the wall to eavesdrop as he got curious that someone was talking about the Chu family. Upon seeing what he was doing, Ting Yu asked him what was wrong. Chu Mu did not answer her, he just shushed her and told her to be quiet. A man named Lao Leng was talking to a young lady, and he told her that it wasn't that he didn't want to help the Chu family. It was just that the person who was going to intercept the Chu family's caravan was the expert invited by the Yang family, Lai Nan. The young lady, Qin Menger, asked Lao Leng if they had to watch the Chu family's caravan be intercepted in front of their eyes. Lao Leng told Qin Menger that their Qin family had secretly helped the Chu family a lot, and besides, the Yang family was dominating the entire Gangluo city, so he was troubled that the Yang family would know that their Qin family interfered. Qin Menger said nothing, and she simply looked at Lao Leng with her puppy dog eyes. Suddenly, Ting Yu blurted out that Chu Mu seemed to be from the Chu family of Gangluo City. Lao Leng was alarmed when he heard Ting Yu. He asked who were eavesdropping and demanded that they come out. Chu Mu and Ting Yu came out of the corner, and Lao Leng told them to stop right where they were. Chu Mu asked Lao Leng if what the two of them were talking about regarding the Chu family's caravan being intercepted by the Yang family was true. Lao Leng reprimanded Chu Mu for daring to eavesdrop on their conversation and even having the nerve to ask him questions first. But Qin Menger told Lao Leng to leave it because perhaps they unintentionally heard them. Chu Mu was surprised when he saw Qin Menger. He remembered the little girl who played with him when he was young. As the two of them started to walk away, Chu Mu asked them to wait, and he asked if she was Qin Menger. Qin Menger stopped walking. Lao Leng asked Qin Menger if they knew each other. Qin Menger gave it some thought, and she said that she didn't think that she had seen Chu Mu before. Lao Leng prepared to fight while he told Qin Menger that there was definitely something fishy about Chu Mu and Ting Yu, so he would beat them up first, and after that, they would naturally tell the truth. Ting Yu nervously requested that Lao Leng not misunderstand because Chu Mu and the Chu family had a bit of a relationship, so if the Chu family had trouble, he only wanted to help, so she hoped that they would understand that matter. Qin Menger was surprised to hear that they, a hotel guest, were casually saying that they wanted to help the Chu family, so she asked them why she should believe them. Chu Mu proudly said that he was Wagu City's great Chu family's Chu Chen, and he had heard that Gangluo City's Chu family was in decline. So while traveling, he happened to come here to take a look, which made Ting Yu look at him disappointed, thinking that he was speaking lies so casually. Unbeknownst to Ting Yu, Chu Mu was also nervous, as he thought that news of Chu Mu's death had already become known to everyone, so even if he told the truth, they wouldn't believe him. Chu Mu stood there nervously while Qin Menger and Lao Leng stared at him with their eyes full of doubt. Qin Menger and Lao Leng continued to observe Chu Mu and Ting Yu. Lao Leng told Qin Menger that Chu Mu was very suspicious, and he worried that he was a spy of the Yang family. Qin Menger sighed as she told Lao Leng that they couldn't help the Chu family, but they couldn't stop others from helping them. Chu Mu asked Qin Menger when the Yang family planned on making a move and where the Chu family's caravan was at the moment. Qin Menger replied that she has already sent her subordinates to scout the place out, and it would probably be a day before she knew. Chu Mu looked worried as he said that they couldn't delay any longer, and he asked Qin Menger where the nearest Chu family people were in the vicinity because he was going to alert them immediately. Qin Menger was puzzled by Chu Mu's question, and she told him that there were no Chu family people in the vicinity. Chu Mu was horrified, as he thought that the Chu family had fallen that far. Qin Menger told Chu Mu not to worry because she would let him know as soon as she got the news. The next day, the sun had already risen over the mountain. There were dead bodies on the ground. A group of people with soul pets ambushed a guarded caravan that seemed to be the Chu family's caravan. One of the guards told Chu Ning that if he lost the goods, he could still buy them again. But if he died, he would lose everything, so he should leave immediately. Chu Ning cried as he told the guard that if they were to lose another caravan of goods, the family would be hard to salvage. The guard turned towards Chu Ning, and he looked alarmed. He pushed Chu Ning out of the way and told him to look out. A lightning bolt struck the area. The other guards looked at the area, and they were all astonished. The powerful bolt of lightning struck the other guards that were in the area. Their bodies were smoking as they got scorched, and they coughed up blood. Chu Ning called out to one of the men, who was his Uncle Lai. Meanwhile, their enemies, Yang Jai and Lai Nan, smiled sinisterly, and Lai Nan told Chu Ning not to worry because it would be his turn soon. Chu Ning trembled in anger as he told them that their Yang family was really despicable people. He summoned his soul pet, the Light Rhinoceros. The Light Rhinoceros appeared, a member of the Demon Beast Kingdom, and it was in the middle-class commander rank. Yang Jai said that Chu Ning was angry that he even summoned his life-saving soul pet, and Lai Nan told him that he didn't need to take action himself as he could just leave things to him. Lai Nan summoned two winged trioptic beasts. The two winged trioptic beasts, along with the Thunder Fairy, simultaneously charged towards Chu Ning's Light Rhinoceros. Whirlwinds and lightning filled the area in the forest where the battle was going on. A few moments later, Chu Ning knelt on the ground, injured, while his Light Rhinoceros was restrained by Lai Nan's soul pets, saying that the Chu family was indeed a bunch of trash. Lai Nan ordered one of his winged trioptic beasts to go and bring Chu Ning's head to him. Chu Ning closed his eyes in acceptance and wondered if it was the end for him. Suddenly, Little Knight appeared and tackled the winged trioptic beast. Little Knight stood in front of Chu Ning, protecting him. Chu Ning was surprised when he saw that there were reinforcements. Lai Nan got mad and asked how the person was who dared to meddle in his Yang family's affairs. Chu Mu stood in front of Chu Ning. Tears swelled on the corners of Chu Ning's eyes when he recognized the person in front of him. Chu Mu extended his hand to help Chu Ning up, and Chu Ning couldn't believe his eyes, asking Chu Mu if it was really him. Suddenly, Chu Ning's face changed, and it was filled with worry as he told Chu Mu to watch out. A winged trioptic beast was about to land its attack on Chu Mu from behind, but Chu Mu looked unfazed. The winged trioptic beast went ahead to attack Chu Mu with its claws, but Chu Mu did not move an inch. Chu Mu closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were glowing red. Chu Mu used his move, Soul Technique, Chong Mei, Evil Stare. The winged trioptic beast was terrified, and it was frozen in place, sweating profusely. Little Knight charged forward. He tackled the winged trioptic beast and cut off its left arm with his horns. The winged trioptic beast cried as it lay on the ground, squirming in pain. Lai Nan was horrified at what he just witnessed. He was anxious as he ordered his winged trioptic beast to come back. As Chu Mu helped Chu Ning up, Chu Ning recognized the Chu family's unique soul technique, Chong Mei, so he was sure that it really was Chu Mu, and Chu Mu told him that he was back. Chu Ning cried again as he told Chu Mu that over the years, others have been spreading news about him. Chu Mu smiled awkwardly as he told Chu Ning that it was a long story. Chu Mu was taken aback when Chu Ning hugged him tightly and told him that he was glad that he came back safely. Chu Mu was touched as Chu Ning continued to hug him. But suddenly, he noticed Yang Jai and Lai Nan, who looked bored, and so he awkwardly told the crying Chu Ning to calm down as it was not the right place. Yang Jai grinned sinisterly as he asked Chu Mu and Chu Ning if they were done with reuniting because he would send them both on their way together. Suddenly, Yang Jai noticed something. Ting Yu and Qin Menger were flying in the sky, riding their soul pets, and Chu Mu looked like he was expecting them when he saw them, while Chu Ning was surprised. The two of them landed on the ground. Yang Jai drooled as he said that it was nice because there were more pretty chicks, and as he told Lai Nan to not let them get away. Lai Nan told him that there was not even a need to say that. Their other men also had the same sleazy look on their faces, and they seemed to be thinking the same thing. Yang Jai released two of his soul pets, and he ordered his men to leave the women behind and kill all the men. Chu Ning pushed Chu Mu away, telling him to be careful because those two soul pets were already at the 6th stage, and he told Chu Mu to run because Little Knight was no match for them. But Chu Mu took a step forward, and he protected Chu Ning behind him instead. With his back turned towards Chu Ning, Chu Mu told him not to worry and to let him protect him at that time. Chu Ning's tears swelled again as he felt touched by what Chu Mu said. Chu Mu ordered Ting Yu to protect Chu Ning and leave Yang Jai to him, to which Ting Yu confidently agreed. Qin Menger offered that she would take care of the rest, to which Chu Mu agreed, but he reminded her to be careful. Chu Mu summoned Ning, Little Knight, Qin Menger, and Chu Mu all charged together. On the other hand, the enemies also charged towards them. Ning quickly summoned something above her, while Little Knight gathered an aura at the top of its head. Yang Jai's soul pet's feet got frozen, and they were cemented to the ground. Little Ning fired a powerful beam of light using the aura she had gathered. Her attack hit Yang Jai's winged soul pet. Yang Jai ordered his armor Death Scorpion to go and help. The armor Death Scorpion managed to escape from Ning's ice constraints and charged forward to help. But Ning just nonchalantly raised her arm. She summoned an ice wall, and the armor Death Scorpion was surprised. The armor Death Scorpion was imprisoned inside the triangulated ice wall, while the other winged soul pet was lying unconscious on the ground. Yang Jai ordered the winged soul pet, Blood Beast, to come back. He summoned another soul pet, and he said that he would show them his true strength. Yang Jai summoned a gigantic four-winged snake demon. The four-winged snake demon ferociously loomed over Chu Mu. Chu Ning told Ting Yu to leave him and go help Chu Mu because the four-winged snake demon was Yang Jai's strongest soul pet. Chu Mu turned to look at Chu Ning, and he told him to believe him because he was no longer the weak Chu Mu of before. Chu Mu told Little Knight and Ning that he was counting on them, and he pointed forward to prompt the attack. Little Knight fired 3 powerful beams of light towards the enemy. His attack managed to hit the armor Death Scorpion. On the other hand, Ning gestured her hand to summon an attack for the enemy. A huge tornado appeared in front of the four-winged snake demon. But Yang Jai was unfazed, and he said that there was no way that the little storm could stand in the way of his four-winged snake demon. The four-winged snake demon charged forward to destroy the tornado. Chu Mu smirked, and he said that it was silly of Yang Jai to just barge in. Ning used her move, Ice Crystal Storm. Icicles started to appear around the tornado that the four-winged snake demon dived into. The four-winged snake demon roared in pain as the tornado started to consume it. More icicles started to form. They merged with the tornado and caused damage to the four-winged snake demon as they swirled around with the strong wind. The four-winged snake demon was full of wounds and was bleeding all over the place due to the icicles. Yang Jai was astonished by what he just witnessed, which made him question how an ice air fairy could have such abnormally strong ice controlling capabilities, and he realized that he had to fight with everything he had. He used his move, Ice Armor. The four-winged snake demon started to get covered in ice. The four-winged snake demon was fully covered in ice armor as it got thrown out of the tornado. It was flung into the air. It crashed into the ground, and the impact was so powerful that it left huge cracks on the ground. Ning summoned an ice sword, and she wielded it. She charged forward to attack the four-winged snake demon. Ning pierced the four-winged snake demon's armor and plunged her ice sword into its head. But to her surprise, she found out that the four-winged snake demon was not inside the armor. Suddenly, there was a crack in the ground, and it bulged out. Something came out of that crack. It was the four-winged snake demon, and its eyes gleamed evilly as it appeared behind the alarmed Ning. Calling Ning a little thing, Yang Jai smiled evilly, and he told her to go to hell. Ning turned to look behind her. She could not react as the four-winged snake demon already used its move, Heavy Splitting Fang. The four-winged snake demon swallowed Ning whole. Suddenly, its eyes turned bloodshot. Tears filled the four-winged snake demon's eyes as it spat Ning out, who looked utterly disgusted. Yang Jai could not believe what he just saw, and he asked how it was possible. Chu Mu explained to Yang Jai that Ning was trained with a 6th level ice-type soul crystal, so she already had the defense of a 6th rank late stage, and upon adding in the effects of the ice armor, he was still too young to break through her defenses. Yang Jai asked Chu Mu if he thought he wouldn't be able to do anything to his trash soul pet. As its eyes glowed, purple smoke started to surround the four-winged snake demon. The purple smoke formed into an image that was similar to the four-winged snake demon as it used its move, Vicious Devour. The image of the four-winged snake demon charged towards Ning. Ning swung her sword to prepare her attack. She effortlessly slashed the image of the four-winged snake demon. Yang Jai could not believe what just happened. Ning summoned huge icicles, and with incredible speed, it charged forward. The icicles hit the four-winged snake demon. The smoke that Ning had just slashed started to dissipate. While the four-winged snake demon was knocked out, it fell to the ground with a huge thud. Ning proudly floated in the sky as she just finished using her move, Sword Formation. Yang Jai stared at Ning as he questioned how that could be possible. Suddenly, a beam of light hit him on the chest. Yang Jai quickly recognized it as ice poison. His neck started to freeze while he frantically rummaged through his pockets. Yang Jai managed to get a vial with red liquid, and he quickly drank it. Chu Mu recognized that it was cold resistance medicine, and he could not believe that Yang Jai even had such a life-saving medicine. Yang Jai let out a sigh of relief as he managed to survive the ice poison. Yang Jai glanced to his left. He saw that his armor Death Scorpion had been crushed by Chu Mu's little knight. Yang Jai wondered what the origin of Chu Mu was, and he realized that he had to hurry back and report. Yang Jai quickly rode behind his soul pet, which looked like a bird. Chu Mu summoned another soul pet. Strong claws hit the ground as Chu Mu summoned Mo Zai. Chu Mu quickly rode on Mo Zai's back. The two of them chased after Yang Jai as Chu Mu told Yang Jai not to try to escape. Meanwhile, Qin Menger just finished defeating the rest of Yang Jai's men, and she stood on top of the pile of their bodies as she tried to look ahead. She smiled as she thought that there was an expert who could easily take care of Yang Jai, so it looked like the Chu family was saved. Suddenly, Chu Ning, who was being supported by Ting Yu, said that Yang Jai was sinister and cunning. Plus, he also knew the terrain of the area, so they should go after him too. Ting Yu and Qin Menger both readily agreed. On the other hand, Chu Mu, who was riding on Mozai's back, was still chasing after Yang Jai, who thought that Mozai was too damn fast. Mozai started to form a ball of fire in his mouth. He used his move, Fireball, and fired those flames upward. Yang Jai and his bird frantically dodged Mozai's attacks. Chu Mu grinned as he thought it was the perfect time. Mozai used his move, Wind Riding, and jumped so high off the ground that they were above Yang Jai. Yang Jai turned to look behind him when he noticed something. He was immediately greeted by Mozai's sharp claws. Mozai used his move, Shadow Evil Flame Claw, and slashed Yang Jai's body. Yang Jai was butchered into pieces, and those pieces came down in flames. Chu Mu praised Mozai for the good work, and he said that he would allow him to eat a midnight snack that night, which made Mozai happy. Suddenly, Mozai noticed something terrible. He trembled as he looked down. Chu Mu noticed the change in Mozai's behavior, so he followed his gaze while asking him what was up. Chu Mu was also filled with terror as he saw what Mozai was seeing. The two of them just fell from the edge of a cliff. Mozai was already imagining breaking his bones while Chu Mu hugged him tightly, saying that he could not believe the situation they were in and asking why there was a cliff there. Chu Mu's scream was heard across the entire forest. Tears filled both Chu Mu and Mozai's eyes as they continued to fall towards the ground. The birds in the forest were distraught, and they all flew away from the area where Mozai and Chu Mu fell. The two of them groaned in pain as they landed on the ground, with only the tree branches cushioning their fall. A few moments later, as the birds continued to fly away, Chu Ning, Qin Menger, Lao Leng, and Ting Yu arrived at the edge of the cliff where Chu Mu fell. Chu Ning was worried, and he asked the others what they should do because Chu Mu actually fell into the Falling Phoenix Cliff. Ting Yu asked what the Falling Phoenix Cliff was. Lao Leng said that below the Falling Phoenix Cliff was the famous Broken Forest, and it was like a maze filled with many powerful soul pets. Qin Menger confidently told the others not to worry because her flame bird could fly down, so she would go and find Chu Mu. Qin Menger jumped off the edge of the cliff while summoning her soul pet. The flame bird appeared, and Qin Menger rode behind it. Lao Leng told Qin Menger to be careful because her flame bird could easily alert some strong soul pet's territory. Meanwhile, Qin Menger noticed some smoke coming from the forest up ahead. She looked behind her and said that there seemed to be burn marks left by Mozai there. Suddenly, small yet quick dark figures emerged from the forest, and they were flying upwards. Multiple dark birds flew in front of Qin Menger. They glared at her, and Qin Menger was alarmed. And without warning, the dark birds charged towards Qin Menger simultaneously. Qin Menger's flame bird was damaged, and Qin Menger fell off its back. Chu Ning, Lao Leng, and Ting Yu all looked horrified as they saw that Qin Menger was falling down, and Lao Leng couldn't help but call out for her with worry in his voice. As Lao Leng trembled and tears fell down his cheeks, Chu Ning suggested that they go back to Gangliu City so they could unite both of their clans to find Chu Mu and Qin Menger within the forest. Ting Yu looked over the forest, and in her mind, she was urging Chu Mu and Qin Menger to wait for them. Meanwhile, Qin Menger had maneuvered herself in the air so she could land properly. Suddenly, a group of white rhinoceros arrived. Qin Menger got anxious as she said that she was not in a good situation. The group of white rhinoceros continued to move forward, while Qin Menger was about to land on their way. As Qin Menger got near the ground, a white rhinoceros jumped off the ground to hit and tackle her. She closed her eyes as she braced herself for impact, and she thought that it was all over. Suddenly, something in the area moved really fast. It was Mozai, and he passed by in front of one of the white rhinoceros. The white rhinoceros, charging at full speed, slammed itself on a huge rock. Chu Mu rode behind Mozai, and he caught Qin Menger in his arms, saving her from the charging white rhinoceros. Chu Mu looked behind him and said that it was close. The white rhinoceros stopped, and it looked like it was scouting the area. Meanwhile, Chu Mu asked Qin Menger if she was okay. Qin Menger blushed, and she simply let out a humming sound to confirm that she was fine. On the other hand, Mozai looked so annoyed while glaring at Chu Mu, and Chu Mu told him that Qin Menger was trying to save them because they were in danger, so he should just bear the situation for a while. Mozai had no choice but to continue to run while carrying two people on his back because they were still being chased by the group of white rhinoceros and dark birds. A few hours passed, and it was already twilight. Chu Mu and Qin Menger hid behind some bushes. Chu Mu told Qin Menger that they finally managed to escape the soul pets that were following them. But Qin Menger was already sleeping soundly on his shoulders. Chu Mu scratched his temple as he felt awkward about the situation. Morning came, and Qin Menger was still sleeping soundly, drooling while leaning on a tree trunk. A leaf fell down on her hair, which woke her up. As she became fully awake, she noticed her drool, and she quickly wiped it off. Chu Mu, who was at a distance in front of her, looked towards her apprehensively as he noticed the movements. Chu Mu became relaxed when he saw that Qin Menger was awake, and he told her that those fruits in front of her could allay her hunger, so they should eat and get going. Qin Menger blushed as she simply hummed in agreement. She ate one of the fruits, and tears formed at the corners of her eyes as she said that it was very delicious. Chu Mu petted Mozai as he said that there were many high-level soul pets at the bottom of the valley, so perhaps they could capture one. Qin Menger told Chu Mu that it was pretty dangerous there if they met any fierce soul pets. But with a disgruntled look on his face, Chu Mu interrupted Qin Menger and told her that it was true that bringing her along was dangerous. Qin Menger was enraged with Chu Mu's response. She wondered why Chu Mu was so annoying. And she thought about how it was either Chu Mu was not talking with her or he was talking to her but was saying hurtful words. Birds were now peacefully flying over the forest while Mozai, Chu Mu, and Qin Menger were traveling together. Chu Mu raised his hand, gesturing for Qin Menger to stop. Qin Menger asked Chu Mu why they suddenly stopped. Chu Mu did not answer her, and he simply started picking up the petals off the ground. Chu Mu looked at the petals intently as he was picking them up. He threw them up and scattered them in the air. As the petals flew over her head, Qin Menger wondered what Chu Mu was doing. The petals were going around in circles above their heads, and Chu Mu said that when they were walking over, the wind was northwards. But in that area, it suddenly became east wind, so he figured that there must be a spiritual item nearby because the wind had changed direction. Chu Mu instructed Mozai to look around. Mozai quickly ran off and followed Chu Mu's instructions. Qin Menger looked at Chu Mu with a face full of doubt, and in her mind, she was asking who would believe Chu Mu. A few moments later, Mozai had returned. Qin Menger thought that Mozai was back so soon, so he must not have found anything. But to her surprise, Chu Mu was proudly petting Mozai as he confirmed with him that he had found the item. A few moments later, they arrived in the area where Mozai found the item, and Qin Menger smiled as she thought that Chu Mu guessed right because there were really a lot of moe there. The moe looked fierce and strong as it walked in the area. While they hid behind a tree trunk, Qin Menger told Chu Mu that moe was also the symbolic soul pet of his Chu family, so she suggested that he take the opportunity to collect a few more. Chu Mu told Qin Menger that he has very high requirements for taming soul pets, and he didn't choose them casually. But Qin Menger did not stop, insisting that the lake was full of moe, and she asked Chu Mu if the thing he was looking for was not there. Chu Mu told Qin Menger to look in the middle of the lake. Qin Menger squinted her eyes to try and see what was there. Qin Menger's eyes widened in surprise when she saw what Chu Mu was pointing out to her. She saw the heavenly demon orchid, a rare herb that could directly double the growth rate of soul pets. And on the market, it cost 200,000 to 300,000 gold coins. Qin Menger smiled, and she said that Chu Mu was really great, so they should go and get it. While pointing ahead, Chu Mu told Qin Menger not to be too happy just yet and to look closely at the lake water. A huge silhouette was moving around the heavenly demon orchid, and it was muddling the lake water. Chu Mu explained that usually, spiritual items were guarded by powerful soul pets. And just as Chu Mu said that, a huge creature emerged from the water, and they immediately recognized it as the abyssal water monster.